After coming back from the tower, Songyun calls the exact male instructor who threw him out of the Hunter Academy and says he wants to take the test again. The guy is practically thrilled, because he thinks this loser came back just to humiliate himself one more time. So instead of stopping him, the instructor rigs the exam from the start. He secretly gives Songyun a defective sword, fully expecting him to break down in the middle of the test and never show his face again. But then Songyun shocks everyone by choosing the hardest difficulty himself. At that point, even the instructors think he's suicidal. Then the test begins, and the monster that appears is a phoenix. Exactly the kind of beast that should have ended the old Songyun instantly. And when his sabotaged sword fails like the instructor planned, everyone thinks it's over. But Songyun doesn't panic. He picks up a brick, and throws it with such absurd brute force that he kills the phoenix on the spot. The entire academy goes dead silent, because the boy they kicked out as talentless trash just cleared the hardest test with a broken weapon, by beating a phoenix to death with a brick. And the male instructor who wanted to humiliate him the most is left staring in pure shock. 7 years ago the world changed forever during the Great Catastrophe. It was the day humanity lost its future. Pedestrians stop in their tracks as a blinding light fills the sky. No one knows the horror descending upon them. Massive monsters tear through the atmosphere and begin a brutal slaughter. Civilization is crushed under their overwhelming power. Screams for help go unanswered while the city burns to the ground. Millions of lives were erased in a single afternoon. Suho stands alone in the darkness after his parents are killed in the chaos. His world was shattered beyond repair. A broken photo frame lies in the mud as the only memory of his family. He lost everything he loved in one instant. He makes a blood-soaked pledge to become strong enough to survive. This vow became his only reason to keep breathing. 7 years pass as Suho struggles to find his place in this new reality. The anniversary of the tragedy has finally arrived. Giant stone monoliths stand at the memorial park to honor the fallen. It is a graveyard for the world that used to exist. Suho sits on a bench and curses his continued weakness. He is still powerless despite the desperate promise he made. The instructor calls Suho forward to deliver a blunt ultimatum. His cold tone suggests the conversation will not be pleasant. Suho looks up in total confusion as the gym atmosphere suddenly shifts against him. He can hardly believe what he is hearing. He demands a reason for being kicked out of the training program. The shock of the rejection is visible in his wide eyes. The man points out that normal trainees move on to become active hunters within a few years. Suho stands frozen while the rest of the gym watches the confrontation. 7 years of daily effort have yielded absolutely zero results for his progression. He has officially overstayed his welcome in a world that only values growth. The instructor decides to drop the formalities and speak the brutal truth. He is tired of watching a failure waste space and resources. Suho realizes his presence is viewed as a stain on the training center's reputation. Being told he is literal garbage makes his blood run cold. The surrounding trainees begin to snicker and mock his misfortune. Their laughter confirms that he is the absolute bottom of the social ladder. They openly wonder how it is possible to train for 7 years without gaining a single stat point. He stands alone in the center of their cruel judgment. Suho crushes a soda can until it bursts under the pressure of his grip. The public humiliation has finally pushed his desperation to a breaking point. Suho stares at the ground while questioning his lack of growth. 7 years of effort have yielded absolutely nothing. A sudden voice asks him about his father's death. The memory forces its way into his mind. He remembers a young girl wearing a rescue helmet during a monster invasion. The trauma of that day stays fresh. His mother sits on a bench and asks what he should do when life gets hard. She is teaching him resilience. Suho centers himself as the lesson echoes in his head. He refuses to let his spirit be broken today. The memory of his mother hugging the girl fades into the background. Her praise for being strong lingers. Suho sprints past the bench as the woman from his memory watches in confusion. The past cannot catch him now. He pushes his body forward with everything he has left. The internal voice confirms his resolution is correct. Sweat pours down Suho's face as he wonders how he endured 7 years of failure. His legs keep moving regardless. Suho runs toward the distant city skyline with renewed purpose. He will never give up on his dream. The title card appears as Suho prepares to face his final hurdle. This is where his new path starts. Suho waits outside in the pouring rain while clutching his bag. He has nowhere else to turn for help. The heavy door creaks open to reveal a sliver of light. Suho's heart sinks as he steps forward. He begs the director for one more chance to take the hunter exam. Desperation has stripped away his pride. A hulking figure towers over him with an aura of pure intimidation. The director is not moved by pity. Red eyes flare with anger as the man snarls a rejection. He is sick of hearing Suho's constant pleading. Suho recoils in shock as the man's temper finally snaps. The situation has turned dangerous in an instant. The director grabs Suho's collar and pulls him close. He refuses to listen to any more pathetic excuses. Suho lets out a sharp cry as he is suddenly blindsided. There is no mercy left for a failure. A heavy blow sends Suho crashing back into the wet pavement. His plea is met with total contempt. Suho is launched backward by a vicious strike. He can barely comprehend the director's insults as he falls. Rain mixes with the blood dripping from Suho's mouth. The director continues his verbal assault without any remorse. Soho collapses against the trash in the dark alleyway. He is broken and shivering alone in the storm. A single thought begins to form in his fading consciousness. He starts to wonder about his miserable luck. Soho regrets his lack of a unique trait or special power. He realizes his life is a series of failures. He wishes for just a tiny spark of talent to change his fate. Desperation is his only companion now. Water ripples as droplets fall into a deep dark puddle. A strange energy begins to stir under the surface. A blue system window flickers to life before his eyes. The Tower of Trials acknowledges his iron will. A mysterious figure emerges from a blinding flash of blue light. Soho stares in disbelief at the sudden vision. Water erupts around him as he cries out in shock. His world is changing in a single instant. A desperate scream for help echoes through the rainy city streets. The situation has spiraled out of control. Soho lunges forward with a furious roar at his unseen tormentor. His patience has finally reached its breaking point. He stands alone in the downpour as the mysterious figure vanishes. Confusion replaces his burning rage. Soho clicks his tongue in annoyance while the ground beneath him vibrates. Something heavy is shifting nearby. The world dissolves into a chaotic mess of freezing water and rising bubbles. A sudden force pulls him downward. Soho sinks into the dark depths as his lungs begin to burn. The light of the surface quickly fades. Total darkness surrounds him as he struggles against the weight of the sea. Survival is now his only priority. A massive pillar of golden energy erupts from the seabed and pierces the surface. The trial has officially claimed him. A system notification confirms that all suitable candidates on Earth have been chosen. The global selection is finally complete. Soho wonders if a second catastrophe has begun while floating in the void. Everything he knew is now gone. Soho stares at a prompt linking his rewards to the extreme difficulty he selected. He realizes his life depends on the gamble he just made. He grits his teeth as the reality of the situation settles into his mind. Despite the confusion, he knows there is no turning back now. A blinding pillar of light consumes his vision and vibrates through his entire body. His instincts scream that this is his only shot at survival. Soho reaches into the glow to seize the power being offered to him. This is the exact moment his old life finally ends. The force of the teleportation pulls at his limbs as he disappears from the void. He braces for whatever world waits on the other side. A final notification announces his arrival at the first floor of the Tower of Trials. The system is done waiting for him to catch his breath. Soho lets out a sharp exhale as the sensation of solid ground finally returns. He looks around to find his surroundings have completely shifted. The screen flashes a warning for him to prepare for the trial ahead. The time for questions is officially over. A blazing sun hangs over a vast expanse of rock and sand. The heat is immediate and completely unforgiving. Soho stands alone in the middle of an endless desert wasteland. He realizes he has been dropped directly into a living hell. A system window appears promising a weapon for the challenge ahead. Soho prepares himself for whatever comes next. A shimmering longsword materializes out of thin air. The blue light reflects off the desert sand. The blade plunges deep into the ground right at his feet. Soho jumps back in surprise as dust kicks up. The system announces a unique trait reward for completing this trial. This is the payoff he has been waiting for. Soho remembers the 7 years of grueling training he endured in the real world. Every drop of sweat was for this moment. He spent countless nights practicing until his muscles screamed. Now the tower is finally offering him real power. His heart beats fast and a wild grin spreads across his face. The hunger for strength is taking over. A sudden violent tremor shakes the earth beneath him. Soho braces his body as the ground starts to buckle. A massive explosion of sand erupts just meters away. Something huge is buried beneath the dunes. The system screen confirms the start of the trial. Soho stares up at the massive threat rising from the sand. The system confirms the chosen difficulty is set to hard. Soho is now locked into a high-stakes challenge. A notification announces the arrival of a sand golem. The desert floor erupts as the massive monster emerges. Soho grips his sword while staring at the giant creature towering over him. The sheer scale is overwhelming. He plants his feet as the system issues a survival objective. There is no room for error now. A timer appears showing just under 10 minutes left. The countdown to his potential end has officially started. Soho sprints across the shifting dunes to avoid a crushing blow. He curses as the terrain works against him. A violent eruption of sand sends him reeling backward. He gasps for air while trying to maintain his footing. The impact site leaves a massive crater where he stood seconds ago. One direct hit would be fatal. A grim warning flashes across his vision confirming the penalty for failure is death. Soho grits his teeth. The system announces the trial is starting now. Soho stares ahead with pure shock in his eyes. The system confirms the tower difficulty is set to hard. Soho realizes there is no room for error. Sand bursts from the ground as the system warns that golems have arrived. The desert floor becomes a graveyard. Soho grips his blade while cursing under his breath. He is completely surrounded by shifting dunes. A final objective appears requiring him to eliminate every monster to survive. He readies his stance for combat. The clock starts ticking down from 10 minutes as a massive golem takes shape. Time is his greatest enemy. Soho lunges forward while shouting in frustration. He cannot afford to hesitate for a single second. He swings his sword with a desperate roar as sand spikes erupt around him. Every movement is a gamble. Soho pauses and looks up in confusion at the swirling debris. Something about the trial feels fundamentally wrong. A final reminder of the death penalty flashes as a dark presence looms over him. The stakes are absolute. The chapter ends as Soho prepares to face his first true trial. He must adapt or die in the sand. Soho sprints across the dunes while a massive sand explosion erupts behind him. He narrowly avoids being buried alive. Soho glances back in shock at the pursuing titan. The sheer speed of the monster defies its massive size. A gargantuan stone limb crushes the ground with enough force to shake the entire horizon. The impact alone creates a shockwave. The sand golem towers over the desert with 9 minutes left on the clock. Soho knows his stamina will fail first. He grips his blade while the world blurs into a mess of dust and speed. Running is a death sentence. Soho decides that dying in a cowardly retreat is worse than falling in battle. He prepares to make his stand. With a desperate roar, Soho pivots and launches himself directly toward the massive stone enemy. He chooses to fight back. A dark shadow looms over the sand as a voice mocks his puny resistance. The pressure is suffocating. Soho grinds his teeth and screams against the overwhelming weight of the trial. He refuses to know his place. The bottom of a massive stone foot fills his vision as it crashes down. This is the moment of impact. Soho grits his teeth as the fear of a pathetic death sinks in. He refuses to die running. The massive stone foot slams into the sand just inches away. 7 years of failure flashes through his mind. Soho pivots and prepares to fight back. He needs a better way to survive this trial. He looks up at the towering monster. The core is likely buried in a hard-to-reach spot. Soho sets his sights on the peak of the stone beast. If it won't move, he will go to it. His boot finds a solid grip on the moving rock. He plants his weight for a vertical sprint. Soho launches himself onto the giant side as the air explodes. He begins the climb. He pushes off the stone with pure desperation. Speed is the only thing keeping him alive. Soho sprints up the near-vertical slope of the golem. He refuses to look back at the ground. The giant shakes with enough force to shatter stone. Soho clings on and keeps ascending. The sand golem's massive limbs tear through the dunes and shatter the ground. Soho watches the destruction while looking for an opening. A heavy stone foot crushes the sand just inches from his position. Soho prepares to launch his counterattack. Soho leaps onto the golem's shifting body and clings to the jagged rock. He spots the glowing core pulsating right beneath him. He grits his teeth and swings his blade with every ounce of strength. The sword's blue light cuts through the desert haze. The blade connects with the golem's hide and sends a vibration through Soho's arms. He refuses to lose his grip. Chunks of rock explode outward as the impact rattles the titan's frame. The monster thrashes in response to the damage. Soho strains against the momentum and raises his blade for another strike. He is running on pure desperation now. The monster's armor is much denser than he expected. His muscles burn as he tries to keep his balance. A violent tremor nearly throws him off the beast's back. Soho curses as the golem fights to shake him off. Sweat pours down his face while he focuses on the target. He just needs one more clean hit to finish this. Soho looks down at the golem's massive frame while searching for a weakness. He plants his feet for a final strike. He lets out a guttural scream and puts his entire weight into the swing. The desert air vibrates from the effort. His throat burns as he roars against the unfairness of his life. He refuses to be a failure any longer. A massive crimson eye watches his struggle from the void with total indifference. The entity views his life as a joke. Cold voices echo through his mind and mock his lack of talent. They want him to die in the sand. Blood drips from Soho's knuckles as he white-knuckles his sword. The pain is the only thing keeping him conscious. His eyes ignite with a piercing blue light as he rejects their judgment. He is reclaiming his own destiny. Soho lunges with a bloodthirsty snarl and tells the voices to shut up. He is done listening to their lies. The blade whistles through the air with lethal precision. He targets the stone core with a single focus strike. A violent explosion of energy rocks the desert as the sword connects. The shockwave shatters the silence of the trial. The system confirms the golem's core is pulverized. Soho's desperate gamble finally paid off. 7 minutes remain on the countdown. He finished the fight with more than enough time to spare. A final roar echoes as the stone titan begins to crumble. The desert monster is finally dead. The sun beats down on the silent battlefield. The chaos of the trial has finally ended. A massive plume of dust settles over the desert floor. The golem is nothing but a memory now. Soho gasps for air while blood drips from his face. He wonders if he actually managed to win. A weary smile crosses his face despite the brutal injuries. He knows he barely made it out alive. The system announces his successful clear of the first floor. Soho has finally proven his worth. He leans on his sword and breathes a sigh of relief. The tower grants him a unique trait reward. Notifications confirm he gained fast recovery and 500 points. His long path to power has officially begun. Soho gasps as his vision clears. The adrenaline of the fight is finally wearing off. He looks down at his blood-stained hands and remembers 7 years of failure. His effort wasn't for nothing. A blue notification confirms he has unlocked a unique trait. The world that mocked him is about to change. Soho stands firmly in the center of the desert wasteland. He finally has the tools to become a real hunter. He narrows his eyes and focuses on the path ahead. Everything depends on his ability to stay alive. A strange purple light flickers deep within his gaze. He feels a new power stirring under his skin. Thick black fog begins to rise from the spot where the golem died. Soho recoils from the sudden dark presence. He reaches his trembling hand toward the swirling red energy. A system chime signals another incoming choice. Soho reads the prompt asking him to absorb the spirit. He realizes this strange fog is his unique trait. The red core pulses violently as the yes or no options appear. He prepares to claim his first real prize. Soho screams as the dark energy surges around him. The force of the awakening knocks him off balance. Blood streaks down his face while he gasps for air. He can feel his body physically changing under the pressure. He questions if the strange black fog is his unique trait. The spirit begins to merge with his soul. The core pulses with a violent light that dominates his vision. It is the concentrated essence of the golem. Soho chokes on the thick energy as it binds to his chest. Every nerve in his body screams in protest. His eyes widen as the raw power of the monster flows into him. The pain is intense but his spirit holds. System windows confirm the golem's spirit is now his. His proficiency rises as the tower grants a real reward. Dark tendrils wrap around his limbs and pull toward his center. Soho watches in awe as the power finally stabilizes. A burning sensation erupts in his heart where the core takes root. He lets out a ragged breath as it fuses. The red essence settles deep within his chest and begins to glow. Soho finally has the power to survive this trial. The red core pulses with a violent light that fills the dark void. Soho feels the raw heat radiating through his entire body as the essence stabilizes. Blood drips down Soho's face as he focuses on the new energy coursing through his veins. He realizes he can finally manipulate the power that was once out of reach. Blue system windows chime in to announce his immediate physical improvements. His strength and health reach levels he never achieved during 7 years of useless training. An invisible pressure lifts Soho's feet off the desert floor as the energy surges. The dense aura begins to distort the gravity in his immediate surroundings. Soho's eyes glow with a piercing blue light amidst the grime and exhaustion. He can feel his senses sharpening as the overwhelming power finally settles into his soul. A sudden realization hits him like a physical blow. The impossible wall he faced for years has finally been shattered by these new stats. He briefly remembers the endless hours spent striking wooden dummies for absolutely zero results. That era of being a talentless failure is officially over. A unique trait notification reveals he has unlocked the power of necromancy. He can now claim the spirits of the dead to permanently increase his own standing. Soho stares at his trembling hands as his heart thumps wildly against his ribs. The thrill of actual growth is more addictive than he ever imagined. A swirling blue portal manifests in the middle of the silent desert wasteland. The system directs him to exit the trial grounds and proceed to the waiting room. Soho stares at the glowing exit with blood dripping down his chin. He has nothing left to give this desert. He realizes the trial is finally over and steps toward the light. The first floor is officially behind him. A blue portal hums with a low vibration as it stabilizes in the air. This is his only way out of the wasteland. Soho crashes onto the cold tile floor of a new room. His sword clatters loudly against the stone as his grip fails. He clutches his side while cursing the severity of his hidden wounds. The adrenaline is wearing off and the pain is moving in. Vision blurs as blood pools underneath his face on the sterile floor. He is teetering on the edge of passing out from exhaustion. Soho forces himself upright inside the quiet waiting area. Strange golden particles begin to drift around his battered body. He staggers forward while wondering if the tower will heal his broken frame. He has lost a dangerous amount of blood to earn this victory. Soho collapses onto a simple cot as his legs finally give out. The weight of the battle pulls him into the mattress. He stares at the empty ceiling and questions his next move. The silence of the room is a brutal change from the desert chaos. Soho wonders if escaping this nightmare is even possible. He questions why the tower chose a failure like him. A blue window reveals 5 command options for navigating the system. Soho stares at the interface with wide eyes. He sits up and repeats the list of available commands. This is his first real map of this new world. Soho shouts the word trial to see if he can move forward immediately. He is desperate for progress. The system blocks his request and tells him he must wait. He slumps back against the stone in frustration. He selects the community tab to see if anyone else survived. The interface confirms his entry into the global chat. A flood of messages from panicked survivors fills his vision. They are all losing their stats and their minds. Soho realizes that even regular civilians were pulled into this death game. The scale of the tragedy is worldwide. A red notification announces that an administrator has entered the chat. All user communication is instantly cut off. Soho grits his teeth as the air in the room grows heavy. Something dangerous is about to address the survivors. Suho stares at the wall as the weight of his situation sinks in. He has no clue how to return home. The system explains that points are the only currency used for survival and trading. Everything in this tower has a price. Suho-I reflects his growing panic at the realization. Points are only rewarded for risking his life in trials. He looks toward the blinding light above his head. Even basic necessities like water are locked behind a paywall. His boots crunch against the ground as he processes the endless cycle ahead. Survival requires a never-ending string of victories. Suho covers his face while his dreams of becoming a hunter are crushed. Returning home was only the first step of a nightmare. He sits alone in the cold stone room to gather his thoughts. The exhaustion from his first battle is finally catching up. His heavy blade leans against the wall as a reminder of his only tool. Without it he is just a corpse waiting to happen. Suho suddenly lunges forward with his weapon drawn. His instincts are sharpening with every passing minute. He raises a shield and charges into the unknown with a fierce roar. The only way out of this hell is through it. Suho focuses on the efficiency of learning skills others have mastered. He needs every shortcut to close the gap between him and the elites. He lunges forward with his sword and shield in a frantic mock battle. Training is the only way to avoid being left behind. Suho collapses onto the stone floor as his lungs scream for air. He has pushed his physical limits to the absolute breaking point. A faint glow envelopes his face as the waiting room begins to mend his broken body. This magical recovery is his only lifeline in this tower. Suho stands up and tests his grip as the fatigue vanishes instantly. The healing effects allow him to train without wasting a single second on rest. He stretches his muscles and prepares to start the grueling cycle all over again. There is no room for laziness in a world that kills the weak. Suho opens his inventory to inspect his meager collection of weapons and potions. He meticulously plans his next move with the few resources he has left. He grits his teeth while realizing his points are nearly depleted after the last shop run. Survival is a luxury he can barely afford. The system clock ticks down and signals that his brief respite is almost over. Time is moving much faster than his body can adapt. Suho stares at the massive stone walls while the silence of the chamber settles around him. He braces himself for the horrors waiting on the second floor. Suho hangs his head as doubt begins to creep in. He wonders if his luck has finally run out. A sharp blue flash cuts through his hesitation. He refuses to let his story end in this dark chamber. Suho locks his gaze forward with a look of pure defiance. He makes a silent pact to survive at any cost. The countdown begins as the air around him starts to vibrate. He has less than 10 seconds to prepare for the transition. The clock hits 0 and a system chime echoes through the room. The transition to the next floor activates immediately. A blinding white light consumes the entire area. Suho's surroundings dissolve into a void of pure energy. Suho falls through a swirling blue portal while a confirmation window hovers above him. He is being transported to a new reality. He tumbles through the air and crashes into the thick canopy of a dense forest. The impact is cushioned by layers of heavy greenery. The system confirms he is entering a hard difficulty trial. A massive cliffside looms over the vibrant jungle landscape. Suho stands up and scans the lush environment with a look of total shock. He has successfully reached the next stage of the tower. A system window appears detailing the mission as an assassination trial. Suho must eliminate the orc tribe leader before the clock runs out. Savage green-skinned warriors roar with glowing red eyes. Their massive iron axes are stained with the remains of past victims. Suho questions the target while the brutal face of a monster fills his vision. Taking down a tribe leader is a death sentence for a trainee. Suho stands at the edge of a massive drop. He peers over the jagged cliffside to find the source of the rhythmic chanting. An entire fortified orc camp stretches across the valley floor. He is a single human standing against a fortified small army. Suho stares down in total disbelief at the scale of the challenge. His heart hammers against his ribs as he realizes the sheer numbers. Tribal fires burn as dozens of muscular warriors patrol the camp perimeter. There is no clear path to the center through this many guards. The system update confirms he must also defeat the surrounding tribe. Suho grits his teeth as the pressure of the trial suffocates him. Harsh shrieks echo through the valley as the orcs begin their guttural war cries. The atmosphere is thick with the scent of smoke and animal hide. A massive guard stands ready with a heavy weapon gripped in his calloused hands. One mistake in his approach will result in instant execution. Suho hunkers down in the dense foliage to scout the orc encampment. He realizes a single guard could alert the entire tribe. A massive orc hunter looms in the shadows with glowing red eyes and trophies of past kills. Taking this monster head-on is suicide. He remembers that clearing a tribe usually requires a full party of E-rank hunters. He is facing these impossible odds alone. Suho's eyes narrow as he weighs his limited options against the overwhelming numbers. The feeling of helplessness is starting to sink in. He presses his body into the dirt to stay hidden from the patrol. He needs a better plan before the guards catch his scent. A sudden spark of inspiration hits him as he scans the dry brush nearby. He finally sees a way to clear the trial. He ignites a makeshift torch and watches the hungry flames dance. This fire will be his equalizer against the physical monsters. Soho gathers a pile of dry wood to ensure the blaze spreads through the camp. He has enough firewood to start a literal hell. He grips the burning brand while his face reflects the orange glow. It is time to see if this gamble pays off. A system window chimes as the tower recognizes his shift in strategy. He is no longer the prey in this jungle. Soho grins as his plan starts to fall into place. He finally feels a sense of control over his fate. Soho notes that despite their appearance, the orcs follow a strict and disciplined daily routine. Understanding their habits is his only advantage. The camp empties out at dawn as the warriors leave to hunt for food. Their absence creates the perfect window for his infiltration. Soho realizes he has several hours before the main force returns at sunset. He can set his trap without worrying about a sudden ambush. A group of massive orcs stands ready with blood-red eyes and heavy iron axes. These monsters represent a wall of pure violence he must overcome. Soho stares ahead with blue eyes that burn with cold determination. He has completely cast aside his past as a talentless failure. The path to absolute power remains open for those brave enough to take it. Soho is ready to claim his place at the top. Two orcs stand guard at the entrance of the primitive wooden fortress. Even with the hunters gone, the camp remains a dangerous fortification. Soho leans against a tree trunk and observes the guard rotation from the shadows. He knows a single sound will bring the tribe down on him. Soho sprints through the undergrowth with a burning torch held low. He is moving to ignite the camp before the sun begins to fade. Soho hurls the lit torch into the dry structures of the camp. A wall of flame erupts instantly. The fire roars as it catches the wooden tents. A startled orc shrieks in confusion at the sudden blaze. Orc warriors scramble in a panic to grab water buckets. The distraction is working exactly as planned. Soho realizes the returning hunters won't find a calm camp. He has successfully isolated the remaining guards. Frantic footsteps echo as the orcs abandon their posts. The perimeter is wide open for an ambush. Soho emerges from the brush behind a guard near the water. The monster is too focused on the fire to notice him. He drives his blade deep into the orc's skull with a sickening crunch. The kill is swift and silent. Blood sprays across the ground as the heavy corpse collapses. A blue system window flickers to life above the body. Dark energy swirls around the fallen warrior as the system offers his prize. Soho selects yes to absorb the orc spirit. Thick black fog surges into Soho's chest and burns with raw power. This is the moment his real growth begins. Red energy tendrils tear through the air as Soho absorbs the orc essence. The monster lets out one final confused rasp before fading. The massive green warrior collapses into a heap of dead weight. Soho stands over his kill as the dust begins to settle. A piercing shriek echoes through the valley as the spirit extraction reaches its peak. Soho grits his teeth against the overwhelming volume of the dying cry. The force of the soul absorption slams Soho into the dirt with a heavy thud. He groans as his body struggles to contain the raw power. A system notification confirms that consumed spirits grant permanent stat upgrades. Soho commands the system to absorb everything the warrior left behind. Blue windows flood his vision with news of rising strength and agility. His physical limits are being rewritten by the tower in real time. Raw energy surges through his muscles and forces a sharp breath from his lungs. He can feel himself becoming more than just a human trainee. The mangled corpse lies still as the last of its vitality is drained away. Blood stains the ground where a monster once stood. Soho realizes a single mistake against the guard would have ended his life. He stares at the system window while his power continues to climb. His stamina increases alongside his raw strength as his eyes sharpen with new clarity. Every kill is making him a legitimate hunter. Soho notes that his new strength significantly lowers the risk of engaging the camp guards. He is finally ready to test his limits against a real army. Embers and thick smoke rise into the darkened sky as the heat intensifies. The surrounding forest begins to catch fire from the spreading chaos. Soho marches directly into the burning tree-line with his blade drawn and shield ready. His shadow stretches long against the flickering orange light of the camp. He identifies 3 workers and a single guard stationed at the perimeter. Soho's eyes glow with a cold blue intensity as he locks onto his targets. The orcs remain oblivious to the shadow creeping through the thick smoke. They continue their guttural chatter around the central tribal fire. A scout wearing a bleached skull helmet lets out a sharp series of clicks. It senses a sudden shift in the air and turns toward the brush. Soho erupts from the darkness and carves through the first target in a single motion. Fresh blood sprays against the dry earth as the ambush begins. He moves with mechanical precision while ignoring the gore staining his face. His focus never wavers from the next life he needs to take. The orcs barely have time to roar before his blade shears through their thick hide. Their red eyes widen in total shock at his overwhelming speed. Soho leaps through a wall of fire to deliver a crushing blow to the remaining warriors. The impact sends sparks flying as he grunts against the physical strain. Soho observes the elite guard drifting away from the clan head. This is the opening he needs. The guard screeches as embers rain down on the battlefield. Suho identifies this monster as the final barrier. He leaps through the rising heat with his shield leading the way. The smell of burning wood fills his lungs. Suho's eyes glow a sharp blue as he channels his focus. He roars while committing to a lethal blow. The blade connects with a sickening thud and silences the orc instantly. Dark blood sprays across the burning floor. Suho stands amidst the gore with his sword still humming with power. He scans the smoke for the next threat. A violent blast of energy shatters the silence of the camp. The impact sends a wave of heat across the valley. Suho gasps as the shockwave nearly blows him off his feet. His instincts scream that something has gone wrong. The remaining orc structures are vaporized in a single instant. He can barely see through the blinding orange haze. A massive column of fire roars into the sky like a physical weight. The real battle starts now. Guttural screams fill the air as the fire consumes the camp. The orcs are burning alive in the chaos. Suho stands in the center of the blaze with his shield raised. He watches the destruction with cold indifference. The orc leader grimaces as the heat blisters his skin. A system prompt chimes against the roar of the flames. The system confirms Suho has gained the fire-resistant skill. His body is physically evolving to survive the heat. Blood drips into Suho's eye while his gaze turns a sharp blue. He is locking onto his next target. He remains a steady shadow amidst the swirling orange embers. The fire no longer feels like a threat to him. A new achievement for enduring the blaze pops up on his interface. The tower is rewarding his suicidal bravery. The fire-resistance skill stabilizes and allows him to move freely. He can feel the physical burden finally lifting. Suho bares his teeth as his adrenaline peaks. He is ready to slaughter every orc left standing in the ruins. A massive figure leaps through the smoke with a heavy weapon. The leader is making his final desperate stand. The orc screams as the fire consumes its flesh. It realizes the hunter has become the predator. Suho's blade carves through the air with a sickening wet sound. He isn't giving them any room to breathe. The monster's face contorts in a final expression of pure agony. Its guttural cries echo across the burning camp. A lone survivor staggers back while clutching a severed trophy. Suho watches the creature's spirit break in real time. The orc scrambles toward the main hut in a desperate attempt to hide. Suho's eyes ignite as he prepares to finish the job. Ash and embers rain down on the charred remains of the battlefield. The silence of death begins to settle over the valley. Suho steps over the threshold of the shattered wooden entrance. He follows the trail of blood into the dark interior. He stands in the center of the room with his glowing sword and battered shield. His presence alone radiates a lethal intent. A female orc huddles on the floor while shielding two terrified children. They tremble at the sight of the human monster. Suho stops in his tracks as the reality of the slaughter hits him. He stares at the innocent victims of his brutal efficiency. A young orc child wails in terror as it looks up at the intruder. Suho stands over the creature with a cold and unreadable expression. A voice from his past screams for him to run away and survive. The memory of his mother's sacrifice hits him like a physical blow. He stares at a cracked family photo lying in a pool of fresh blood. The sight of the broken glass mirrors his own shattered resolve. Suho sheaths his weapon and turns away from the cowering survivors. He chooses to walk away rather than continue the mindless slaughter. He calls himself an idiot for letting his emotions get in the way of the mission. The weight of his past is a burden he cannot shake. A crimson slash marks the air as his internal conflict reaches a boiling point. He refuses to let his trauma define his future. Suho resolves to exterminate the monster bloodlines that took everything from him. His mercy was a one-time lapse in judgment. The system confirms he has successfully completed the second floor. A wave of exhaustion washes over his battered and blood-stained body. The path forward becomes clear as he prepares for the next trial. He is becoming something much more than a simple hunter. Suho examines his splintered shield and realizes it finally saved his life. He discards the broken wood and prepares for the next floor. Suho stares at the community window and sees the terrifying mortality rate of the other participants. He realizes half of the survivors were wiped out during the last trial. A sudden message in the chat room catches his attention and makes his heart race. He cannot believe the words appearing on the screen. The post mentions a legitimate method to return to Earth from the tower. The possibility of going home gives him a new reason to fight. Suho learns that the information command provides a single question voucher for every floor cleared. He has been sitting on a massive resource without even knowing it. Other players are already pooling their vouchers to map out the hidden mechanics of the tower. This shared knowledge is the only thing keeping the weak alive. Clearing the fifth floor allows players to buy a temporary return stone for the human world. Deeper floors promise a massive expansion of the current system. Suho wonders how the world will react if he returns with his new superhuman abilities. He could finally reclaim the dignity he lost over 7 years of failure. He pulls up his status window to check his F-rank necromancy trait. Absorbing spirits is the only way to permanently boost his stats for the harder floors. He looks at his tattered clothes and shredded skin from the previous battle. He barely survived the second floor and knows the difficulty is only ramping up. Suho forces himself to stay positive despite the long road ahead. His once pathetic stats are finally reaching an average level for a real hunter. Suho pulls up his status window to review his current growth. He is finally starting to look like a real hunter. He prepares to consume the 5 spirits he risked his life to obtain. It is time to get stronger. Dark energy swirls around his body as the spirits merge with his soul. The power surge is completely overwhelming. A system chime confirms his stats have nearly doubled across the board. He has achieved a massive power spike. Suho stares at his hands with a look of pure intensity. He finally possesses the strength he was always denied. He launches himself forward to test his new physical limits. This speed feels like it belongs to another species. He blurs across the stone room with effortless grace. His body is finally responding to his will. Suho nearly crashes into the wall because he underestimated his own acceleration. He can hardly believe his own speed. A sudden impact rattles the chamber as he tests his striking power. The air screams under his movement. He collapses to the floor while gasping for air. This unexpected growth has completely changed his perspective on survival. Suho opens the system shop to prepare for the challenges ahead. He needs every advantage his points can buy. He spends over 2,000 points on a massive wooden shield. This defense is vital for his continued survival. Suho inspects an assassin's cape that boosts his agility and movement speed. He is finally building a professional kit. He stands ready in his new black gear with his sword at his side. The transformation from failure is complete. Suho sprints across the floor to master his new stats before the timer ends. He refuses to be unprepared. His blue eyes flare with power as he adjusts to the incredible speed. He is no longer a weakling. He vows to reach a level of strength where no one can ever look down on him. His ambition grows. A blinding white light consumes the chamber as the trial countdown reaches 0. The next phase begins immediately. Suho steps through the glowing portal with his shield braced. He is ready for whatever the tower throws at him. Notifications confirm his arrival on the 3rd floor of the tower. He continues to face the trial on hard difficulty. Suho stares at the jagged ceiling and realizes he has entered a massive cavern. This was not part of the plan. A thin beam of light highlights the vast scale of the empty stone chamber. He stands alone in the damp silence. Suho draws his blade while scanning the darkness for hidden threats. The atmosphere is thick with killing intent. A system window appears with a 10-second countdown for the next boss. The tower is giving him no time to rest. Suho narrows his eyes as his heart rate spikes from the sudden notification. He prepares his body for a high-rank encounter. The timer hits 5 seconds while the surrounding air begins to grow heavy. The pressure is becoming suffocating. Suho drops into a defensive stance to cover every possible angle of attack. He anticipates an ambush from the shadows. 3 seconds remain as a low growl echoes through the stone hall. He anchors his feet into the dirt. The final second vanishes as the shadows in the corner of the room begin to move. The predator has finally arrived. The system confirms the Guardian of Darkness has entered the chamber. Suho readies his shield for the first strike. The chamber plunges into violet shadow as the Guardian manifests. The air turns freezing. Suho lunges forward with his shield raised. He refuses to wait for the first hit. His boots skid across the damp cavern floor. Movement feels heavy in this darkness. Suho's blue eye narrows as he tracks the monster. He focuses every sense on survival. A sudden crimson flash tears through the haze. The monster strikes with blinding speed. Suho catches the heavy blow against his wooden shield. The impact vibrates through his bones. He pivots his weight to stay upright. This monster is faster than any orc. A jagged face with a glowing red eye glares through smoke. It is pure malice. The predator bares its teeth and lunges for a killing bite. Suho reacts instantly. Suho grunts in pain as the pressure pushes his limits. He refuses to die here. Suho grits his teeth as a system window orders him to defeat the Guardian of Darkness. This doppelganger is his final lethal hurdle. The interface glows brightly while the burning camp dissolves into a white void. He is being pulled into a private execution chamber. Suho raises his new wooden shield while a shadow looms in the damp cavern. The silence is broken by a low growl. His blue eyes flare with an intense light as he locks onto the movement. Survival instincts take over his mind. A sudden impact sends blood spraying across the cold stone floor. Suho staggers as the monster strikes his blind spot. The predator bares its jagged teeth and lets out a guttural snarl. Suho grunts in pain from the heavy blow. A blue system window appears with a final lethal objective. He must kill the Guardian of Darkness to proceed. Suho pivots and launches a desperate counterattack against the shifting shadows. The force of the clash shatters the ground. The dark cavern vibrates as the true scale of the arena is revealed. This is the stage for his execution. Suho stands across from his own shadow in a frozen face-off. The atmosphere is thick with suffocating killing intent. Sweat pours down Suho's face as the monster's maw hangs inches from his head. He is barely clinging to consciousness. He realizes the monster nearly severed his spine in that last exchange. One more mistake will be his last. Suho watches the dark shadow mirror his exact stance. He realizes the bastard is copying his every move. A surge of blue energy fills the chamber as Soho readies his blade. He decides he will find the answer through a direct clash. Soho lunges across the stone floor while the doppelganger mimics his trajectory. Their matching strikes create a violent ripple of wind. The Guardian's red eyes flare with a predatory light. It bares its fangs as it anticipates Soho's next strike. A massive spray of dark liquid erupts during the chaotic exchange. Soho remains steady under the shadow of the colossal opponent. Soho lets out a guttural growl through his grit teeth. He refuses to back down against his own twisted reflection. The Guardian contorts its face into a hideous grin. It is feeding off Soho's rising desperation. The shadow monster launches itself forward with lethal intent. Its glowing eyes lock onto Soho's vital points. Soho pivots his weight to parry the doppelganger's incoming blow. Their blades scream as they slide against each other in the dark. Metal sparks fly as Soho confirms his suspicion. The monster is a perfect mirror of his own combat style. Soho dives into the shadows with a calculated plan. He targets the flaws in his own style to find an opening. The blades collide with a violent ringing sound. He refuses to give the shadow an inch of ground. A flurry of blue strikes fills the dark chamber. Neither side can land a finishing blow in this stalemate. Soho lunges low to disrupt the monster's rhythm. Speed is his only advantage against a perfect copy. A blinding explosion of energy erupts between the two fighters. The raw force of the impact rocks the entire cavern. Soho recoils in shock as his vision blurs from the blast. He realizes the monster is no longer just mimicking him. A massive arc of purple energy tears through the air. The shadow is evolving beyond Soho's current capabilities. Soho raises his shield to block a wave of crushing heat. The defensive wood groans under the impossible pressure. Soho grits his teeth while sweat pours down his face. He cannot believe how fast his opponent is scaling. The shadow's red eyes flare with a lethal and ancient hunger. It lets out a guttural growl that freezes the air. Soho crouches low as blue energy surges from the system. He prepares his body for one final explosive movement. A movement speed buff flickers to life as Soho checks his remaining time. He has 60 seconds to finish this. The Guardian lunges with a guttural roar that shakes the stone cavern. Soho pivots to avoid the lethal strike. Purple energy trails cut through the darkness as the monster thrashes. Soho's sharpening instincts are the only thing keeping him alive. Soho launches himself from the cavern wall to gain a height advantage. He dives toward the beast with a lethal trajectory. His blue eyes ignite with power as speed lines blur his vision. He is pushing his new stats to their absolute limit. Soho dives toward the glowing red eye of the beast. He commits every ounce of strength to this single vertical strike. The impact creates a massive shockwave of shadow and crimson energy. The force of the collision rattles his entire skeleton. Soho gasps for air while the monster lets out a ragged growl. His stamina is completely drained from the desperate encounter. A blinding white light consumes the cavern as the final blow connects. The blade pierces through the darkness of the trial. A dark limb tears through the air and shreds Soho's shoulder. Fresh blood sprays across the cavern floor as the strike connects. Soho's eyes go wide as the agonizing pain finally registers. He is reeling from the speed of the Guardian's counterattack. He lets out a jagged scream while more blood fountains from the open wound. The force of the blow nearly severs his arm. Soho forces his eyes open and glares through the red mist clouding his vision. He refuses to let his consciousness slip away now. He realizes the massive shadow has stopped moving for a split second. This is the only opening he will ever get. Soho looks at his empty hands and his sword lying out of reach. He is trapped in a corner without a single weapon to his name. The system clock flashes a final 11-second warning before his time runs out. Every heartbeat brings him closer to a permanent death. Soho grips his broken equipment with a look of pure, desperate madness. He decides to bet everything on one impossible move. He lunges forward with a guttural roar and puts his entire weight into the charge. He is choosing a violent end over a coward's death. The Guardian of Darkness snarls as the puny human rushes toward its claws. Its red eyes flare with the intent to end Soho's life. Blue energy slashes rip through the air as Soho commits to his final charge. He is betting everything on this one opening. Red streaks of light pierce the darkness as the Guardian retaliates. The air itself seems to buckle under the raw pressure. The Guardian lets out a bone-chilling roar with its fangs bared and eyes glowing. It strikes with the lethal intent to shred its prey. Soho braces behind his shield with blood pouring down his face. He focuses every ounce of his remaining strength into his stance. The monster's jaws snap shut against the rim of the shield. Soho refuses to yield even as his bones begin to creak under the weight. A violent explosion of purple energy rocks the entire chamber. The resulting shockwave sends debris flying in every direction. The Guardian is launched backward by the sheer force of the collision. It crashes into the ground and struggles to maintain its footing. Thick black smoke coils around the mangled form of the beast. It appears the monster is finally reaching its physical limit. The creature glares through the haze with a look of pure, unadulterated hatred. It is gathering its energy for one last desperate strike. A single command to kill flashes as Soho delivers the final blow. He is ending this nightmare once and for all. Soho drives his blade into the heart of the shadow beast. The final strike shatters the monster into thousands of fragments. Black gore sprays across the chamber as the entity head explodes. A system chime confirms he has successfully conquered the 3rd floor. New windows announce his arrival at the next waiting room. The tower automatically mends his shattered ribs and stops the bleeding. Soho leans against the cold wall while his vision finally stabilizes. He waits for the familiar hum of the healing process to finish. He launches a sudden strike into the empty air to test his agility. The speed of his own movement surprises him. A massive crater forms under his feet from the sheer force of his step. He is no longer just a struggling trainee. Soho lets out a ragged breath and smiles at his perfect recovery. The feeling of being whole again is a luxury he missed. The doppelganger spirit howls in agony as dark tendrils pull it toward his chest. His necromancy trait demands its total submission. This high-ranked shadow essence is the strongest spirit he has ever attempted to harvest. It burns with a terrifying amount of energy. Soho realizes the soul density is on a completely different level compared to the orcs. He prepares to merge with the darkness. A blue notification chimes as necromancy hits max proficiency. Soho watches the system window with a look of pure shock. The trait surges to E rank with a blinding flash of light. This evolution represents a massive jump in his potential power. Soho stares at the screen and realizes he can now steal the skills of the dead. He has finally unlocked a way to bridge the talent gap. The system explains that absorbing souls grants a random awakened skill from the fallen spirit. He remembers how he gained fast recovery after his brush with death. Soho stands over the mangled orc corpses and calls his new ability a broken trait. He knows this power is the key to conquering the higher floors. A wild grin spreads across his face as he enters the 4th floor community. He is eager to test his luck against the next challenge. Soho relaxes in a sterile waiting room and notes that the space is starting to feel like home. The relative peace is interrupted by a sudden notification. The global chat explodes with news about an integrated trial on the next level. Soho realizes everyone will be forced into the same arena. He stares at the glowing interface while processing the implications of a shared mission. His instincts warn him that the tower is changing the rules again. A chilling message suggests that a competition between hunters will quickly turn into a bloodbath. Soho prepares himself to face human enemies for the first time. A jagged speech bubble signals the beginning of a new trial. The tower is shifting the rules of engagement once again. The white void slowly clears as Soho enters the next floor. He can feel the air growing heavy with anticipation. The title card flashes to signify the next chapter of his struggle. His journey through the tower is only getting harder. System notifications confirm he has been paired with other challengers for this floor. The solo grind has officially come to an end. A massive stone fortress stands as the primary objective. If the team fails or time runs out, every participant will be executed. Blue energy pulses around Soho as he takes in his new surroundings. He prepares his mind for another standard monster hunt. 3 figures materialize in the center of the dusty arena. Soho finds himself standing between 2 complete strangers. Soho feels a wave of social awkwardness wash over him. He is used to killing monsters, not making small talk with survivors. He keeps his shield ready while glancing at the mysterious figure in the blue cloak. Trust is a luxury he can't afford in this place. A girl with striking yellow eyes stares back at him. This teammate seems much more composed than a typical trainee. The girl studies Soho with a calculating gaze. She admits that having a hunter around might not be a total disaster. The armored warrior bristles at the mention of Soho's background. He clearly isn't looking to make any new friends today. Soho introduces himself and confirms he specializes in close-quarters combat. He needs them to understand his role before the fighting starts. The big man barks at Soho to stay out of his way during the raid. He views anyone without a formal rank as a liability. Soho stares back with cold eyes from beneath his hood. He's heard these same insults for 7 long years. The brute continues his verbal assault while checking his heavy gear. He refuses to acknowledge Soho as an equal. Dark shadows of past bullies flicker in Soho's mind as he listens to the familiar mocking. He simply forgot that the world always hates the weak. He grips the hilt of his sword and lets the familiar weight settle his nerves. His weapon is the only response he needs. Soho watches the man walk away and grudgingly respects his obvious power. This teammate is arrogant but has the skill to back it up. The trio marches toward the towering gates of the next fortress. The uneasy alliance is the only thing standing between them and the horde. A blinding white light consumes the vision as the transition to the next floor completes. Soho braces his body for the shift. System notifications flicker to life and announce a 3-on-3 competitive trial. Success depends on outperforming a rival team in real time. The massive stone drawbridge groans as it slams into the ground. A dark fortress entrance waits for the trio to enter. A swarm of green-skinned goblins erupts from the shadows with jagged axes raised. They charge with a predatory hunger in their eyes. Soho realizes these monsters are moving with a terrifying level of military discipline. This is not the mindless horde he expected. Soho pulls his hood low and barks a command for his teammates to wake up. Hesitation is the fastest way to die. He carves through the front line and leaves a mangled corpse in the dirt. His blue blade hums with lethal efficiency. Conflict erupts within the party as the teammate demands more buffs from their exhausted caster. Their teamwork is already shattering under pressure. Lee Hae-eon gasps for air while her mana begins to fail. She is reaching her limit before the real fight even starts. A sudden shockwave sends the party reeling as the goblins push their advantage. Soho grits his teeth against the rising chaos. Lee Hae-eon screams for the party to hold the line. She cannot defend herself if the front line collapses. A massive shockwave tears through the battlefield and kicks up a wall of dust. The impact shakes the foundation. Lee Hae-eon stands frozen as the smoke begins to clear. She realizes the formation is already failing. Goblins leap through the haze with rusted blades and murderous intent. They are moving for the kill. A brute swings a massive club while the warrior curses their relentless numbers. The pressure is becoming unbearable. A spiked morning star smashes into the ground with lethal force. One direct hit would be an instant death. The warrior staggers back as the weight of the blow vibrates through his body. He is barely holding on. A feral goblin screeches and raises its jagged blade for a finishing strike. Its eyes glow with pure malice. The warrior lets out a desperate cry as the situation turns into a massacre. His spirit is finally breaking. Veins pop in his eyes as he roars in total agony. The weight of the failure is crushing him. Soho carves through the goblin line with a single blue flash. The creature is dead before it even hits the ground. Lee Sung-hoon clutches his head in total disbelief at the speed of the strike. He realizes he is completely outclassed by a supposed rookie. More goblins erupt into sprays of blood as the blue blade moves too fast to track. Soho is turning the ambush into a slaughter. Sung-hoon stares at Soho's back and questions how a newbie can possess this kind of power. The hierarchy of the team is shattering. Soho demands that Sung-hoon stay back and out of the line of fire. He has no intention of babysitting a panicked warrior. Soho's blue eyes flare with cold intensity as he calls his teammate a nuisance. He is focused purely on the efficiency of the kill. A blur of energy tears through the entire goblin formation in seconds. The fortress entrance is quickly becoming a graveyard. A system chime confirms Soho has officially unlocked the Goblin Hunter accomplishment. His efficiency is being rewarded in real time. Soho leaps into the next wave and targets their vital points with surgical precision. He refuses to give the monsters a second to breathe. Sung-hoon roars in frustration while his pride completely shatters. He cannot handle being the weakest link in his own raid. Soho tells Sung-hoon he is a total burden in the middle of the fight. He has no time for useless teammates. He launches a massive horizontal slash that cuts through the fortress air. His speed leaves a trail of blue light. The blade carves through the goblin frontline with a violent spray of blood. He is moving too fast for them to react. Soho pivots in mid-air to avoid a counterattack while striking another monster. He is a whirlwind of pure lethality. Sung-hoon watches from the ground with wide, terrified eyes. He cannot comprehend the power gap between them. The warrior stands frozen as the pressure of the battlefield spikes. He realizes he is completely outclassed. Dark wisps of energy begin to rise from the fallen goblin corpses. The air feels heavy with the scent of death. Soho notes that no one can see the sword energy fueling his strikes. He keeps his true power hidden in plain sight. He prepares to harvest the souls to fuel his growth. This is the moment he turns death into raw strength. System windows confirm massive jumps in his agility, stamina, and endurance. Soho is evolving with every kill. Soho unlocks the ranger's knowledge skill as his blue eyes pulse with system light. This passive ability is the first step toward mastering the tower's mechanics. A sudden surge of mana sharpens his vision to an impossible degree. The world slows down as his senses expand beyond human limits. Soho tests his widened field of view while standing in the center of the dusty arena. He finally understands the massive advantage of specialized hunter perceptions. A dark smirk spreads across his face as he realizes the potential of his new trait. He hit the jackpot by harvesting the guardian's soul. Lee Sung-hoon looks down at the goblin corpses and calls Soho's success a matter of pure luck. The armored warrior refuses to acknowledge a rankless hunter's skill. Sung-hoon grudgingly admits the work was decent despite his obvious arrogance. He still views himself as the only natural leader in the party. The brute announces he is taking full command of the group moving forward. He expects Soho and the caster to follow his every order. Soho stares back and asks Sung-hoon if he has a problem with the current party efficiency. He isn't about to let an ego-driven tank ruin his run. Sung-hoon grits his teeth and backs down after feeling the weight of Soho's gaze. He yields leadership as the atmosphere becomes suffocating. Soho orders Sung-hoon to protect Lee Hae-eon while she guides them from the rear. He is taking control of the formation to ensure they survive the next wave. Lee Hae-eon nods and agrees to follow Soho's lead until the mission is over. She finally respects his authority. She raises her staff and channels a surge of green mana to buff the party. The air hums with supportive power. A horde of green-skinned goblins screeches as they rush forward with jagged blades. They are hungry for a kill. Suho lunges forward with his hood low and eyes glowing a predatory blue. His combat proficiency continues to climb. He carves through the front line while blue energy slashes paint the dirt in blood. He is moving with lethal efficiency. The chaos subsides as the group moves deeper into a destroyed residential district. Only the sound of their boots remains. The trio walks through the silent ruins while Lee Hae-eon notes the strange lack of goblin spawns. Something is definitely wrong. Suho pivots instantly as a sudden chill of killing intent runs down his spine. His sharp instincts are screaming. Sung-hoon and Lee Hae-eon freeze as the atmosphere becomes suffocatingly heavy. They realize they are no longer alone in the plaza. A giant stone statue looms over the town square while pouring water from a massive basin. This is the source of the pressure. Suho notes that another group of challengers has already cleared the path ahead. Sung-hoon is shocked that anyone could move this quickly. Suho touches a fresh pool of blood on the stone floor. The trail is still warm and they must hurry to catch the leaders. They enter a massive hall shaped like a chessboard filled with shattered statues. Losing the boss kill to a rival team would mean certain failure. Sung-hoon grips his massive blade while Lee Hae-eon readies her magic. The tension in the chamber is reaching a violent breaking point. A lethal intent vibrates through the air like a physical blow. The trial demands a sacrifice before the gates will open. Suho pulls his hood low and focuses his blue gaze on the path forward. He knows they cannot afford to waste another second. A horde of crazed goblins shrieks as they rush out of the darkness. Their glowing yellow eyes are fixed on the party's throats. A massive shockwave tears through the stone floor as the first wave is intercepted. The impact sends debris and blood flying. Purple energy slashes through the air with a deafening screech. Suho decimates the lead attackers before they can even swing their rusted blades. A goblin stares in total shock as a blade closes the distance to its skull. It never even saw the lethal counter coming. Suho leaps over the final cluster of monsters with his daggers drawn. He is finishing this wave before they can regroup. Suho looks down with a cold and disgusted expression. He is tired of slaughtering these weak creatures. He moves like a blur and sends the remaining goblins flying through the air. The trial feels more like a chore than a challenge. A final goblin screeches as Suho's boot crushes the ground beside it. He does not miss a single opening. Red energy arcs through the air as the last monster is silenced. The violence is efficient and absolute. Silence returns to the stone arena as the corpses settle into the dirt. Suho stands alone in the center of the carnage. His teammate approaches with a bright smile to offer praise for the easy win. He clearly did not contribute much to the fight. Suho glares back while sweat beads on his forehead. He realizes he is doing all the heavy lifting for this team. The man flinches under Suho's intense gaze and tries to find an excuse. The power gap between them is humiliating. Suho points toward the massive gate marked with a glowing purple eye. He orders the others to open the path to the boss. The man scrambles to open the gate while calling Suho his superior. Suho maintains his focus as the path clears. Blue system windows confirm the conditions for the next stage are met. The team is officially entering the Goblin King's spiral tower. A new prompt reveals the boss fight only starts once one rival team is eliminated. The trial is turning into a deathmatch. The tower locks the exits to ensure no one escapes the upcoming slaughter. Red energy flares as the trap is set. A massive red barrier slams down and encases the entire village in a glowing cube. There is no way out now. The armored teammate gapes at the sky in total disbelief. He realizes they are trapped with a hostile force. 3 figures emerge from the swirling dust and debris across the courtyard. The enemy team has finally arrived. Suho pulls his hood low as his eyes ignite with a lethal blue light. He recognizes the situation is spiraling out of control. The opposing leader smiles and decides to handle the entire fight by himself. He views Suho's team as a mere warm-up. The rival hunter steps forward with a relaxed and arrogant stride. He is confident that this massacre will be over quickly. Lee Hae-eon watches Suho with a look of newfound respect. She acknowledges that his raw strength is undeniable. Dark silhouettes of enemy hunters loom with glowing red eyes. She warns that humans in this tower are far more lethal than any beast. Suho nods silently from beneath his dark hood. He promises to signal the team if the situation turns fatal. A blue light surrounds Suho as Lee Hae-eon activates a speed buff. His agility stat climbs as the mana takes hold. Suho marches toward the massive iron gates alone while green sparks dance around his blade. He is stepping into the lion's den. He stares at the looming challenge and measures his own growth. Suho realizes he has already surpassed the standard hunter rank. The rival team tenses up and draws their weapons as the lone figure approaches. They recognize the killing intent radiating from him. Suho accelerates into a blur as he prepares for the first exchange. He is testing the limits of his current body. His confidence surges as he realizes the gap between them. He knows his power level is on a completely different trajectory. He recalls the trail of goblin corpses left in his wake. 30 kills were just the warm-up for this fight. Suho analyzes his stats and realizes his growth has surpassed everyone else on this floor. He knows he can finally dominate the trial. He lunges forward with his shield raised while blue energy flares from his eyes. The speed of his charge creates a sonic boom across the stone floor. The next stage of the battle begins as the tower increases the pressure. Every participant feels the weight of the coming slaughter. Suho shatters the ground with a single step as he accelerates toward the enemy line. He is closing the distance before they can even register his movement. The rival hunter stares in shock as the trainee he mocked suddenly disappears from view. He realizes he has made a fatal error in judgment. A teammate screams for the group to deploy their defensive shields immediately. They are desperately trying to survive the incoming shockwave. A golden light erupts as the skill activates with a deafening hum. The sheer volume of mana being used begins to crack the arena floor. The impact of the first strike sends a spray of stone and sparks into the air. The shield groans under the impossible physical pressure. Suho launches himself into the air to find a gap in the formation. He is targeting the weak point in their temporary barrier. A jagged red strike tears through the center of the battlefield with lethal precision. The force of the explosion levels everything in the immediate area. A massive shockwave shatters the stone floor. The impact sends debris flying as a thick dust cloud erupts. Suho's wooden shield splinters into 1,000 pieces under the force. He is now completely exposed to the next strike. A blue energy blade cuts through the air and catches the enemy off guard. Dark blood sprays across the arena. Suho ignores his injuries and launches into a low-profile charge. He is closing the distance before the dust settles. Lee Hye-eon and her teammate watch the exchange in total silence. They cannot believe a low-rank hunter is moving this fast. Suho's eyes burn with a cold light as his blade connects. His opponent grunts in pain while struggling to maintain his footing. The two fighters blur into a flurry of steel and sparks. Their weapons scream as they trade dozens of lethal blows. Metal grinds against metal as Suho notices a flaw in the exchange. Something about the way the enemy blocks feels wrong. The opponent parries with an awkward movement that defies logic. Suho realizes his strikes are being redirected with minimal effort. The enemy clicks his tongue and readies a heavy counter. The atmosphere shifts as the brute prepares to end the stalemate. The brute bellows that this is the end. Suho stares back with absolute focus. Their weapons collide with a deafening crack. The shockwave rattles the surrounding stone. Suho braces behind his shield while the enemy's blade bites into the rim. He refuses to give an inch of ground. Suho's blue eyes flare with an icy light. He has already calculated the perfect opening. The brute grunts as his red eyes widen in realization. He can no longer track Suho's rising speed. A sudden burst of force sends the warrior sliding across the arena. The impact leaves deep gouges in the floor. The armored man staggers as his defense completely crumbles. Fear finally replaces his arrogance. Blue energy pulses through Suho's shield as he pivots for the finishing blow. He commits his remaining strength to this single strike. Suho carves a lethal arc through the air and shreds the brute's heavy armor. Blood sprays across the dusty ground. The warrior collapses while his vision fades to black. Suho stands over the fallen man without saying a word. A system window announces bonus rewards for completing the 4th floor trial. Suho ignores the text while the red aura of the arena settles. The trio stands in a tense circle around the fallen challenger. Suho remains at the center of the carnage with his head low. Lee Hye-eon notices Suho's hand is trembling violently after the clash. She wonders if the reality of taking a life is finally breaking his spirit. The girl tentatively asks if Suho is okay to continue. He stands among the blood and debris like a hollow statue. Suho confirms he is fine despite the red spray coating his face. Lee Hye-eon remains convinced he is suffering from internal trauma. Suho stares at his teammates and demands they move to the boss room immediately. His cold focus leaves the others speechless. Lee Hye-eon and the armored warrior quickly agree to follow his lead. They are now more afraid of Suho than the tower itself. A massive green beast erupts with a roar that vibrates through the stone floor. Its jagged mouth hangs open with predatory hunger. The creature collapses as black gore spills from a massive chest wound. A final system notification signals the end of the skirmish. Suho sheaths his blade and walks past the mangled remains without a second look. Lee Hye-eon realizes she is partnered with a true monster. System windows confirm Suho cleared the 4th floor and granted him a new acceleration skill. His power is scaling rapidly. Lee Hye-eon steps toward the exit portal with a shaky voice. She is finally ready to leave this nightmare behind. The two hunters stand between swirling pillars of blue light. The silence in the trial room feels heavy and final. Suho wishes her a safe journey back to the real world. He is already looking toward the next floor. Hye-eon pauses to remind Suho that the blood on his hands was a necessity. She refuses to judge his methods. She admits someone had to act because Sung-yoon lacked the resolve to kill. Survival in this tower requires cold logic. Suho offers a rare and tired smile at her words. He is relieved his teammate understands the cost of victory. A notification chime breaks the air as Hye-eon sends a friend request. She wants to maintain their connection. Suho stares at the blue window in silence. Hye-eon gives him full credit for clearing the stage alive. She turns toward the shimmering gate to finalize her exit. The fourth floor trial has officially come to an end. Hye-eon disappears through the shimmering gate as she returns to the real world. Suho watches the light fade into total darkness. The massive arena stands empty except for the scattered remains of the fallen. Suho is finally alone in the silence of the tower. He stares at the corpses and prepares to perform a task he couldn't show the others. A grim decision weighs heavy on his mind. Glowing red essence rises from the chest of the defeated rival leader. The air thickens with the smell of harvested souls. Suho recalls the first time he felt this forbidden hunger for mana. He has hidden this dark secret from everyone since the start. He looks at the carnage and acknowledges that this path leads to a point of no return. The shadows of the dead begin to swirl. Suho reaches toward the orb and casts aside his last shred of hesitation. He has made up his mind to claim this power. Violent black tendrils erupt from the ground to shred the lingering spirits. He is consuming everything his enemies left behind. His blue eyes flare with an intense light as the stolen energy floods his veins. He confirms his resolve to become the ultimate predator. The simple goal of being a hunter has awakened a much darker desire within him. Suho is no longer the man he used to be. The massive tower of trials looms over the horizon. Suho vows to seize this impossible second chance at any cost. A blinding white light consumes the entire world. He is fully committed to climbing higher than anyone else alive. Suho steps through a swirling blue portal with his gear ready. He has officially reached the 5th floor lobby. A system window announces the new trial totalization grading system. Every challenger is about to be publicly ranked and measured. A blue holographic prompt appears requesting a unique alias. The tower requires a name to track his lethal progress. Suho taps the virtual screen without a moment of hesitation. He settles on a title that fits his new path. The leaderboard displays the elite hunters currently dominating the trial. Most of the top ranks are occupied by veteran monsters. Suho stares at the interface in genuine surprise. He didn't expect his status to be calculated and displayed so fast. The screen confirms he is currently the 16th ranked hunter on the floor. His growth is finally being quantified. The system identifies him as a pioneer with special benefits. Suho realizes his power level has completely skyrocketed. A new prompt promises a legendary halo if Suho maintains his pioneer status until the 8th floor. The silhouettes of other hunters loom as the system calculates his future potential. Suho wonders if this halo is a passive skill or a physical manifestation of power. He decides to stop overthinking and focus purely on reaching the next milestone. The interface flickers and demands Suho make a selection regarding his current inventory. A final confirmation window appears before his eyes. The list confirms Suho has collected 4 high-tier souls including the Goblin King and several fallen hunters. He is sitting on a massive goldmine of raw essence. Dark energy swirls around Suho as he consumes the souls for a permanent stat boost. His muscles tighten as the tower rewrites his biology with the stolen power. Suho smirks as a surge of mana overflows from his core. He finally feels like he has evolved past the limitations of a normal human. Gold coins rain down from the sky as the trial completion rewards are processed. The sound of wealth hitting the stone floor fills the silent arena. A glowing return stone appears in the center of his palm. This rare F+ rank item allows him to leave the tower for 3 days. Suho grips the stone and activates the teleportation sequence. Crimson light wraps around his body as the tower ruins begin to dissolve into pixels. Suho stares ahead with glowing blue eyes as the world shifts back to reality. He is finally returning to Earth to test his new strength against the modern world. Suho feels the pressure of the portal as dark energy swirls around his head. The transition between dimensions is violent and immediate. The system confirms his return request with a flickering blue notification. His journey back to Earth is officially authorized by the tower. Suho tumbles through the glowing rift while clutching his gear in a panic. Gravity has no meaning in the white void between worlds. The return stone shatters into pure light to fuel the final teleportation sequence. A deafening roar fills the space as the coordinates lock. He hits the floor with a heavy thud as the portal closes overhead. The familiar scent of his apartment finally hits his lungs. A final prompt confirms his arrival at his personal residence. He only has 72 hours before the tower pulls him back to the trials. Soft sunlight filters through the thin curtains of his quiet and cramped bedroom. The silence is a stark contrast to the screams of dying goblins. Suho lies motionless on the floor while his heart rate finally begins to stabilize. He is mentally drained from the non-stop slaughter of the lower floors. He pushes himself up and stares at his hands with a cold intensity. He realizes he is no longer the same weak hunter who left this room. Suho looks at the old notes pinned to his desk and realizes his previous life is gone. He is ready to unleash his new power on the modern world. Suho sits on his bed as morning light pours through the window. He needs to stabilize his mind before rejoining society. His face is matted with the grime and sweat of the lower floors. The weight of the tower still hangs heavy on his shoulders. Suho stands up and decides to wash the scent of death off his skin. He cannot stand the lingering smell of the battlefield. He hunches over and stares at his feet in the middle of the quiet room. The sudden silence of the city feels suffocating. Suho confirms that bringing items back from the tower to Earth actually works. This discovery is a total game changer for his future. He examines a high-quality shield decorated with gold trim. This single piece of gear is worth more than his entire past life. Suho's blue eyes sharpen as he looks over the weapons scattered on the floor. He needs to move quickly to maximize his profit. Ornate spears and heavy iron chains lay piled across the room. These artifacts are proof of his absolute dominance over the goblins. He realizes a sudden influx of high-tier gear could cause the local hunter market to crash. He must time his sales perfectly. Suho grips a glowing blue blade while considering the legal risks. He needs an official hunter qualification to sell these items legally. Suho reviews his handwritten notes on S-rank tactics and party coordination. He originally planned to wait until his return to Earth to apply for the official hunter exam. Suho stares at his smartphone while his reflection shows a new level of determination. He realizes he cannot afford to wait any longer to legalize his status. He recalls the intense sparring sessions at the training center where higher ranks dominated the floor. These memories of struggle fuel his desire to finally surpass the trainee level. A muscular man at the White Lotus Training Center pauses as his phone begins to vibrate. The director senses a call from someone he hasn't heard from in a long time. Director Huang Manhwa answers the call with a skeptical expression. Suho introduces himself and asks if the director still remembers the weakest student in the class. Huang Manhwa confirms he hasn't forgotten the face of the persistent trainee. He wonders why a failure is calling him after so much time has passed. Suho speaks firmly and tells the director he doesn't want the refund he was promised. He is trading his money for a much bigger opportunity. The director warns him that he cannot change his mind once the transaction is finalized. Suho ignores the warning and prepares to ask for the ultimate favor. Suho's eyes burn with a cold light as he demands a slot in the upcoming hunter test. He is ready to prove that his growth has completely broken the ranking system. A dusty evaluation sheet shows a bright red F with failing marks across every physical category. On paper, Suho is still considered the lowest tier trash in the hunter world. Suho listens as the recruiter mocks his lack of skills and unique traits. He offers to pay the membership fee anyway. The voice on the line agrees to take his money despite his lack of talent. Suho has bought his entrance. A sharp smirk crosses Suho's face as his eyes glow with a predatory blue light. He finally has his opening. The weight of the coming trial begins to set in. Suho is moving toward a goal few hunters ever reach. Steam fills the room as water cascades down. Suho takes a moment to wash away the grime of the tower. Suho exhales a long breath as the hot water hits his shoulders. The physical strain of his growth is mounting. He stares into the fogged mirror while drying his hair. His once weak frame is now packed with dense powerful muscle. Suho analyzes the radical changes to his physique. The system has rebuilt him into a weapon for the coming test. He throws on a clean shirt and prepares to leave his apartment. The official hunter test begins later today. Suho catches sight of a neighbor and reflects on his old life. That ordinary existence is now a distant memory. Suho passes a woman in the hallway while reflecting on his neighbors. He knows many people are desperate to become hunters. He keeps his head down and continues walking toward the exit. The mundane world is no longer his concern. The girl watches him pass with a look of slight confusion. His presence has become heavy and intimidating. He reaches the main road and raises his hand for transport. Time is running out to reach the association. Suho looks at the gridlocked traffic and realizes a car is too slow. He decides to take a more direct path. He kicks off the ground with a powerful surge of energy. He disappears from the sidewalk in a single bound. Suho vaults onto the rooftops and begins a high-speed sprint. He is testing his enhanced agility across the skyline. His blue eyes burn with intensity as he navigates the urban obstacles. He feels more like a predator than a human. He soars through the air with total confidence in his new strength. The destination is finally within his sight. The headquarters of the Hunter Association towers over the city square. Suho prepares to step inside and claim his rank. Suho steps through the heavy association doors as staff members track his entrance. He carries the presence of a predator into the lobby. He stops directly in front of Director Huang. The atmosphere becomes heavy as the two veterans lock eyes in the center of the hall. Suho offers a cold smile while greeting the director. He knows his current power level is a complete mystery to the association. He reflects on the brutal trials that made the recent days feel like an eternity. The tower has already stripped away his rookie mindset. Director Huang looks back with visible curiosity. He can sense the sharpened edge of Suho's aura but cannot quite place the source. A formal official approaches to begin the ranking process. The small talk ends as the machinery of the association takes over. The official confirms that Han Sung-yoon is exempt from the written tests due to high-level observation. Suho is heading straight for the combat. Suho ignores the offer for a procedural briefing. He is already familiar with how the tower and the association measure blood. The group marches toward the testing chamber. The silence in the hallway is broken only by the steady rhythm of Soho's boots. Soho stands in the center of the arena and draws a massive steel blade. The observers above are about to witness a slaughter. The supervisor whispers a dark order to Inspector Kim from the observation deck. He wants Soho to fail the trial as quickly as possible. Inspector Kim confirms he has prepared a lethal countermatchup specifically for swordsmen. He looks down at Soho and asks if he is ready to begin. The officials explain that the challenge difficulty can be set anywhere from level 1 to 10. They expect the rookie to take the easiest path. Soho stares at the arena floor and remembers his long history of mediocrity. He has spent his entire life choosing the safest route. A flashback of a single goblin beating him into the dirt reminds him of his past shame. He was once a hunter who couldn't even handle a bottom-tier monster. He looks at his hands and acknowledges the crushing weight of his former weakness. That version of himself is officially dead. Soho looks up and prepares to give his final answer. Inspector Kim waits for the predictable choice with a condescending gaze. The examiner assumes level 1 is coming, but Soho demands the maximum difficulty of level 10. The arrogant smirk vanishes from Kim's face. Soho's blue eyes ignite with a lethal intensity as the system registers his command. He is done hiding his true potential. Inspector Kim breaks into a cold sweat as he realizes Soho isn't joking. He watches the trainee with a look of pure disbelief. System windows flicker to life with the final objective. Soho must hunt the phoenix to survive this trial. The legendary beast descends with a deafening screech of fire and wind. Its talons are sharp enough to shred steel. A heavy pressure slams into Soho as a predator's roar debuffs his speed. His muscles feel like leaden weights. Soho's blade vibrates against the stone floor as the arena begins to crack. The sheer heat is warping the air. Inspector Kim watches from the shadows of the weapon racks. He has no intention of stopping this slaughter. A twisted smile spreads across Kim's face as he waits for the trainee to break. He is enjoying the carnage. The phoenix spreads its wings and floods the entire chamber with liquid gold flames. Soho looks tiny against the inferno. A massive wave of heat tears through the center of the arena. Soho barely registers the strike before it hits. The ground explodes as the fire makes contact with the stone floor. Soho pivots through the smoke to find an opening. Sweat stings Soho's eyes as he grits his teeth against the rising pressure. He refuses to let a simulation end him. A dark void stretches across the screen. This is the silence before the storm begins. The official list of successful hunter applicants flickers into view. These names represent the new elite of the modern world. Young hunters cheer wildly after receiving their licenses. Han Sung-yoon remembers the brief moment he actually felt like a hero. The shadows of superior talents tower over a small and lonely figure. He quickly realized that hard work meant nothing against natural genius. Sung-yoon looks down with a face full of regret and exhaustion. He stopped trying because the gap between ranks felt impossible to bridge. A lone man stands before a massive iron gate. He accepted that some walls are simply too high for a normal human to climb. Sung-yoon stands firm on the cold arena floor. The time for reflection is over as the official test begins. A massive phoenix descends from the ceiling in a whirlwind of fire. The legendary beast lets out a roar that shakes the entire foundation. Sung-yoon leaps back as a sudden impact shatters the air. His eyes go wide as he realizes the sheer scale of the monster's power. The hunter slides across the stone while clutching his cheap blade. Even a low-grade weapon should not be failing him this quickly. Sung-yoon glares upward as the examiner watches from the safety of the railing. The hunter knows he is being set up for an execution. Inspector Kim mocks the trainee for holding on to a shattered weapon. The official thinks a broken blade makes the boy defenseless. The phoenix lets out a piercing shriek while hovering in the center of the inferno. It prepares to turn the entire arena into a furnace. Sung-yoon realizes this extreme pressure is the perfect chance to test his latest growth. He is no longer afraid of the monster's heat. He triggers his newest acceleration skill to flood his legs with raw mana. The air begins to vibrate violently around his feet. Blue light trails behind him as he launches toward the ceiling like a bullet. He is moving faster than the eye can follow. The ground shatters from the sheer force of his sudden takeoff. He closes the gap with the beast in a fraction of a second. Sung-yoon feels the massive boost to his agility and smiles at the sensation. This new power far outclasses any gear he once owned. He breaks the sound barrier with a violent shockwave that ripples the air. The fire itself is pushed back by his momentum. Sung-yoon swings his blade upward to meet the legendary bird head-on. A massive arc of blue energy cuts straight through the golden flames. Sung-yoon's energy blade carves through the bird's chest in a shower of golden sparks. The creature lets out a pained shriek as its defense finally buckles. Sung-yoon hits the stone floor with enough force to shatter the tiles beneath his feet. He realizes his short blade requires a much closer range. He ignores the impact and pushes off the ground for a second explosive lunge. Every muscle in his body screams as he narrows the gap instantly. A massive vertical arc of light divides the air with a deafening roar. The force of the swing creates a vacuum that pulls the flames inward. The blade connects squarely with the beast's skull and splits the inferno in two. The phoenix's final cry is cut short by the weight of the strike. Inspector Kim and the officials grip the railing as they watch their ultimate trap get dismantled. They can't believe a trainee is moving at this speed. A system window flickers to life to confirm the boss has been eradicated. Kim stares in horror as the screen announces the test is officially over. The legendary beast crashes into the arena floor and dissolves into a pile of charred feathers and blood. The overwhelming heat finally begins to dissipate. Sung-yoon stands over the remains with his chest heaving and his eyes still glowing. He has officially shattered the association's expectations and the ranking system. The dust settles as the true path of the boundless necromancer begins to take shape. The weakest hunter has finally evolved into a lethal apex predator. The receptionist beams while presenting a shiny new C-rank identification card. Han Sung-yoon has officially jumped from the bottom of the barrel to a respected tier. He accepts the license at the association counter as the formal registration concludes. He is no longer a desperate trainee but a licensed professional hunter. Sung-yoon confirms that he now has full legal permission to enter dungeons and trade high-tier loot. This badge is his ticket to turning tower treasures into massive real-world wealth. A heavy hand slams onto a desk in a fit of pure organizational frustration. The director is livid that his plan to gatekeep the rookie completely backfired. Director Hwang growls at his subordinate for failing to crush the candidate within 10 seconds. He expected a quick failure but got a record-breaking performance instead. Inspector Kim stares at the floor while admitting the staff was helpless against the boy's explosive growth. They threw a lethal matchup at him and he still dominated. The director demands to know why they couldn't just manually lower his rank to keep him suppressed. He is desperate to hide the scale of Sunjin's power. The examiner explains that giving him anything lower than C rank would cause a massive association scandal. Sung-yoon destroyed a high-tier monster so fast that the data was undeniable. The doors swing open as Sung-yoon enters the private office with an air of absolute confidence. Director Hwang switches masks and offers a hollow greeting to the man he tried to fail. Sung-yoon takes a steady step forward while ignoring the tension in the room. The hunter world is finally realizing that a new apex predator is walking among them. Sung-yoon notes the director looks pale and shaken. Hwang forces a strained smile to hide his growing fear of the young hunter. Sung-yoon questions the director about his previous standing as a retired C-rank hunter. He is stripping away the man's authority with a single sentence. Hwang demands to know the point of this interrogation. Sung-yoon reminds him of the time he was mocked as a talentless failure. Sung-yoon leans in with glowing eyes and calls the director the true failure. The disrespect is a calculated strike against the old man's pride. Hwang loses his composure and lunges forward in a blind rage. His staff can only watch as the situation spirals into immediate violence. Sung-yoon remains perfectly still as a desperate fist whistles toward his head. He has already predicted every clumsy movement of his former superior. The room shakes as Sung-yoon catches the heavy blow with his bare palm. He has neutralized the director's strength without breaking a sweat. Hwang gasps in agony as his wrist begins to buckle under the pressure. Sung-yoon stares back with the terrifying gaze of a cold executioner. Sung-yoon drives a massive counterstrike directly into the director's jaw. This is a brutal lesson in the new hierarchy of the tower. Hwang collapses onto the floor with a shattered ego and a broken face. He cannot comprehend how a mere trainee has completely surpassed him. Sung-yoon walks through the dimly lit facility with Inspector Kim following close behind. The tension between the two hunters is thick enough to cut with a blade. Kim leads him to a massive window overlooking the glowing city skyline. He confirms that the association has a specific interest in Sunjin's recent performance. Kim presents a contract worth 1 million credits to secure Sunjin's loyalty. The high price tag is a desperate attempt to buy a powerful new asset. The inspector admits they are betting everything on Sunjin's untapped potential. He smiles while hoping the rookie is greedy enough to take the bait. Sung-yoon narrows his eyes and accuses Kim of rigging the difficulty during the trial. The inspector's face pales as he realizes his deception has been exposed. Sung-yoon refuses to sign with a man he cannot trust and drops the business card into the abyss. He walks away while leaving Kim's influence behind. 2 days pass as the city hums with a new and nervous energy. Sung-yoon uses the remaining time to prepare for his return to the tower. Breaking news reports flood every screen with rumors of the mysterious Tower of Trials. The world is finally waking up to the existence of the Hunter's Playground. Public notices demand information on anyone who has entered the tower's gates. Sung-yoon observes the chaos while knowing his secret is no longer entirely his own. Sung-yoon counts his profits after selling off the high-tier goblin gear for a massive sum. He has maximized his 3 days of rest and feels ready. Sung-yoon watches the clock as his 3-day reprieve finally comes to an end. He is more than ready to leave the mundane world behind. A blue system window flickers to life to announce his imminent return to the tower. A cold smirk crosses his face at the notification. The final warning confirms his time on Earth has officially expired. The dimensions begin to warp as the tower reclaims its property. Violent purple energy erupts around Sungyun as he prepares for the transition. He craves the brutal growth that only the trials can provide. Sungyun's eyes glow with a lethal intensity as he anticipates the coming slaughter. He plans to be far busier than any other challenger. Pillars of blinding light tear through the floor to consume his entire apartment. The teleportation sequence is immediate and irreversible. The world shifts into a blur of motion as the physical laws of Earth dissolve. Sungyun remains perfectly calm during the violent dimensional jump. The scent of cold stone and ancient magic confirms his arrival back at the source. He has successfully returned to the Tower of Trials. Sungyun lands on the familiar stone bed of the lobby area to catch his breath. His journey toward the higher floors starts right now. He stands up and prepares to face whatever nightmare is waiting behind the next door. The 5th floor is waiting for his arrival. Sungyun cracks his neck and stretches his arms to prep for the 5th floor. He needs to shake off the lingering rust before the next slaughter begins. Blue's system windows flash with a new achievement for being the first hunter to return from Earth. He successfully unlocks a rank A skill called Eyes of the Truth. A surge of purple energy ripples through the air as the new ability integrates into his soul. The tower is rewarding his efficiency with even more utility. The skill allows him to analyze the hidden stats and details of any object using his mana. Information is just as lethal as a blade in this place. It even reveals the lies of those around him by highlighting the cold truth in their words. No one will ever be able to deceive him again. Sungyun taps through his holographic inventory while testing the limits of his new analytical sight. He can finally see the true value behind every item. A dark grin spreads across his face as he realizes the massive advantage he just gained. This power is exactly what he needs to dominate the higher floors. He spends over 5,000 points to purchase a high-tier thunder sword from the system shop. The blade crackles with a lethal surge of electrical energy. A heavy reinforced shield joins his loadout to ensure his defense matches his growing offense. He is burning through his wealth to become an unstoppable force. Sungyun grips his new weapon and prepares to step through the glowing portal. He looks more like a seasoned reaper than a rookie hunter. Sungyun stares at the glowing blade floating in the void. He knows this purchase is his best shot at surviving the next floor. A blue system window flickers to life asking for his final confirmation. The tower is ready to transport him to the 5th floor. Sungyun leaps into the swirling blue vortex without a single moment of hesitation. He is leaving the safety of the lobby behind. The interface confirms his official arrival at the 5th floor trial grounds. The environment has shifted into a desolate and rocky canyon. New prompts list the wolf person as the primary boss for this stage. Survival depends on killing the target before the timer runs out. A massive pale moon hangs over the jagged cliffs of the gorge. The darkness makes it nearly impossible to track movement from a distance. A dark silhouette stands beneath the towering rock face as the trial begins. The boss is already tracking Sungyun's scent in the cold air. Sungyun tightens his grip on the hilt of his new electrical blade. He is trusting his gear to bridge the gap in power. A feral scream echoes through the ravine as a monster lunges from the shadows. Sungyun watches the beast close the distance with lethal speed. A violent purple flash tears through the darkness to intercept the attack. The first strike of the floor is fast and extremely bloody. Sungyun shreds the pack with a single shockwave. The valley floor is painted in fresh blood as the monsters fall. He drops from the air to deliver a bone-shattering kick. The impact sends a wolf flying into the stone walls. A heavy blade strike pins the beast to the dirt. Its life fades as the ground beneath it craters. Sungyun scans the area with glowing blue eyes. He isn't breaking a sweat despite the carnage. A wounded pup whines as massive alphas emerge from the mist. The real predators are finally showing their faces. The lead wolf bares its fangs with a deafening howl. It senses the human is not ordinary prey. 3 giant white wolves encircle him with lethal precision. This pack is far more coordinated than the previous floor. Sungyun grips both blades and lowers his center of gravity. He is ready to turn the ravine into a graveyard. He realizes this level of danger is exactly what he needs to grow. The tower is finally testing his true limits. The alpha lunges forward with a roar that shakes the earth. Sungyun prepares to meet the beast head-on. Sungyun kicks off the ground with explosive force. He is closing the distance before the alpha can even react. He admits this life or death struggle is actually starting to feel fun. The thrill of the tower is slowly warping his mind. His daggers erupt with blue energy as he shreds the beast's flank. He is striking with more precision than ever before. Violent slashes carve through the monster's hide as blood paints the stone. He is a blur of lethal movement. Blue's system windows confirm his dagger and recovery skills are leveling up mid-fight. His body is evolving to match the threat. Sungyun lands in a low crouch while the dust settles around him. He is the only thing left standing in this storm. He realizes his current techniques are barely enough to keep up. He needs a high-tier sword skill to truly dominate. A dark smirk spreads across his face as his blue eyes flare with hunger. He welcomes the next wave of monsters. A blinding flash of steel and speed cuts through the remaining pack. He is moving faster than the eye can follow. Sung Yoon stands alone in a field of red mist and fallen wolves. He has completely cleared the fourth floor ravine. Sung Yoon looks down at his blade with a cold and calculating gaze. He realizes the paralysis effect isn't triggering as often as he originally expected. System notifications flood his vision as he harvests the fallen pack. Every crazy wolf spirit he consumes fuels his rapidly growing strength. Sung Yoon notes that his necromancy proficiency is climbing at a steady rate. The death of his enemies is becoming his most valuable resource. He pushes deeper into the canyon toward the center of the gorge. The atmosphere shifts as he nears the heart of the fourth floor. His eyes sharpen as he notices a sudden change in the carnage ahead. Something feels fundamentally different about the remains left in this area. A massive pile of wolf corpses litters the stone floor in a gruesome display. This wasn't a standard hunt. It looks like a complete massacre. Sung Yoon crouches to examine the deep and jagged gashes left on the bodies. The precision of these strikes suggests a lethality far beyond any monster. He turns his attention to a stone pillar sliced clean through by a single blow. These marks definitely weren't made by simple claws or teeth. Sung Yoon activates his eyes of truth to pierce through the mystery. A purple glow radiates from his pupils as he scans for lingering mana. The system identifies the residue as high-level aura used to create clean slices. Sung Yoon wonders if another hunter with a real skill has arrived. Sung Yoon stares into the darkness of the ravine with a heavy frown. He admits the unknown variables of this floor are starting to feel unsettling. A piercing scream echoes through the jagged stone walls of the canyon. Sung Yoon stops in his tracks as the sound of a struggle rings out nearby. A mysterious challenger with wild hair and glowing blue eyes rushes through the shadows. He senses the target is close and prepares his next move. The stranger leaps from a high cliff with his cloak billowing in the wind. He is diving straight into the heart of the monster territory. The air ripples with a violent shockwave as the intruder reaches the canyon floor. He confirms that his prey has finally been cornered in the dark. A massive wolf person lunges from the shadows with its claws extended. The beast is a whirlwind of silver fur and raw primal aggression. The monster crashes into the ground with enough force to kick up a cloud of debris. It is fighting with a desperate ferocity to survive. Sung Yoon watches the horizon as the pale moon illuminates the bloody battlefield. He realizes that someone else is currently doing his job for him. Blue system windows flash to announce the wolf person has already been slain. Sung Yoon stands stunned as the tower begins to analyze the sudden kill. The final notification confirms the boss of the fifth floor is officially dead. Sung Yoon cannot believe the trial ended before he even drew his blade. A blue window flashes to warn that an intruder has breached Sung Yoon's trial area. The hunter looks up as the air begins to shift violently. The system immediately updates the mission parameters to reflect the new threat. Sung Yoon is now ordered to eliminate the interdimensional invader at any cost. Heavy metal boots crunch against the stone as a massive armored figure emerges from the shadows. The knight radiates a level of pressure far beyond any monster. Sung Yoon stares at the warrior and wonders how someone from another world could bypass the tower's security. This trial has officially turned into a lethal encounter. Swirling vortexes of purple and blue energy reveal the fractured space where the intruder crossed over. The boundaries of reality are beginning to tear apart. Sung Yoon narrows his eyes and tries to process the absurdity of a human opponent appearing mid-trial. He realizes the tower's rules no longer apply here. The knight questions if Sung Yoon is truly the owner of this trial floor. The intruder's voice is cold and lacks any hint of human empathy. The armored man draws his massive steel blade with a slow and deliberate motion. He mocks Sung Yoon by asking if he fears the coming embrace of death. Sung Yoon grips his weapon and realizes he is facing a master swordsman. This opponent's mana signature is far more refined than any beast he has slain. The system prompt repeats the kill order to emphasize the gravity of the situation. Sung Yoon must survive this duel or lose everything he has built. Sung Yoon stares at the armored challenger standing over the boss's carcass. He realizes another hunter has just swooped in to steal his hard-earned kill. The wolf's massive body lies cold and motionless on the stone floor. He feels a wave of relief that the system hasn't disqualified him yet. The mysterious knight mocks Sung Yoon for his silence while purple mana erupts from his armor. The stranger is clearly looking for a reason to kill. Sung Yoon narrows his glowing blue eyes as he reads the opponent's aggressive stance. He isn't intimidated by the sheer pressure of the man's dark energy. The knight lunges forward and swings his heavy blade in a violent purple arc. The sheer force of the movement rips through the stale canyon air. A massive explosion of dark mana shatters the ground where Sung Yoon stood a second ago. The physical power of this challenger is on a different level. Sung Yoon maneuvers around the carnage of the dead wolves to find a better angle. He needs to stay mobile to avoid being crushed by the knight. The two hunters reset their positions as the dust settles across the blood-soaked gorge. Sung Yoon is carefully calculating his next move against this lethal threat. The knight unleashes a horizontal slash that paints the darkness with streaks of purple light. He is trying to end the fight with one blow. Sung Yoon parries the heavy strike with his own blade to create a brilliant clash of energy. The shockwave proves he can finally match a master's strength. Sung Yoon catches a glimpse of an opening and locks onto his target. He prepares to deliver a decisive blow while the knight remains momentarily off balance. He lunges forward with a low strike that erupts in a violent shower of blue sparks. The impact rattles the stone beneath the boss's heavy feet. Sunjin's blade fails to bite deep into the enchanted metal plating. He realizes his plan to shred the armor was far too optimistic for this level. The knight towers over him while radiating a suffocating wave of purple energy. Sung Yoon freezes as the monster prepares a devastating counterattack from above. A massive explosion of purple mana tears through the center of the canyon. The raw power of the boss's skill turns the air into a furnace. Sung Yoon is thrown backward like a ragdoll as the shockwave expands across the gorge. He is struggling to find his footing amidst the violet light. The ground shatters as he slides across the jagged rocks to kill his momentum. He needs to recover before the knight can close the distance again. Sung Yoon gasps in agony while fresh blood drips onto the cold arena floor. This single strike has inflicted more damage than he ever expected to take. The title card for the 13th episode flashes against a stark white background. Sunjin's name is now tied to the legend of the boundless necromancer. Sung Yoon drops to one knee and clutches his mangled arm with a trembling hand. He is panting heavily while staring at his discarded weapon in the dust. Sung Yoon laughs bitterly while staring at his mangled and bleeding arm. He realizes a clean cut would have been easier to manage than this mess. Sung Yoon gasps as his vision blurs from the sudden shock of the injury. He has never encountered a force that could bypass his defenses this easily. The mysterious armored knight steps forward into the dim light of the cavern. He mocks Sunjin's ignorance regarding the secret mechanics of class invading. Sung Yoon grits his teeth as the unfair reality of his situation finally sets in. He curses the tower for throwing an impossible variable into his trial. The knight's spear hums with a lethal purple energy that vibrates through the air. This weapon is designed to harvest lives rather than test them. The invader pauses and stares down at the wounded hunter with cold indifference. Sung Yoon demands to know how a stranger could enter his private floor. The silent knight remains motionless for a long moment while weighing his options. He treats Sung Yoon like a simple specimen rather than a living threat. The knight finally speaks and promises to explain the truth before he delivers the killing blow. He is certain that Sung Yoon won't survive this encounter. A system window reveals the class invading ticket available in the hidden shop. This item allows high-tier hunters to hijack the trials of the week. The armored figure prepares to strike while mocking Sunjin's world as a barbaric dimension. The massive power gap between them is becoming a lethal reality. Sung Yoon stares up at the jagged cliffs while questioning the armored intruder's assumptions. He asks the knight where else he could have possibly come from besides Earth. His eyes flare with a piercing purple light as he focuses his mana. He is looking for the hidden truth behind the invader's arrogant claims of superiority. The system confirms the activation of his Eyes of the Truth ability immediately. Sung Yoon can now see the raw data and intentions of the high-tier warrior. He observes the man's reaction and realizes the invader was telling the absolute truth. The threat of being hunted by high rankers is a concrete reality. The armored figure raises a massive heavy blade that glows with a dark and oppressive aura. He is done talking and prepares to deliver a finishing blow. Sung Yoon meets the terrifying gaze of the knight with a confident and taunting smirk. He asks what the invader actually plans to do about his presence. The intruder lunges forward with a violent horizontal slash that ripples through the cold canyon air. The force of the strike is meant to be unavoidable. The knight stops and stares in total silence as the dust begins to settle. He is shocked that his lethal attack failed to instantly kill the rookie. Sung Yoon looks down at his mangled and bloody arm with a face of pure indifference. He explains that he isn't holding his shattered limb out of pain. A system window flickers to life to signal the activation of his fast recovery skill. The deep gashes and broken bones begin to heal at high speed. Sung Yoon stands calmly as green light mends his mangled flesh. He admits he only acted helpless to lure the inspector into a false sense of security. Inspector Kim stares in disbelief as the boy's wounds vanish instantly. He assumes he is facing a rare healing-type swordsman who can simply ignore physical damage. The examiner warns that a little bit of healing won't change the final outcome of this execution. Sung Yoon ignores the threat while calculating his next explosive move. The stone floor shatters under Sunjin's feet as his mana begins to overflow. He promises that his true power is only going to keep climbing from here. A violent surge of energy erupts from his core as he burns through his remaining points. The system processes the massive consumption of his internal energy. Blue windows flood his vision as his core stats receive a massive mid-combat boost. His agility and stamina reach levels that shouldn't be possible for his rank. Sung Yoon stands at the center of a blue inferno with his eyes glowing like a predator. He has successfully transformed his weakness into a weapon of mass destruction. Kim grips his sword as he realizes the boy is growing stronger in the middle of the fight. He can't understand how a healing skill is providing physical buffs. A final notification grants him a massive 15% boost to his total movement speed. The clock is ticking down as the final minute of the trial begins. Sung Yoon triggers his instant acceleration skill to turn his body into a living projectile. The air itself screams as he prepares to end the inspector's life. The armored boss stares in shock as Sung Yoon displays an impossible number of active skills. The sheer variety of the hunter kit is shattering his confidence. Sung Yoon launches himself forward with his daggers drawn and eyes glowing a lethal blue. He is not giving the monster a single second to breathe. Their blades collide with a deafening ring that sends sparks flying across the stone floor. The impact creates a shockwave that rattles Sunjin's entire frame. The wolf warrior growls in frustration as the 5th floor stat restrictions nerf his true power. He realizes he cannot simply overpower this human with raw strength. The boss calls Sung Yoon an annoying barbarian while channeling a thick layer of purple energy. He is betting everything on a single high-tier offensive maneuver. A massive pillar of violet light erupts from the monster sword as he activates his aura skill. Sung Yoon tenses up while recognizing the threat of high-ranked power. The armored beast swings the energy blade in a violent arc that divides the air itself. The ground beneath his feet explodes from the sheer weight of the strike. Sung Yoon catches the edge of the blast and feels the crushing weight of the boss's desperation. He is being pushed back by the sheer density of the mana. The purple energy floods the canyon and makes any mistake in positioning absolutely fatal. Sung Yoon knows one direct hit from this high-rank skill will end his journey. He leaps into the air to evade the shockwave while calculating his next opening. Dodging is easy, but finding a way through that armor is the real challenge. Sung Yoon stares at the thick plates of the enemy's high-rank armor. He realizes his current physical strength isn't enough to shatter this defensive gear. He launches a flurry of purple slashes that bounce off the metal surface. Every strike is a calculated attempt to find a weak point in the defense. Golden sparks erupt as his blade repeatedly connects with the same spot. He knows that constant pressure is the only way to bypass such high-tier durability. A massive surge of lightning suddenly explodes outward from the impact zone. The electrical discharge completely consumes the armored warrior in a blinding golden light. The warrior lets out a guttural scream as the high-voltage energy cooks him inside his suit. The sound of crackling mana fills the entire canyon. A system window confirms the hidden ability of the Thunder Sword has finally activated. The weapon provides a 10% chance to completely paralyze the enemy. Sung Yoon tightens his grip on the hilt while the blade hums with power. He has been waiting for this specific window of opportunity to open. The massive knight buckles under the weight of the electrical shock. His movements have ground to a halt as the paralysis takes full effect. Another violent burst of electricity tears through the knight's internal systems. The monster is completely defenseless while the golden lightning fries its remaining nerves. Sung Yoon watches the notification and confirms his gamble finally paid off. He realizes this is the exact opening he needed to finish the fight. The title screen flickers as the struggle reaches its violent conclusion. Sung Yoon is ready to end this floor once and for all. The armored knight coughs up dark fluid as the electrical current destroys its internal stability. Its heavy movements have finally ground to a complete halt. Sung Yoon looks down at the broken warrior as blood pools on the stone. He has successfully dismantled a boss that should have been impossible to kill. He admits that the armor would have been a problem if it possessed paralysis resistance. His risky play with the thunder effect saved his life. The knight groans in agony while trying to force its scorched limbs to move. Every muscle is fried by the lingering blue mana from the strike. Purple light flickers behind the visor as the monster realizes it lost to a human challenger. It cannot comprehend how a rookie possesses such lethal variety. Sung Yoon mocks the beast for relying too heavily on high-tier gear and singular abilities. He is deconstructing the boss's pride with a few sharp words. The hunter raises his blade as the massive opponent collapses onto the cold stone floor. The time for conversation ended the moment the trial began. The knight offers secrets in exchange for its life as the shadow of death looms. Sung Yoon rejects the plea and prepares the execution. The boss calls him a barbarian as the light finally fades from its purple eyes. Another high-tier soul is now ready for the necromancer to harvest. Sung Yoon looks down at the blood on the stone as the dust finally settles. He has successfully executed a man who once looked down on him. The armored knight collapses with a heavy metallic thud against the canyon floor. The challenger's life has been snuffed out in a matter of seconds. Sung Yoon stares into the distance and realizes he is becoming numb to the act of killing. He is evolving into something far colder than a human. He rationalizes that feeling guilt would only be a liability in a place this cruel. Survival in the tower demands an absolute lack of hesitation. A blue system window appears to confirm the total completion of the 5th floor. Beneath the text the boss purple essence begins to swirl and glow. Sung Yoon flinches as a sudden surge of dark energy erupts from the fallen corpse. He did not expect the soul harvest to be this violent. The purple mist coils around his arms like a living serpent seeking a host. His necromancy skill is automatically feasting on the elite soul. Notifications flash to confirm he has absorbed the soul of Cade Adrax for a massive proficiency boost. This is his most significant growth yet. He stares at his hand while wondering if those who die here simply cease to exist across all dimensions. The weight of his power feels heavy. Sung-yoon scans the empty ravine while noticing the standard reward messages have not appeared yet. Something is wrong with the flow of the tower's system. A blue alert confirms the system is recalculating the final payout. Sung-yoon watches as the tower acknowledges the massive difficulty spike he just survived. The screen announces he has successfully acquired the rank A- skill 3 lacerations. This is a massive offensive upgrade for his current arsenal. An additional 3,500 points flood into his account as a bonus reward. His wealth is growing as fast as his combat proficiency. Sung-yoon realizes the standard C rank reward was upgraded due to the knight's interference. The intruder's power accidentally handed him a superior skill set. He can't help but laugh at the sheer absurdity of his luck. Obtaining a high-rank skill this early puts him miles ahead of other challengers. The tower fully restores his health while logging his name onto the global leaderboard. His achievements are finally being tracked by the system itself. Sung-yoon stands firm as blue energy swirls around his feet to signal his completion. He looks like a completely different man than the one who entered. He opens his inventory to sort through his newly acquired gear and consumables. Every item is a tool for his continued survival in the upper floors. Sung-yoon rests against the cold stone while reminding himself to never relax his guard. He decides it is time to use his rare question voucher. A prompt appears asking him to submit his query to the tower. He needs answers that the standard system interface refuses to provide. Sung-yoon uses his rare voucher to demand answers about the floor invasion mechanics. He needs to know how killers are bypassing the tower security. He adds a request for an early warning system to prevent another deadly ambush. Preparing for the next unexpected visitor is his top priority now. A blue notification instantly flickers to life before the hunter can even settle his thoughts. The tower responds to his query with surprising speed. Sung-yoon stares at the glowing interface with wide eyes as the data streams in. He is shocked that the system processed his request so quickly. The windows explain that certain systems are locked until he reaches the 8th floor. He realizes many advanced mechanics remain hidden from his view. Sung-yoon identifies the previous intruder as a climbing breaker through the system logs. This title explains why the knight had such massive combat advantages. He narrows his eyes while waiting for the system to reveal more sensitive data about the path ahead. Every scrap of information is vital. Red text flashes to block the most critical details regarding his current trial floor. The tower refuses to reveal secrets that exceed his rank. Sung-yoon looks on in disbelief as the system reaches its limit of transparency. He realizes even a rare voucher cannot bypass every hidden rule. He sits alone in the quiet corridor while dismissing the flickering blue screens. He is just glad the voucher was not wasted on nothing. Sung-yoon swipes his hand to open the blue inventory window. He needs to organize his loot before the system moves him to the next floor. A shattered shield and a purple gem sit before a heavy wooden chest. His equipment took a massive beating during the fight with the armored intruder. Golden light erupts from the restoration box as the repair process begins. He watches his points disappear in exchange for fixing his high-tier defensive gear. The secretive hunter's shield emerges from the light in perfect condition. Sung-yoon is surprised that a simple restoration box could handle such advanced enchanted metal. He activates a glowing purple cleaning stone to refresh his physical state. The energy swirls around him as the tower removes the grime and blood of battle. Sung-yoon scratches his head and admits the cleaning stone was a total waste of money. He feels no different and regrets spending points on vanity items. A system window alerts him that the 6th floor trial starts in 1 hour and 12 minutes. Time is running out to finalize his new combat strategy. He decides to check the global leaderboard and community boards to gauge his progress. Sung-yoon wants to see how the other challengers are handling the tower. His eyes widen as he sees his name listed in a 3rd place spot on the rankings. He is stunned that his recent kills boosted his standing. Sung-yoon confirms he jumped from 16th place all the way to 3rd with an S rank. He realizes his rapid growth is making him a primary target. Sung-yoon ponders what rewards await him once he finally reaches the 8th floor. He knows every milestone is a chance to widen the gap between himself and the other challengers. The community tab reveals a surge in hunters selling psychological resistance skills. These items are designed to help players stomach the horrors of murder and betrayal for better rewards. Sung-yoon watches the chat descend into a toxic argument about the ethics of the tower. Some call the others monsters while the rest focus entirely on the grind. A veteran hunter mocks the weak for ignoring the efficiency of murder-based achievements. The entire social hub is spiraling into a state of absolute and violent chaos. Sung-yoon stands in the silence of the waiting area while processing the disorder. He realizes the tower is designed to strip away every shred of human morality. A warning appears regarding the use of skills that negate mental fatigue or shock. These abilities often come with a heavy price that most rookies choose to ignore. Sunjin's eyes narrow as a specific notification catches his attention. He senses a shift in the system that usually precedes a new and unexpected type of threat. A mocking avatar laughs as the chat implies that hunters should actively hunt their own kind. The competition is turning into a literal death match for survival. Sungyun stares at the screen with a cold and focused intensity. He suspects that another high-level hunter is already planning to cross his path very soon. He taps a final notification and reads the name Princess Sudi with a heavy frown. The next phase of the tower is clearly going to be personal. A blue notification window asks if Sungyun is ready to accept the next floor. He knows there is no turning back once he clicks yes. The system confirms the difficulty for the 6th floor is set to hard. The tower is officially done playing games with him. New rules appear requiring Sungyun to capture a specific tile before the clock hits 0. Failing means immediate death in this watery abyss. A blinding flash of blue energy consumes the area as the teleportation sequence begins. Sungyun braces for whatever nightmare the tower has planned next. The world dissolves into a rush of white noise and swirling mana. He feels his body being pulled through the fabric of reality. Massive rusted chains descend into a dark and endless ocean as the transfer completes. Sungyun realizes he is now fighting in a maritime graveyard. A system alert announces that teammate allocation is finished for this cooperative trial. He wasn't expecting to have company on this floor. Sungyun stands on a lonely stone platform while staring at a glowing portal in the distance. The scale of this arena is absolutely massive. He spots a figure slumped over on the ground and wonders if his partner is already dead. The stranger is completely unresponsive to his arrival. Sungyun looks up as a pillar of light erupts from the sky above the platform. He realizes the trial is starting before he can even wake his ally. Sungyun barely tilts his head as a jagged blade whistles past his face. He realizes the trial has turned into a lethal free-for-all. He parries a heavy spear strike that intended to pin him to the floor. This supposed teammate is trying to end his life immediately. The attacker glares with wide crazed eyes and bared teeth as he puts his weight into the weapon. He has completely abandoned his humanity. Sungyun stands firm and questions why the man would choose to target his own ally. He is disgusted by the immediate betrayal. The killer curses under his breath while struggling to break through Sungyun's defense. He is frustrated that his easy target is fighting back. Sungyun's eyes glow a cold blue as he realizes the tower rewards those who shed the blood of their peers. Murder is just a mechanic. He asks if the man truly believes that obtaining power justifies throwing away his soul. He is staring directly into the face of greed. The traitor laughs hysterically and tells Sungyun to look around at the reality of the floor. He thinks virtue is a death sentence. Another hunter nearby begs for mercy as a blade is held to his throat by a friend. The entire platform is drowning in blood. A killer screams for his victim to die faster so he can claim the achievement reward. The tower has successfully turned men into monsters. Han Sungyun stands motionless while screams of betrayal echo across the bloody platform. The trial has officially devolved into a mindless slaughterhouse. He ignores the voices calling him a hypocrite for his calculated survival. Every hunter here has already abandoned their humanity for a few system points. A cold steel blade catches the pale light as it arcs through the air. The time for moral contemplation is finally over. Blood sprays across the jagged stone as multiple hunters clash in a frantic struggle for life. Only the most ruthless will see the next floor. Nearby, two allies shake hands and pledge to combine their strength against the odds. It is a rare moment of trust in a dying world. The female hunter smiles and claims she is glad to find a partner who shares her values. She uses the warmth of cooperation as a mask. The armored man lets down his guard and returns the smile with genuine relief. He truly believes he has found a friend in the dark. A sharp blade suddenly sinks into the man's chest before he can even process the shift in mana. His shock is the final price of trust. The woman's eyes glow with a sadistic light as she watches the life drain from her partner. She never intended to let him survive the night. The system rewards her betrayal with a physical stat boost as the body hits the floor. Han Sungyun realizes that kindness here is a fatal mistake. The spiky-haired survivor stands over the remains and asks if Han Sungyun is after the same achievement. He assumes everyone in this tower shares his same twisted greed. Han Sungyun stares back with cold eyes and tells the man to stop being a hypocrite. He has no patience for killers who try to justify their betrayal. The traitor lunges forward with his blade held high while searching for a single opening. He thinks he can end this fight with one desperate strike. A silver blade whistles inches from Sungyun's face as the man screams for him to die. The hunter doesn't even flinch at the incoming steel. Sungyun pivots and delivers a lethal counter that sends blood spraying across the arena floor. The traitor's speed is a joke compared to his own. The man coughs up a fountain of gore while staring at the rookie in absolute disbelief. He cannot comprehend how a human can move this fast. The light begins to fade from his eyes as the weight of his defeat finally sinks in. His arrogance was the only thing keeping him standing. Sung Yoon looks down at the dying man and calls him weak with a voice devoid of empathy. He has already moved on to the next objective. He stands alone amidst the scattered weapons and fresh blood with his daggers drawn. This trial is just another step toward his ultimate evolution. System windows confirm his unique trait proficiency is skyrocketing after the kill. Han Sung-yoon is ready to harvest the rewards of this brutal encounter. Han Sung-yoon clarifies his lethal philosophy while staring at the bloody ground. He won't hunt others for sport but will kill anyone who draws a blade. The hunter's face remains cold and unmoving after the execution. He is ready to push deeper into the tower's treacherous upper floors. The 15th episode title appears as a brilliant light erupts from the arena floor. This new level radiates a massive surge of water-based mana. A sphere of teal energy forms around a figure standing in the center of the sea. The water shield acts as a perfect defensive barrier. The mage laughs while the water dome ripples with high-pressure energy. He views this trial as a simple playground for his specific abilities. The intruder brags that this floor was specifically tailored for an expert of the water attribute. He assumes his advantage is absolute in this environment. Blue energy streaks shoot toward the sky as the mana density reaches a breaking point. The entire trial area is vibrating with elemental power. Sung-yoon sprints across the stone pillars to avoid the rising tide. He is looking for a way to bypass the mage's liquid defenses. He launches himself into the air while gripping his weapon for an explosive strike. His movement is a blur of black and silver against the sky. Sunjin's eyes glow with a piercing blue light as he zeroes in on the enemy's head. He is ready to end this trial instantly. The enemy mage stares up in pure shock as the air pressure drops around him. He can't understand how a single human can move this fast. A massive detonation of blue mana shatters the silence of the arena floor. The force of the impact turns the defensive zone into a furnace. The defender recovers and laughs while hiding behind his reinforced magical barrier. He brags that his iron dome is completely impervious to physical attacks. Sung-yoon plunges toward his target with his blade glowing in a violent blue arc. The impact sends a shower of blood across the arena floor. He spins like a whirlwind to deliver a follow-up strike that shreds the mage's armor. There is no room for mercy in this lethal exchange. The enemy collapses into a pool of his own blood as his mana finally fails. His arrogance has led him straight to an early grave. Sung-yoon stands over the fallen warrior while his cloak flutters in the wind. He admits his methods were cruel but necessary for a clean victory. The other hunters watch from the bridge with pale faces and trembling hands. They realize they are looking at a monster in human skin. He secures the central platform while staring out at the expansive water trial. He has no desire for more murder if his opponents stay away. Blue windows flash to confirm the rules for capturing the surrounding tiles. Sung-yoon prepares to defend his territory until the timer finally hits 0. Han Sung-yoon sits calmly on the blood-stained platform. He notes that he only needs to hold this position for 10 minutes to clear the floor. He looks out at the horizon while analyzing the power gap between himself and the other players. Being overleveled makes these early trials feel easy. The harsh reality of the tower is that trust is a luxury low rankers cannot afford. Survival demands a level of cynicism that most people find repulsive. Bodies are scattered across the desolate landscape as a grim reminder of failure. The tower doesn't care about dreams, only the results left on the ground. Sung-yoon narrows his eyes as he discards any lingering sense of mercy. He knows that showing compassion to an enemy in this place is pure hypocrisy. The air turns heavy with the scent of fresh iron and impending violence. In a world of limited resources, someone always has to die for another. A sudden shift in the atmosphere catches Sung-yoon off guard. He turns his head as the system alerts him to approaching signatures on his private tile. 4 heavily armed warriors march across the platform with clear murderous intent. This was supposed to be a 2-person trial, but the rules are changing. The blonde leader smirks while mocking Sunjin's confusion about their numbers. He enjoys the unfair advantage and expects the lone hunter to fold under pressure. Sung-yoon remains unimpressed as he identifies the group as nothing more than opportunistic thugs. He realizes he won't have to wait long for the killing. Sung-yoon offers a chilling smile as he confirms the hunter's true intentions. He doesn't seem bothered by the fact that he is completely outnumbered. The leader loses his patience and commands Sung-yoon to drop dead where he stands. The thugs are done talking and ready to collect their prize. The floor explodes as the group launches a coordinated assault against the lone target. They are moving with a speed that suggests years of teamwork. Sung-yoon pivots and swings his blade to intercept the first wave of attackers. He is focused on ending this engagement before it gets even worse. A massive burst of purple light floods the area as a hidden skill activates. The mana is thick and carries the scent of a curse. Sung-yoon flinches as the dark energy coils around his limbs like a physical weight. He recognizes the activation of a high-tier debuff spell. The system confirms that Kim Jin-hyun is now sharing his physical pain with Sung-yoon. This link makes the leader virtually immortal while Sung-yoon suffers. Sung-yoon chokes on his own breath as a wave of agony hits his core. He hasn't been hit yet but the link is already working. He stumbles backward while the purple mana burns through his internal defenses. The sheer intensity of the shared pain is enough to break his focus. His weapon slips from his trembling fingers and bounces off the stone floor. Sung Yoon looks on in horror as his only defense falls away. A system window confirms that all pain has been reduced by 15%. Sung Yoon feels the blinding agony and his nerves finally start to fade away. The armored knight lunges forward with a violent shout to capitalize on the opening. He is determined to finish the hunter before the pain suppression fully kicks in. Blue sea water erupts from the arena floor and hangs suspended in the air like liquid glass. The trial's environmental hazards are turning the battlefield into a lethal trap. Sung Yoon flinches as a system prompt confirms he has made contact with the trial water. He realizes the tower is now actively sabotaging his ability to fight back. Notifications flood his vision to signal a 10-point loss in both agility and stamina. The debuffs are heavy enough to make his every movement feel slow and sluggish. Water drips from Sunjin's face as he processes the massive penalty for touching the terrain. He realizes one more mistake will leave him completely defenseless against the knight. Sung Yoon pivots through the splashing water to barely evade a lethal horizontal strike. He is fighting against the weight of his own body just to stay mobile. The boss mocks the situation as the absolute worst while preparing his next heavy blow. He believes the debuffs have already secured his victory over the human challenger. Sung Yoon admits that a normal challenger would have been crushed by these unfair conditions. He is already looking past the penalties to find his next opening for blood. A predatory grin spreads across Sunjin's face as his eyes glow with a cold blue light. He has already figured out how to turn this disadvantage into a kill. Two armored thugs lunge forward while hiding behind a glowing green energy shield. They believe their combined defense makes them completely invincible against a lone target. Sung Yoon barely shifts his gaze as the heavy metal boots thud against the platform. He is waiting for the exact microsecond they overextend their reach. Red energy pulses through the air as Sung Yoon tells the group they have made a grave mistake. The hunter's voice is devoid of any lingering mercy. The lead attacker freezes in terror as the crimson mana begins to burn through his physical form. He realizes too late that he is outclassed. Sung Yoon pivots into a lethal strike while blue energy trails from his glowing eyes. The counterattack is so fast it leaves a wake of shattered stone. A jagged red slash tears through the impact zone with explosive power. The initial strike lands with enough force to shatter the stone floor. The blonde leader stares at the carnage with wide and trembling eyes. He cannot process how his teammate was dropped in a single heartbeat. Blue notifications flicker to life to confirm a rare one-hit kill achievement. Han Sunjian's specialized skill is already picking apart the remaining survivors. The fallen warrior coughs in the settling dust while swearing at his own pathetic weakness. Sung Yoon stands over the body without a hint of hesitation. A second attacker screams a desperate curse while charging blindly into the fray. He still believes that numbers can save him from this slaughter. The system confirms the intruder's stats are significantly lower than the hunter's current rank. Extinction of the Weak activates to finish the job instantly. The bald warrior leaps from the platform with his weapon raised for a crushing blow. He is putting every ounce of weight into this final gamble. Han Sung Yoon moves like a ghost to intercept the heavy metal shield mid-air. The sound of clashing steel echoes across the empty maritime graveyard. A heavy strike connects directly with the center of the knight's reinforced chest plate. The man gasps for air as his lungs collapse under the impact. Crimson spray paints the stone as the final blow of the exchange lands. Sung Yoon is making it clear that no one leaves this platform alive. A blue notification confirms Han Sung Yoon has earned the Merciless Murderer achievement. He stares ahead with a cold and vacant gaze. Blood sprays across the platform as the aftermath of the initial clash settles. The bodies on the ground are a grim reminder of the tower's cruelty. The blonde leader grits his teeth in pure frustration as his initial plan fails. He realizes that Sung Yoon is a far more dangerous target than he anticipated. Sung Yoon stands tall while the shadows of his enemies loom over the arena. He remains completely unmoved by the overwhelming numbers facing him down. One of the thugs suggests a coordinated attack to finally bring the lone hunter down. They are desperate enough to cast aside any remaining sense of honor. The group lunges forward simultaneously to trap Sung Yoon in a pincer maneuver. Their heavy boots kick up dust as they close the distance. A jagged red light flashes as a hidden skill activates across the battlefield. This is a trap designed to bypass standard physical defenses. Purple energy coils around Sunjian's body like a physical weight. The sudden shift in mana signals a high-tier debuff is now active. Sung Yoon realizes he is now sharing every ounce of physical pain with his opponent. This curse turns his own strength into a lethal liability. He struggles to maintain his stance as the agonizing feedback restricts his every movement. Even a simple step feels like walking through liquid lead. Han Sung Yoon yells at the attackers while holding his ground in the center of the platform. He refuses to let their twisted logic break his fighting spirit. A sharp blade flashes through the air as the hunter snaps back at his target with lethal intent. He has no intention of letting these scavengers land a hit. The enemy backs away and threatens to execute a hostage to stop Han Sunjian's advance. Desperation has turned this trial into a pathetic and cowardly display of survival. Red blood spatters across the stone as Han Sung Yoon relies on his pain-resistant skill. He pushes through the shared agony to keep his muscles from locking up. Han Sunjian's eye glows with a cold blue light as he prepares a final countermeasure. He knows that brute force alone won't end this linked magical curse. Han Sung Yoon lunges forward and delivers a brutal strike that catches a challenger right in the face. He is determined to end this fight with absolute efficiency. Han Sung-yoon blurs across the battlefield while avoiding the desperate swings of the remaining thugs. He is hunting the source of the debuff with a singular focus. A heavy landing sends a shockwave through the ground as he zeroes in on his next target. He is moving like a ghost despite the weight of the pain. Blood sprays into the air as Han Sung-yoon carves through the eyes of another attacker. The blonde leader watches in total shock as his team is dismantled. A sudden surge of red mana forces a choked gasp from Han Sung-yoon's lungs. The shared pain is intensifying as the battle reaches a violent and bloody climax. Han Sung-yoon collapses to his knees as the red mana coils around his chest. The shared pain is dragging his consciousness into the dark. Kim Jin-hyun lunges forward with a desperate strike to end the fight. He wants to finish the hunter while he is still reeling from the link. A blinding spark erupts as Han Sung-yoon parries the incoming blade with a single hand. He is no longer affected by the psychological weight of the agony. Han Sung-yoon grips his bloody dagger and admits that slitting a throat is actually quite thrilling. He has finally embraced the tower's brutal nature. Kim Jin-hyun's face twists in pure terror as he realizes his immortality was a lie. He admits he is screwed as the hunter's killing intent spikes. Han Sung-yoon pivots and delivers a clean horizontal slash across the leader's neck. The speed of the strike leaves no room for a counterattack. Blue energy flares in the hunter's eyes as he watches the life fade from his opponent. He is searching for any remaining threats on the platform. Kim Jin-hyun curses one last time as his body hits the cold stone. The traitor's life ends exactly like the victims he stepped over. Han Sung-yoon stands in the silence with blood dripping from his chin. He looks more like a monster than the men he just slaughtered. A system notification confirms that Han Sung-yoon has earned 1500 points for the kill. The tower rewards his efficiency with more power for the climb. A blue system window confirms that Han Sung-yoon has successfully captured the tile. The immediate threat of the floor's penalty finally evaporates into the air. Two survivors embrace on the bridge while jokingly calling the physical contact gross. Han Sung-yoon watches from a distance as they celebrate their fragile bond. The survivors cheer at the sky for surviving the recent bloodbath together. The tower notes that those who worked as a team managed to seize victory. A bloodied hunter stares in horror as the psychological weight of the trial sets in. The system acknowledges that Han Sung-yoon was a brutal exception. A single red eye glows with a demonic intensity through the dark shadows. In the eyes of the other survivors, Han Sung-yoon is no longer human. Sung-yoon stands drenched in the gore of his enemies with a cold expression. He has become the very nightmare that every rookie hunter fears most. The tower grants a gacha box and 8,000 points for clearing the 6th floor. Han Sung-yoon's ruthless efficiency is rewarded with massive wealth and resources. A final notification signals the immediate transfer back to the safety of the lobby. The light of the trial area begins to fade into a blur. Dark red energy swirls around Han Sung-yoon as a hidden mechanic activates. His unique trait is preparing to harvest the remnants of his fallen enemies. System windows announce that the souls of Lee Song-joon and Kim Jin-hyun have been absorbed. Han Sung-yoon grows stronger by devouring the essence of the dead. Dark red tendrils coil around Han Sung-yoon as the system finishes the harvest. He remains silent while the tower processes the fresh souls. A blue window confirms that his necromancy proficiency has reached 100%. The relentless killing has forced the skill to evolve. The necromancy trait officially jumps to rank D with a sharp chime. Han Sung-yoon feels a surge of dark mana settle in his core. A pulse of blue energy ripples through the hallway as the combat phase concludes. He stands in the quiet while the system updates his status. Sung-yoon activates the achievement viewing tab to calculate his total gains. He wants to see the numerical value of his recent survival. He stares at a list of grim titles like Merciless Murderer and Traitor. Finding an S-rank achievement among the rewards catches him by surprise. The hunter taps the screen to reveal the specifics of his lethal efficiency. A notification for the one-hit one-kill achievement flickers into view. The Merciless Murderer rank rewards him with a permanent boost to his agility stat. Sung-yoon realizes the tower truly values the death of fellow challengers. He acknowledges that his rapid power growth is the direct result of murdering his competition. The system grants him the extinction of the weak skill. A golden gift box materializes from the inventory light as a final bonus reward. Han Sung-yoon reaches out to claim the spoils of the slaughter. A system notification explains that the random gacha box offers items ranging from F to B rank. It is a simple gamble for the victor. Han Sung-yoon holds the box and refuses to get his hopes up for a high-tier drop. He is more focused on the soul absorption process ahead. Blinding blue light erupts from the container as the lid flies open. The system is finally generating his physical reward. Sung-yoon looks on with wide eyes and a confused expression. Something is moving within the fading mana of the gift box. A small green creature with tusks and a round body stands on the stone floor. It screeches to let the hunter know it has arrived. Sung-yoon stares at the tiny beast and questions what kind of item he just pulled. He was clearly expecting a weapon or a skill book. The green monster growls and strikes a defensive pose on the cold tiles. Its aggression is the only thing impressive about its small stature. The 17th chapter title appears as the atmosphere of the trial floor shifts. Sung-yoon is moving into a more dangerous phase of his climb. The hunter lunges forward with a sudden burst of speed that leaves blue trails in the air. He is testing his physical limits once again. Dust swirls around his feet as he pivots and prepares for the next engagement. Sung Yoon is never truly at rest in this tower. Sung Yoon sprints across the tiles while tracking the erratic movement of a small green beast. He refuses to let his target escape this time. His boots skid against the stone as he forces a sudden and violent change in direction. Every millisecond counts in this high-speed chase. Sung Yoon dives forward and pins the small green creature firmly against the cold floor. He finally has the elusive monster trapped within his grasp. The hunter laughs while tightening his grip on the thrashing animal. He believes this particular trial is officially over. The small beast snaps its jaws and sinks sharp teeth directly into Sung Yoon's forearm. He did not expect the creature to have this much fight left. Sung Yoon yells in shock as blood sprays from the fresh puncture wounds. The unexpected pain is sharp enough to break his focus for a moment. The green monster glares back with savage intent after landing its successful counterattack. It is far more dangerous than its small size suggests. Sung Yoon stands his ground and admits he was holding back because the target looked harmless. He is done playing games with this pest. The creature turns tail and sprints toward the edge of the arena to find cover. It realizes the atmosphere has shifted into something lethal. Sung Yoon's eyes glow with a cold blue intensity as he locks onto the retreating figure. He is ready to end this chase once and for all. Sung Yoon launches into a high-velocity overhead kick to intercept the target. He is converting his momentum into a single lethal blow. The hunter dives straight down with his fist clenched for a crushing impact. He is moving too fast for the creature to react. A heavy fist descends through the air with a deafening whistle. This strike is packed with enough force to shatter stone. Sung Yoon slams his fist into the goblin's head and creates a massive shockwave. The ground cracks beneath the weight of the absolute destruction. The monster's skull detonates in a spray of dark fluid and bone fragments. It never stood a chance against his focused killing intent. Bright blue windows pop up to announce a successful gotcha pull from the kill. He has secured a top-tier rank item from the random drop. Sung Yoon stares at the notifications with a mix of exhaustion and intense curiosity. His glowing eyes scan the data for any tactical advantage. A glowing silver pendant materializes in the air with a description of its iron soul. It is a B-rank accessory forged by a master blacksmith. He reaches out and snatches the enchanted jewelry before it can hit the floor. The metal feels cold and heavy with latent magical energy. Sung Yoon examines the charm and wonders if it provides the physical protection he desperately needs. Every piece of gear is a lifeline in this tower. A blue notification flashes as the wrought iron pendant activates its exclusive iron protection skill. Sung Yoon feels a surge of defensive energy wash over his body. Sung Yoon stands in a pillar of blue light while testing the weight of the new mana. His combat potential is shifting drastically with this accessory. System windows reveal a 7% boost to sword skills and 10% damage absorption. He is stunned that this item outperforms most high-tier gear. The hunter stares at the floating text describing the perfect balance of offense and defense. He knows this overpowered item is the key to surviving. Sung Yoon grips the glowing pendant with a rare look of satisfaction on his face. He is finally catching a break with a truly amazing find. Sung Yoon suddenly doubles over as a red system alert confirms his magic power is completely gone. The cost of the pendant is higher than he expected. He gasps for air while his vision blurs from the sudden and violent mana drain. The exclusive effect eats through his resources like a starved beast. Sung Yoon clutches the metal and decides to save the skill for life or death emergencies. Mismanaging his mana now could lead to a fatal mistake later. He turns his attention to a new notification regarding his unique trait reaching D rank. Continuous growth is the only way to stay ahead of his enemies. Sung Yoon's eyes widen in shock as a portal opens before the cooldown period even begins. The tower is forcing him into the next trial immediately. Sung Yoon stands on the sterile floor while considering the benefits of a faster trial pace. He wonders if the tower has altered the rules for everyone. A community notification pops up as a user named Tower's Spirit asks about the missing wait time. The system is clearly moving the goalposts for everyone. Chat messages flood the screen with complaints about the lack of preparation time. Most hunters are too exhausted to care about special pioneer rewards or rankings. Sung Yoon realizes that most players are just desperate to go home. The competitive drive that fuels his growth is completely missing in the lower ranks. He senses a heavy shift in the atmosphere compared to the bloody chaos of the 6th floor. The environment is becoming more predatory and focused on isolation. Shadowy figures with glowing red eyes haunt his thoughts as he considers the murderers lurking nearby. They only strike when the rewards for betrayal are high. Sung Yoon narrows his eyes while reflecting on those who slaughtered their own allies for points. He refuses to let his guard down for even a second. He focuses his mana to stimulate his internal growth while thinking about his mental fortitude. Strengthening his unwavering skill is the only way to survive. The unique trait window appears to confirm that his necromancy has officially reached D rank proficiency. This is the first major evolution of his primary ability. Sung Yoon stares at the interface with a look of genuine disbelief as he reads the details. The mechanics of the upgrade are not what he expected. Sung Yoon notes his stats are finally evolving beyond basic physical boosts. The level up chime signals a fundamental shift in his potential. New diagrams reveal that absorbed souls now provide active mana restoration and physical shielding. This utility turns his fallen enemies into permanent defensive assets. Sung Yoon experiments with the shimmering energy plates while considering the odds of skill theft. The system is finally offering him more than just raw power. A jagged blue strike flashes through the air with surgical precision. He is testing the limits of his refined control over the tower's energy. A blade spins in a violent blur to create a defensive perimeter. The speed of the rotation makes it clear he is no longer pulling any punches. Sung Yoon decides to push the limits of his new soul shield in a high-stakes test. He is willing to risk a limb to confirm if this defense is truly absolute. He lunges across the dark stone floor with explosive speed. Every movement is calculated to force a reaction from the system's mechanics. The hunter stands tall with his fist raised against the swirling dark shadows. He is ready to see if the tower's gift can actually handle a direct hit. A heavy strike connects as red energy ripples across the impact zone. He is intentionally provoking a response to measure the shield's durability. A blue notification confirms that the soul has completely absorbed the user's injury. Sung Yoon watches as the red mana disperses without leaving a single scratch on his body. A system chime confirms that Song Jinwook's soul has officially expired. Sung Yoon now has 3 souls stored out of his 30-slot limit. Red energy swirls around Sung Yoon as the necromancy stabilizes within his core. The raw power of the consumed spirits is finally settling into his own mana pool. Sung Yoon smirks as he realizes the true potential of his evolved trait. The defensive boost from the souls is even more effective than he initially calculated. The soul count remains fixed at 3 while the system processes the recent combat data. He needs more essence to fully unlock the scale of this dark ability. The 6th trial leaderboard flickers to life with Kim Sung-hoon holding the top spot. Sung Yoon scans the names of the elite hunters who are currently dominating the climb. Sung Yoon ignores the rankings because he only cares about securing his status as a pioneer. He knows that staying in the top 50 is the only way to get real rewards. The hunter stands in the empty lobby and notes that waiting for the next floor has become a waste of time. He is ready to push his limits immediately. A massive vortex of blue energy tears open in the center of the room. The transition to the next stage is happening much faster than the previous floors. Notifications announce the start of the 7th floor trial with a hard difficulty rating. The tower is wasting no time in ramping up the lethality of the challenges. The system lists the completion requirements while warning that failure results in immediate death. Sung Yoon prepares his weapon for a high-speed gauntlet of 3 consecutive trials. Sung Yoon enters a narrow stone passage lit by flickering torches. The air is heavy with the weight of the coming trial. He scans the damp walls and notes the path ahead is a single corridor. This straightforward layout usually hides a deadly trap. Sung Yoon walks forward while noting the unsettling silence of the hallway. He finds the total lack of sensory feedback extremely annoying. A blinding white light erupts at the far end of the stone tunnel. He squints as the portal begins to pull him inward. The hunter is suddenly dragged through space by a violent surge of blue mana. He braces his body as the environment shifts instantly. A system window chimes to confirm he has officially reached the first trial area. The transition is complete before he can even blink. The dark stone walls vanish and are replaced by a vast open sky. Sung Yoon finds himself standing on the edge of a massive cliff. He looks down at the sprawling landscape while his blue eye glows with analytical precision. He is already searching for the first enemy. Golden sand dunes stretch toward the horizon under a scorching sun. The desert heat ripples through the air with intense pressure. Sung Yoon stands in the center of the wasteland and realizes the tower is testing his endurance. He knew this trial would be a brutal marathon. Strange energy ripples through the sky as the desert landscape begins to shift. The tower is rearranging the terrain for a familiar challenge. Sung Yoon scans the horizon while bracing himself for whatever is about to spawn. He knows the calm environment is just a precursor to violence. A system notification reveals that this floor is a direct reproduction of the tutorial trial. The tower is forcing him to relive his earliest struggles. He realizes he must clear 3 previous trials back-to-back to progress. This is a gauntlet designed to test his improved efficiency and stamina. Sung Jian's eyes glow with a sharp blue light as he senses a massive mana signature nearby. Something is very different about this specific recreation. A mountain of sand begins to rise from the dunes with a deafening roar. The sheer volume of earth moving is enough to crush a normal hunter. He watches the sand coalesce into the familiar shape of a massive golem. This boss was difficult enough when it was half this size. Sung Yoon stands like a speck of dust beneath the towering wall of stone and grit. The scale of the enemy is absolutely staggering compared to the tutorial. Glowing yellow eyes ignite within the golem's head as it locks onto its target. He estimates the monster is at least 3 times larger than the original version. He prepares his weapon while staring down the upgraded titan. The trial is no longer a simple memory but a lethal evolution of his past. Han Sung-yoon stares at the massive walls of moving sand forming the golem's body. He can't believe the scale of the boss compared to his previous encounters. The creature towers over the entire arena like a living skyscraper. Sung-yoon looks like a mere speck against the backdrop of shifting stone and dust. He notes the golem is at least 3 times its original size from the tutorial. This hidden trial has evolved into something far more lethal than he expected. The sheer power radiating from the monster feels absolutely boundless. Sung-yoon tightens his grip as he prepares for a clash that will test his new stats. A massive fist of compressed sand slams toward the ground with the force of a falling meteor. The air pressure alone is enough to crush a weaker hunter. The impact creates a deafening roar that echoes across the barren floor. Dust and debris explode into the sky as the monster begins its relentless assault. Sung-yoon dodges the strike and channels a surge of blue mana into his blade. He refuses to be intimidated by the Titan's overwhelming physical presence. He accepts the challenge with a cold grin and prepares to strike back. The hunter's focus sharpens as he targets the golem's massive weak points. The ground beneath the golem's fist is completely pulverized into fine powder. One wrong move will result in instant death under that crushing weight. Sungyun blurs into motion while leaving trails of blue energy in his wake. He is moving at top speed to close the distance for a lethal counterattack. Sungyun's eye glows with a cold blue light as the ground erupts in a massive cloud of dust. He is searching for a single opening before the golem can reset its stance. Huge chunks of stone rain down as the golem slams its heavy weight into the arena floor. The impact is enough to turn any unprepared hunter into a red smear instantly. Sungyun looks up at the towering monster and finds the entire situation strange. Something about the creature's mana signature feels off compared to the standard records of the lower floors. He notices the vital core stone is completely missing from the center of the sand golem. Killing this beast without a heart is going to be a nearly impossible task. A massive explosion of sand forces Sungyun to leap backward with a sudden burst of speed. He narrowly avoids a crushing blow that would have shattered his ribs on impact. Sungyun stabilizes his breathing while his blue eyes scan the shifting rocks for the hidden core. He refuses to waste any more mana on a target that cannot actually die. He pivots in midair and launches himself directly toward the golem's massive, crumbling shoulder. Closing the distance is his only chance to find the monster's hidden weak point. The sand monster swings a pillar-sized arm that barely misses Sungyun's head as he dives. The raw wind pressure from the strike is enough to knock him off balance. The golem's body begins to shift and crumble into a new and more aggressive form. It is adapting to the hunter's speed with a terrifying level of efficiency. Jagged blue energy slashes rip through the creature's chest as Sungyun strikes with absolute precision. He is dismantling the monster piece by piece to reveal its hidden secret. Blue energy rips through the air in a series of jagged arcs. Sungyun is testing the density of the sand golem's magical armor. He skids across the floor and sticks a landing with perfect balance. Every movement is a calculated search for a lethal opening within the creature's defenses. Sungyun notes that standard attacks aren't enough to kill the shifting beast. He decides to increase the frequency of his slashes until the stone structure collapses. A massive explosion of rock and dust follows his next heavy strike. The creature's physical form is starting to destabilize under the sheer pressure of the mana. Twin blades of energy carve through the center of the battlefield with explosive speed. He is systematically stripping away the golem's defensive layers to reveal the heart. The monster's heavy stone limb detaches and shatters into 1,000 fragments. Sungyun is moving too fast for the sand to reform its lost mass. His blue eye flashes as he realizes that cutting sand is a waste of time. He needs to locate the core stone to end this fight permanently. The golem lets out a silent roar as its internal mana begins to spike. It is pulling more rubble together to fortify its crumbling and broken body. A massive stone fist descends from the ceiling with the weight of a falling mountain. Sungyun shifts his weight at the last microsecond to avoid being crushed. The ground detonates as the golem's strike connects with the empty stone floor. Sungyun is already positioned for a final counterattack on the exposed core. Sungyun gasps as a massive shadow looms over his current position. The sudden shift in the boss's movement catches him completely off guard. A massive stone limb swings through the air with enough force to shatter the atmosphere. The golem moves with a speed that defies its mountain-sized frame. Sungyun blurs across the arena while jagged rock shards whistle past his head. He pushes his agility to the absolute limit just to stay ahead of the pressure. Sungyun realizes that simply avoiding the strikes won't win this war of attrition. He needs a way to penetrate the creature's thick outer shell immediately. The golem's foot slams into the stone floor with a deafening roar of destruction. A massive shockwave ripples outward and threatens to throw the hunter off his feet. The giant stands tall in the dust with its golden eyes glowing like twin suns. Sungyun looks like a mere speck compared to the overwhelming scale of his opponent. Sungyun tumbles through the air as the force of the impact sends him reeling backward. He grits his teeth while fighting to regain his balance mid-flight. A pillar of dust and debris erupts toward the sky from the point of impact. The entire trial floor trembles under the weight of the boss's relentless physical power. Cracks spiderweb across the entire arena as the structural integrity of the floor begins to fail. Sungyun scans the devastation for any opening to strike the monster's core. Shattered boulders rain down on the battlefield while the golem prepares for another crushing blow. Sungyun knows a single direct hit will end his climb forever. Sungyun wipes dirt from his face with a wild and frustrated grin. The relentless pressure of the boss fight is finally starting to get under his skin. He draws his glowing blade while the massive golem lunges through the rising dust. Every movement is now a calculated risk to find a lethal opening in its defense. Sungyun reflects on the intruder's gear as he prepares his next heavy strike. He realizes the stolen equipment is the only reason he is still standing in this fight. His blade carves through the golem's stone limb with a high-pitched screech. He must dismantle the beast piece by piece to finally expose the hidden core stone. The massive construct tries to reform its shattered body while Sungyun watches with a cold gaze. He encourages the monster to keep healing just so he can break it again. A blinding blue arc of energy tears through the center of the arena. Sungyun is putting every ounce of his remaining mana into a single vertical slash. The shockwave of the attack continues to ripple through the golem's reinforced exterior. He is determined to cut through as many layers as it takes to win. Sungyun blurs into a series of rapid strikes that leave trails of blue light in their wake. He is overwhelming the monster's regeneration speed with pure aggression. Stone fragments and sand explode outward as the golem's physical form finally begins to crumble. The sheer force of the assault is turning the boss into useless rubble. Sungyun gasps for air while scanning the debris for any sign of a magical pulse. He is frustrated that the core stone is still nowhere to be found. Sungyun locks his blue eyes onto the remaining mass of the golem. He realizes the monster is finally losing its composure after the relentless assault. The hunter mocks the creature for its significantly reduced size. He can see the boss is struggling to maintain its physical form without enough raw material. The system explains that the golem's reliance on sand is its greatest weakness in this environment. It cannot continuously regenerate when the floor resources are depleted. A visual comparison confirms the boss has shriveled into a fraction of its original height. Sungyun has effectively drained its massive regenerative reserves. Sungyun prepares his final stance while calculating the distance to the creature's exposed core. He is finished playing games with this crumbling pile of stone. Red energy flickers around his hand as he taunts the monster one last time. He is about to force the creature onto a lethal diet of pure violence. The small stone beast trembles in place while sensing the hunter's overwhelming killing intent. It clearly has no desire to continue this one-sided slaughter. Sungyun launches himself high into the air with a sudden burst of explosive speed. He is positioning himself perfectly for a crushing vertical strike. The hunter delivers a high-velocity kick that tears through the air with sharp blue mana trails. He is converting his momentum into a single finishing blow. A massive shockwave erupts as the strike connects directly with the center of the golem's head. Stone fragments fly everywhere as the boss finally shatters into dust. Sungyun carves through the stone giants with blinding speed. He is refusing to let the sheer size of these golems slow his momentum. A massive boom echoes across the arena as the first line of defense crumbles into debris. The impact leaves nothing but a crater and settling dust. A jagged stone face lunges forward with glowing yellow eyes. This monster is driven by pure instinct to crush the lone intruder. More golems emerge from the dust with pulsating red cores embedded in their rocky backs. Sungyun realizes these beasts are guarding their only true weakness. The creature lets out a low growl while shifting its heavy weight to cover the core. Its armor is thick, but the glowing gem remains exposed. Sungyun locks his eyes on the target and confirms the exact location of the red gem. He finally has a clear path to end this exhausting fight. He calculates the time spent and realizes he has already burned 10 minutes on the outskirts. The pressure of the tower's clock is starting to weigh on him. Sungyun grips his glowing blade as the system confirms the 40-minute trial limit. He knows he must increase his pace or risk a failing grade. The hunter blurs into a horizontal slash that tears through the golem's waist. He is targeting the center mass with absolute lethal precision. Sungyun mocks the monster's pathetic speed as he effortlessly dances around its heavy limbs. He is moving far too fast for the stone beast to track. Sungyun whispers that he wanted to play with the beast for a little longer. He is finally done holding back his true strength against this stone puppet. A sharp beam of red light pierces through the center of the golem's head. The monster freezes as its internal core begins to overload from the sudden surge. The stone beast screams in agony while crimson energy erupts from every crack in its body. It cannot withstand the sheer pressure of Sungyun's final lethal strike. A pillar of red mana shoots toward the ceiling from the impact zone. This massive discharge signals the total destruction of the floor guardian as it crumbles. The red core shatters into 1,000 jagged pieces of crystal. A system window appears to confirm that Sungyun has successfully proven he can overcome his own fear. A blue notification chimes to signal the official end of the first trial. The heavy and suffocating atmosphere of the arena finally starts to lift from the area. Sungyun drives his blade deep into the heart of the stone giant while suspended in mid-air. He ensures there is nothing left of the monster but useless rubble. Dust and debris rain down on the platform as the golem's physical form collapses into dust. The once intimidating guardian is reduced to a pile of worthless broken rock. The red energy explodes outward with a final violent shockwave that rattles the entire room. Sungyun stands in the center of the blast without moving a single inch. Sungyun stares at the blue screen confirming his victory with a cold and vacant expression. He has passed the first test of the tower without breaking a sweat. Sungyun pushes deeper into the 7th floor trial. He has no time to waste on the lower ranks if he wants to stay a pioneer. The massive sand golem collapses into a heap of useless rubble. Sungyun watches the dust settle while he prepares for the next phase of the gauntlet. A blinding pillar of blue mana erupts from the center of the debris. The tower is finally rewarding his lethal efficiency with a rare essence drop. Sungyun grins as he realizes he has successfully harvested the Titan's essence. This golem soul is exactly what he needs to bolster his new defensive traits. A massive red specter rises from the light like a vengeful ghost. The raw necromantic energy is far more dense than any previous spirit he has claimed. He reaches into the swirling vortex to stabilize the flickering mana. He refuses to let this much power dissipate before binding it to his core. Sungyun's hand closes around the glowing core as the system processes the absorption. His soul shield just gained its most durable asset yet. Sweat pours down his face as he feels his proficiency levels spike. The strain of managing this much dark energy is pushing his mental limits. A new system prompt challenges him to overcome his own wisdom. The tower is testing his tactical growth instead of just his physical strength. He looks down at the mangled corpses of the trial's past enemies. Sung-yoon realizes the path ahead is littered with the ghosts of his own progress. Sung-yoon recognizes the burning landscape as the orc village from his second-floor trial. The tower is forcing him to revisit the scenes of his earliest victories. Blood and feathers litter the scorched ground as the environment fully materializes. He realizes the tower is combining his past trials into one lethal gauntlet. Sung-yoon senses a massive mana spike and quickly shifts his focus toward the source of the noise. He cannot afford to be distracted by the familiar scenery. The entire village has been transformed into a massive, burning graveyard of orc structures. The scale of the destruction is much higher than his first visit. Sung-yoon's blue eye glows as he spots a specific enemy type emerging from the smoke. He wonders if a high-level hunter orc has joined the fray. A savage orc with glowing eyes and reinforced armor growls as it picks up a heavy weapon. These monsters are significantly more aggressive than the tutorial versions. The creature lets out a guttural scream while pinning its prey to the blood-stained earth. The sheer physical power behind its movement is staggering. Red energy splatters across the frame as the orc begins a relentless assault. Sung-yoon prepares to intercept the monster before it can build momentum. A wave of heat and feral roars erupts from the flames as the entire pack enters a berserk state. The atmosphere is thick with the scent of blood and ash. Sung-yoon notes that a berserk orc is far beyond a standard E-rank threat. He must adjust his strategy to account for their increased speed and durability. Sung-yoon stands amidst the falling ash and curses his terrible luck. He knows the system has just pushed the difficulty beyond anything he can handle safely. 3 berserk orcs lunge forward with eyes burning a deep crimson. Their speed has tripled as they close the distance for a lethal strike. The pack surrounds him in the burning camp with guttural screeches echoing through the flames. Sung-yoon is trapped in a circle of blades and raw muscle. Sung-yoon's eyes ignite with a piercing blue light as his focus hits its peak. He stops reacting and starts calculating the exact movement needed to kill them all. System windows chime as he activates instant acceleration and 3 lacerations simultaneously. He is burning through his mana reserves to end this fight in a single breath. He blurs into a downward strike that tears through the air with a violent blue trail. The first orc doesn't even have time to raise its weapon. A heavy impact detonates against the ground as the orc is crushed under pure physical pressure. Blood sprays across the dirt as the creature's defenses shatter instantly. Sung-yoon stands over the dying orcs while the surrounding forest continues to burn. He breathes heavily while watching the last survivor crawl through the ash in agony. He looks down at the mangled corpses with a cold and unforgiving expression. He mocks the monsters for failing to realize how much of a threat he actually is. Sung-yoon tells the dying beast it must watch its family rot before it finally joins them. He has no mercy left for things that try to hunt him first. The monster's jaw snaps shut in a final, desperate roar before its body gives out. Sung-yoon watches the creature's life fade without an ounce of pity. He stands amidst the burning wreckage of the battlefield while staring down the next massive threat. The scale of the tower's guardians continues to grow with every passing minute. Blue mana surges through his eye as he tracks the enemy's slightest tremor. He is no longer just reacting but predicting every movement before it happens. He swings his blade in a blinding arc of cerulean light that cleaves through the air. One clean strike is all it takes to silence the mountain of stone. A system window confirms the completion of the second trial as the dust finally settles. Sung-yoon ignores the chime because he knows the third test is already beginning. He glances back at the smoldering remains while preparing for the next inevitable wave of violence. There is no time to rest when the tower demands constant progression. Sung-yoon reaches out his hand to command the swirling black and red essence of the fallen. He is pulling the life force out of the corpses to fuel his core. Crimson energy spirals around him as the necromancy takes hold of the arena's lingering spirits. He is turning his victims into a permanent resource for his own survival. Notifications confirm his proficiency has jumped by 6% while his soul count hits 19. He is rapidly filling his inventory with the power of his dead enemies. He clenches his blood-stained fist with a satisfied smirk and a simple nod. Everything is going exactly according to his plan for total dominance. Blue windows confirm his dagger skill and instant acceleration have maxed out their proficiency. Sung-yoon is finally seeing the physical rewards of his relentless grinding. The system announces he is entering the third trial area. He must now prove he can move forward without a single shred of hesitation. Sung-yoon's blue eye widens as he takes in his new surroundings. The sudden shift in the environment is unlike anything he experienced on the previous floors. He stands on a narrow stone bridge stretching across a vast ocean under a bright sky. The hunter realizes this is not a simple combat arena. Sung-yoon recognizes this objective as a capture mission usually reserved for much higher floors. The tower is intentionally breaking its own rules to test his limits. He grips his weapon tightly while scanning the horizon for any incoming threats. Every step on this bridge feels like a direct challenge to his resolve. Sung-yoon sighs as he remembers the chaotic horde of monsters he just cleared. He mocks himself for expecting anything logical or fair from this cursed tower. A notification displays a standard health potion that restores 20% of his stamina and mana. This is the only lifeline the system is providing for now. He pops the cork and downs the shimmering blue liquid in one quick motion. The cooling sensation of the potion begins to repair his drained magical core. Sung Yoon exhales with a look of relief as his strength finally returns. He is ready to face whatever madness the third trial has waiting for him. Sung Yoon stands silently on the narrow stone ledge while clutching the empty potion bottle. He gazes at the churning ocean ahead and prepares for the next phase of the trial. The water erupts upward with a violent roar as Sung Yoon looks on in shock. A massive force is shifting beneath the waves and targeting his position. A mountain of seawater crashes against the platform with overwhelming pressure. The impact sends white spray everywhere while the environment begins to destabilize under the surge. Sung Yoon smirks as his blue eye glows with newfound confidence. He knows exactly how to exploit the tower's mechanics to survive this sudden aquatic assault. A notification confirms his assassin's cape has granted him a 15% boost to his movement speed. He has less than 1 minute to reach the next safe zone. Sung Yoon blurs into a sprint across the wooden planks with explosive momentum. He is moving with enough speed to stay ahead of the rising tide. He realizes he must locate the red captured tile to secure his footing. Touching the dark water now would mean instant failure for the entire floor. A massive wall of water towers over the arena while Sung Yoon pushes his body to the limit. He notes that his increased speed is the only thing keeping him alive. His feet barely touch the ground as he outruns the crashing waves. He calculates that this current pace will be enough to reach the hidden goal. Sung Yoon leaps through the air with a trail of purple energy following his every move. He is closing the distance on the target before the floor collapses. A massive pillar of water erupts with a deafening boom. The force of the surge completely consumes the bridge and everything on it. Sung Yoon is thrown into the freezing depths while gasping for air. He curses his luck as the environment turns into a watery grave. System notifications flood his vision with a 10-point stamina drain. A 3-minute penalty begins to tick down as his strength fades. Floating stone slabs drift through the air while massive geysers tear the arena apart. The entire trial ground is falling into total chaos. Sung Yoon is launched skyward by a violent blast of pressurized water. He fights to keep his eyes open against the blinding spray. He grits his teeth and forces his mana to stabilize his spinning body. The hunter refuses to let the tower's pressure break his focus. He leaps between falling debris with sharp blue energy trails marking his path. Every jump is a desperate gamble for solid ground. A massive whirlpool of energy and water spins violently below him. The suction threatens to pull him back into the abyss. Sung Yoon plummets toward a single stone platform amidst the crashing waves. He calculates his landing to avoid shattering his legs on impact. He glares at the sky with glowing blue eyes and a defiant snarl. He mocks the idea of dying in such a pathetic place. Shattered stone pillars and white energy arcs fill the air. Sung Yoon weaves through the falling wreckage with absolute precision. He narrows his eyes as the wind pressure increases against his face. Every muscle is tensed for a sudden shift in the environment. A flash of light reveals the red captured tile at the center of the chaos. He realizes this is the key to finally clearing the stage. Sung Yoon grits his teeth and wonders how much longer this tedious trial will drag on. His patience is wearing thin as the mechanics become more repetitive. A massive whirlpool of churning water and mana erupts from the center of the arena. The suction is strong enough to pull the heavy debris back into the abyss. Sung Yoon sprints across a narrow path of floating debris while a massive energy serpent looms behind him. He refuses to slow down despite the titan's overwhelming presence. He dodges a spray of freezing water while noting the serpent's lack of strategy. The beast is attacking with raw power but zero finesse. The massive energy dragon lunges forward with its jaws wide open. Sung Yoon twists his body in mid-air to avoid the crushing bite at the last second. A sharp blue glow ignites in his eyes as he prepares a counterattack. He has finally memorized the rhythm of the monster's predictable movements. A sudden ripple in the mana causes him to freeze in shock. Something even more dangerous is emerging from the center of the whirlpool. Sung Yoon is blasted backward as a massive wave of energy erupts from the center of the vortex. The force of the impact threatens to shatter his internal organs instantly. He grinds his teeth against the suffocating pressure of the surrounding mana. The hunter is barely holding on to consciousness as the environment collapses around him. Sung Yoon's eyes ignite with a sharp blue flame as he pushes his mental limits. He realizes he only needs a few more seconds for his new trait to stabilize. He focuses on the shifting landscape while ignoring the searing pain radiating through his limbs. Survival depends on his ability to process this new energy in real time. Another violent explosion of white light sends his body reeling through the air. The raw power of the tower is testing his physical durability to its absolute breaking point. Blood trickles from his mouth as the relentless pressure threatens to crush his ribs. Sung Yoon refuses to let go of his blade despite the overwhelming agony. The true weight of the necromancy ability begins to settle into his core. He is finally moving past the limits of a normal human hunter. A blue notification confirms his skin is now absorbing a portion of all incoming physical impacts. Red energy swirls around him as his defensive stats begin to skyrocket. Crimson shadows erupt from his body in a violent display of newfound power. The transition is forced to completion by his sheer will to survive the trial. The system confirms that a stored soul has taken the lethal damage meant for his body. Sung Yoon watches as the orc hunter's essence vanishes to keep him alive. Sung Yoon reels from the massive kinetic impact rattling his bones. He felt the weight of the strike even if the damage didn't register. The soul shield kicked in at the exact microsecond of contact to negate the lethality. It is a flawless defensive layer that operates independently of his reflexes. Dust and debris explode outward as the monster's force finally dissipates against the air. Sung Yoon stands his ground while the arena floor cracks beneath his feet. He lets out a sharp breath as the immediate pressure of the boss's assault fades. That was far closer than he ever intended for a simple test. The system timer hits 0 and signals the end of the high-intensity survival phase. The suffocating weight of the trial finally begins to lift. The towering sand constructs lose their mana source and crumble into harmless piles of grit. The tower's lethal puppets are officially out of commission for now. Sung-yoon gasps for air while sweat drips from his chin onto the cold stone. He pushed his stamina to the absolute breaking point to survive that gauntlet. A red orb of concentrated essence pulses within his palm as he triggers the soul consumption. He needs to refill his tank before the next wave arrives. Jagged crimson arcs of energy surge through his veins with an aggressive heat. The necromantic conversion is instantaneous and brutal. The system confirms the orc hunter's soul has been fully converted into raw magical power. Sung-yoon smirks as his mana bar flashes back to full capacity. Sung-yoon unleashes a flurry of blue mana slashes. The air screams as his blade carves through the remaining sand particles. Sung-yoon narrows his eyes as the atmospheric pressure begins to spike. He can feel the tower preparing for the next phase of the trial. He pushes his speed further while racing across the narrow path. Sung-yoon knows he only needs a little more momentum to reach the objective. A massive geyser of blue energy erupts from the central pillar upon impact. The force of the strike completely obliterates the structural core. Sung-yoon stands in the wake of the explosion with his weapon ready. He is searching for the next enemy among the settling debris. He pauses as the sky begins to warp into a violent vortex. The sudden change in the environment signals a shift in the combat mechanics. Sung-yoon admits the tower logic is becoming increasingly chaotic. He pivots his body as a fresh wave of mana slashes through the air. He lets out a sharp exhale while narrowly avoiding a direct magical discharge. The pressure is mounting as the arena continues to destabilize. He leaps forward with a sudden burst of explosive speed. Sung-yoon refuses to let the tower erratic patterns disrupt his combat rhythm. Shimmering energy rain falls across the battlefield in a dense blue curtain. He braces himself as the final stage of the gauntlet begins to materialize. A massive shockwave shatters the golem's rocky exterior into jagged shards. Sung-yoon is finally breaking through the creature's thickest layer of defense. A blue system window confirms that an orc hunter's soul has been completely destroyed. The tower is extracting a heavy price for his survival during this trial. Heavy chunks of debris rain down as the titan's arm detaches and hits the floor. The landscape is being buried under the weight of the monster's remains. Red energy ripples through the air as another critical strike connects. He is forcing the system to register massive damage in a matter of seconds. Sung-yoon tumbles through the air while dodging the falling remnants of his enemy. He needs to find stable ground before the environment shifts again. Jagged red light flares across the horizon as the golem's core finally destabilizes. The sound of the explosion is enough to rupture a normal hunter's eardrums. A final violent eruption of mana turns the remaining stone into fine powder. The guardian of the trial has been reduced to absolutely nothing. Multiple notifications chime as his soul count jumps to 12 out of 30. Sung-yoon is rapidly filling his dark inventory with the essence of his fallen foes. He collapses onto the scorched earth and lets out a pained groan. The physical strain of the gauntlet is starting to catch up to his exhausted body. Swirling blue energy begins to coalesce around his feet for the next transition. The tower gives him no time to rest before the final stage begins. A massive column of water crashes down with a violent roar. The environment finally starts to stabilize. Sung-yoon stares at the retreating waves with a hollow expression. He barely survived the chaotic shift. A system window confirms he has successfully overcome his own hesitation. The tower acknowledges his mental growth. A final notification announces the third trial is officially over. The suffocating pressure is finally lifting. The swirling vortex of mana and water dissolves into a harmless spray. The lethal energy has dissipated. Chunks of liquid mana fall as the magical storm settles. The arena is finally returning to silence. Sung-yoon collapses into a seated position while the flood recedes. He looks completely spent after the ordeal. He curses the tower and its exhausting mechanics under his breath. His patience has reached its absolute limit. Sweat drips from his chin as he glares at the empty sky. Every muscle is screaming from the physical strain. The system chimes with a congratulations for clearing the stage. He ignores the prompt and focuses on breathing. System windows announce the 7th floor is cleared and grant Sung-yoon the Wind's Grace skill. This A-rank reward is a massive upgrade to his agility. The tower adds 15,000 points and a pair of fast boots to his inventory. He is finally being compensated for the hell he just endured. A final prompt directs Sung-yoon to leave the arena and head back to the lobby. The immediate danger has passed but his fatigue remains. A swirling blue portal erupts from the dark floor with a sharp crackle of mana. The exit is finally open for the exhausted hunter. Sung-yoon turns his back on the battlefield and walks toward the glowing gateway. He carries the weight of a dozen souls and a broken body. The portal light hums as he reaches the threshold of the next floor. One more step and this nightmare trial officially ends. The system confirms he is transitioning back to the safe zone. The suffocating pressure of the tower's malice finally begins to fade. Sung-yoon stands silently as the adrenaline leaves his system. His tattered clothes are a testament to how close he came to death. He lets out a heavy sigh of relief while glancing at the sky. The simple act of breathing without a monster in sight is a luxury. Sung-yoon mutters about the repetitive nature of these trials while shaking his head. He knows the tower will only get more sadistic as he climbs. Sung-yoon stares ahead with a cold expression. Scraping by is no different from total failure. He looks down in silence. The cost of survival is becoming too high. Sung-yoon bites his lip while weighing future dangers. The 8th floor trial is approaching. He clenches his jaw as reality settles in. Pure luck has officially run out. Sung-yoon looks up as a strange energy fills the room. He senses a transition. He stands tall amidst the sterile stone walls. The isolation is starting to feel heavy. A blue system chime cuts through the silence. The tower's fundamental code is changing. Notifications announce 1,000 survivors cleared the floor. A global system expansion begins. Icons for a skill shop and trial junction flicker. The tower is evolving for slaughter. Returns and floor invasions are now online. The trial has become a relentless war. A system window confirms the activation of the floor invading system. Han Sung-yoon recognizes these as the high-level tools he needs to survive. For blue windows list new features including a skill shop and trial junctions. Sung-yoon has been waiting for these upgrades to finally level the playing field. The list of rewards continues to scroll down the interface. He knows the most critical update is yet to be revealed. A notification appoints him as a pioneer for all floors. This title grants him authority far beyond a standard challenger. The system prompts him to select his halo. Han Sung-yoon's eyes glow as he prepares to claim his legendary reward. Sung-yoon stares intensely at the selection screen. He has already decided which path will grant him the most power. The screen transitions to reveal the true potential of his new status. This choice will permanently alter his combat potential. A golden silhouette radiates a blinding starburst of divine light. This manifestation represents the peak of a pioneer's evolution. The interface explains that a halo provides unique traits and passive effects. Sung-yoon realizes this is the ultimate benefit of his relentless efficiency. Final warnings urge him to choose his traits carefully. The hunter knows a single mistake here could ruin his perfect build. Han Sung-yoon stares at the warning with intense eyes. He knows the tower rarely gives sincere advice. The hunter realizes this halo choice carries massive weight. This is a permanent turning point for his build. 3 options flicker onto the system interface. He must choose between becoming a ruler, hunter, or monk. Sung-yoon whispers to himself while processing the rarity. He has never seen a reward of this caliber. He stands silently as the blue screen illuminates his face. The stillness highlights the gravity of the choice. Sung-yoon decides to analyze the data before making a move. He refuses to rush such a permanent decision. The ruler description reveals a universal growth path. This matches his high-efficiency playstyle perfectly. The system recommends the ruler halo for Han Sung-yoon specifically. It unlocks a powerful skill synthesization authority. He realizes the halo amplifies every single one of his traits. His potential power ceiling just exploded. Sung-yoon continues scanning the final perks of the ruler path. His route to total dominance is finally clear. Han Sung-yoon notes that the tower is explicitly recommending a specific path. The system is no longer being subtle about his potential. A glowing notification confirms the ruler halo is the most compatible choice for his current growth. He sees the path to absolute authority. Sung-yoon reaches out to scroll through the interface. He refuses to commit before analyzing every other available option. A digital chime echoes as he pulls up the next information window. The hunter halo details begin to materialize. This path promises exponential proficiency gains and deep skill connection. It is designed for those who survive through constant adaptation. The system notes this halo is only somewhat suitable for Han Sung-yoon. It lacks the explosive power of the ruler rank. Sung-yoon stares at the screen with a neutral expression. He acknowledges the utility but remains unimpressed by its limitations. He shifts his focus toward the final entry in the system menu. There is only one choice left to evaluate. The monk halo interface flashes onto the screen with a sharp beep. The last potential destiny is finally revealed. This halo rewards long-term perseverance but renders the talentless completely useless. It is a brutal gamble based on pure effort. The monk screen warns that talentless hunters will find this path completely useless. Han Sung-yoon realizes the risk is far too high for his current situation. He decides to dismiss the monk option immediately. Only 2 viable choices remain for him to consider. Han Sung-yoon stands before the floating interfaces as they hum with ancient energy. He weighs the remaining destinies against his need for immediate power. He narrows his focus to a single screen. The hunter has finally made his final decision. Han Sung-yoon looks at the interface with cold and unwavering eyes. He knows this choice dictates his survival on the upper floors. He reaches out his hand toward the glowing blue light. This moment permanently changes his trajectory within the tower. His fingertip hovers just inches from the holographic surface. Everything hinges on this single physical input. He taps the screen with absolute confidence. The system registers the selection as the interface ripples under his touch. A new notification confirms he has officially chosen the ruler. The tower accepts his bid for total authority. A golden aura erupts around Han Sung-yoon as his unique trait begins to evolve. The system is rewriting his core power to match his new halo. Han Sung-yoon stands tall as golden light radiates from his chest. The halo evolution is forcing his physical form to adapt to the ruler's rank. His feet lift off the ground while the surge of mana stabilizes. He is no longer bound by the standard laws of the lower floors. A prompt explains that his options are now tailored to his current growth. The system is scanning his history to find the most lethal path forward. The first choice allows him to command the undead using his stored souls. He could turn his fallen enemies into a permanent private army. The second path focuses on blending his blade work with high-density mana. This would triple the speed of his combat skill progression. The final option offers absolute mastery over the creation of powerful items. It is a path of utility that would make him a master of the forge. Sungyun wonders if this specialized selection is a direct result of the ruler's halo. The quality of these traits is far beyond standard class advancements. He stares at the screen with a confident smirk. The choice is obvious for someone who plans to conquer the tower alone. He reaches out to tap his selection with zero hesitation. The air ripples as he commits to a single path of power. The system chime confirms his new unique trait is being forged. This evolution will fundamentally change how he interacts with the tower's mechanics. The system confirms necromancy has been added to his arsenal. Han Sungyun is officially a dark summoner. Sweat beads on his face as the tower begins adjusting his existing skills. He senses a fundamental shift in his mana core. A new unique authority for skill synthesization flashes across his vision. The system is giving him the power to fuse his abilities. His updated status window displays a massive jump in every physical attribute. Han Sungyun is finally leaving his human limitations behind. Glitchy red energy leaks from the corners of his interface. The dark power is struggling to integrate with his physical shell. Sharp arcs of distorted light slash through the air as his new titles finalize. He is now the undisputed Halo ruler. A violent eruption of crimson mana explodes outward from his chest. The raw output is almost too much for his body to contain. Han Sungyun stands at the center of a necrotic storm with burning eyes. He has successfully claimed the tower's forbidden authority. Distorted shadows swirl around his feet like a living tide of ink. The transition into a high-tier predator is complete. He takes a single, heavy step forward across the polished floor. The trial is over and the real hunt begins. Han Sungyun plants his foot firmly on the floor. He has finally found what he needs. His red eye glows with a savage intensity. He has finally obtained a unique gift. Crimson energy flares around him like a crown. He finally possesses a halo of power. Han Sungyun watches dark mana drip from his shoulders. He is ready to begin. He points forward as a blue system interface flickers into life. The reward is finally here. The screen announces the unlock of skill synthesization. He can now merge two abilities together. Han Sungyun stares at the prompt with calculating blue eyes. Weak skills are now fuel. A smirk spreads across his face. He knows this shortcut is his path to dominance. He laughs at his luck as the skill list opens. This power is freaking awesome. The system prompts him to select two materials for synthesis. He searches for a violent pairing. Sungyun scans his low-rank skills for the perfect sacrificial pair. He won't waste mana on redundant passives. The system displays every F-rank ability he has scraped together. He must consolidate this clutter into one lethal weapon. Han Sungyun weighs his options before the screen. He wonders which combo will break the tower's balance. His blue eyes lock onto the skills he rarely uses. These forgotten traits are just fuel for his next evolution. He taps the screen to select the weakest assets in his inventory. The interface chimes as the fusion sequence initializes. Both F-rank skills are locked into the synthesis slots. He gambles his trash for a shot at something superior. A final prompt asks if he is ready to lose these abilities. Sungyun hits confirm without a second of hesitation. Shimmering blue mana reflects off his face during the process. He watches the icons dissolve into raw magical energy. The air hums with high-frequency synthesis as the light intensifies. He smirks as the gamble finally begins to pay off. A blinding white explosion marks the completion of the trial. The system confirms his weak skills have been reborn. A radiant white square erupts in the void. Han Sungyun has successfully triggered the skill synthesis. The brilliance washes over Han Sungyun as he stares. He feels his essence being rewritten. A massive blue system window materializes before him. The chime signals the end of his gamble. The text confirms a new skin has been forged. He finally has the defense he needed. A brilliant blue system window pulses as a new skill is birthed from the shimmering light. Han Sungyun has just synthesized Forceful Breakthrough, a D-rank skill specifically designed to shatter any restriction or ability blocking his path. It's the ultimate trump card for a solo player. As long as his mana is higher than his enemies, nothing can hold him back. Man, seeing him get a tool like this early on is actually insane. He's essentially becoming unstoppable. The interface displays two basic F-rank blocks merging into a single, glowing D-rank icon. Sungyun can't even hide his shock, admitting he only expected an E-rank at best from such low-tier fodder skills. He's basically broken the standard progression of the tower before he's even truly started. This isn't just luck. It's a clear sign that his synthesis ability is far more broken than we first thought, and he knows it. Sungyun stares at his interface in the quiet waiting area, his eyes already fixed on the next potential upgrade. He quickly selects Ranger's Knowledge and Fire Resistance, two utility skills, and hits the confirmation button without a second thought. He's chasing that high again, hoping to see another massive jump in power through the synthesis. You can almost feel his heart racing. One wrong move and he wastes precious resources, but he's not the type to play it safe anymore. Golden sparks fly as a new notification for Strengthened Eyes pops up and hovers in the air. This skill allows him to see through fog and darkness with ease, but Sungyun's expression immediately sours. It only hit E-rank, a minor step up that leaves him looking pretty underwhelmed as he stares at the screen. Honestly, after that massive D-rank pull earlier, a small upgrade like this feels like a total slap in the face. Two dark, aggressive-looking skill icons begin to swirl together in a vortex of purple and gold energy. He's mashing Contempt for the Weak and Sustain Battle together, and the system confirms their compatibility is actually off the charts. This is the big one, the synergy here looks absolutely lethal for a necromancer. If this works, Sungyun isn't just going to be a hunter, he's going to be a nightmare for his enemies. But will the rank jump high enough to actually satisfy him, or is he about to hit a wall? The system screen flashes a harsh warning showing that Ranger's knowledge and fire resistance are completely incompatible. Sungyun realizes that even with his broken ability, he can't just smash random skills together and hope for a miracle. Honestly, it's a good reality check. Synthesis isn't a cheat code that works every single time. He collapses onto his bed in a quiet waiting area, looking totally wiped out after the mental tax of all that experimentation. It's one of the few moments we see him actually look human instead of a cold-blooded hunting machine. A tight close-up of Sunjin's glowing blue eyes reveals him lost in thought about the radiance rewards he keeps earning as a pioneer. He starts questioning if his meteoric rise is actually due to his own grit or if he's just being carried by a special op skill. It's that classic moment of imposter syndrome, wondering if you're actually the GOAT or just the luckiest guy in the room. He stares blankly at the ceiling, the silence of the room only making his doubts louder. I mean, when you're growing this fast, you'd probably start wondering if the floor is about to drop out from under you too. He decides to stop overthinking and pulls up the details for his new A- rank skill, Wind's Grace. The description reveals a massive 10% boost to all speed, but the real kicker is the stacking mechanic. He can stack this effect up to 7 times, meaning he's looking at a potential 70% speed increase in a long fight. That is absolutely disgusting for a necromancer who usually needs to stay mobile. Seriously, imagine trying to hit a guy who's moving nearly twice as fast as everyone else on the battlefield. Suddenly, vibrant streaks of blue and pink light explode across the room as the skill's power begins to manifest around him. The energy is so intense it looks like the fabric of reality is warping just to accommodate his new speed. Sungyun looks completely mesmerized as the swirling vortex of mana enters his body, signaling his transition into a higher tier of power. This isn't just a small upgrade, it's the kind of power that changes the entire rules of engagement. He's geared up and ready to head back to Earth, but you have to wonder, with all this power, is he becoming something even the other hunters should be afraid of? He steps toward the portal, and the real test is about to begin. Sungyun looks down at his hands, realizing Wind's Grace is even more insane than he thought because it has absolutely no drawbacks. Before he can even process that, a new notification pings, revealing his newest reward, the Boots of Swiftness. These C-rank beauties grant a 3% boost to attack speed and a 5% jump in movement speed, making him faster than ever. He lets out a small smirk, loving the fact that every reward from the 7th floor is focused entirely on his speed. It's like the tower is crafting him into a living lightning bolt, and honestly, I'm totally here for it. A blue holographic interface hums to life as Sungyun finally browses the skill store. He scans through options like Harden and Monster Skin, but his eyes narrow in total disappointment. The skills available are surprisingly low quality, yet the prices he's seeing are absolutely disgusting. He stares at Instant Acceleration and can't believe it costs 8,000 points for such a basic D-rank move. You can see the frustration in his eyes. It's like trying to buy a used car for the price of a mansion. But Sungyun knows he can't just walk away empty-handed if he wants to stay ahead of the curve. Gold coins rain down across the screen as Sungyun decides to stop being stingy and invest heavily in his mana. He pulls the trigger on Magic Circuit for 15,000 points and follows it up by grabbing Magic Resistance for another 12,000. That is a massive chunk of change to drop in one go, but he doesn't hesitate for a single second. He realizes that having high physical stats is useless if a mage can just stop his heart with a single spell from a mile away. He's building a defense that goes beyond just armor. He's hardening his very soul against the supernatural. A dark, haunting image of a hooded figure wrapped in purple magic flashes through Sunjin's mind. He's remembering the Heart Solidarity skill from his past, a terrifying power that nearly cost him his life. Suddenly, red mana begins to arc off his body like crimson lightning, highlighting his frame as he stands up in the dim light. He looks absolutely terrifying here, like a predator that's finally finished its evolution. He's finally prepared for the mind games and the magic traps of his enemies. But the real question is, once he steps back into that dungeon, will there be anything left of the monsters to even bury? Sunjian's face contorts as a violent, jagged crimson aura erupts around his head. The skill synthesis isn't just some boring menu update, it's a brutal physical overhaul that forces a pained groan from his throat. Honestly, seeing him struggle like that makes you realize how much raw power he's actually trying to shove into a human vessel. Red energy slams into the floor and dissipates as Sungyun finally finds his footing. He looks down at his own boots, his breath coming in shallow hitches as he realizes his body feels completely different. You can almost feel the phantom weight in his limbs as he adjusts to this massive surge of internal pressure. He flexes his fingers against his chest, his expression shifting from the shock of the transition to a cold, calculated focus. As he starts walking away, his footsteps carry a new, rhythmic weight that seems to echo through the quiet lobby. It's like he's finally shed the skin of a victim and is stepping into the role of a predator. Glowing blue eyes snap toward the side, and in a heartbeat, he's nothing but a lethal blur. He launches himself forward with a speed that defies the laws of physics, leaving a bright streak of blue energy in his wake. I've seen fast hunters before, but the way he moves here is on a totally different level, it's like he's teleporting. A massive blue energy trail tears across the ground as Sung-yoon tests the limits of his new acceleration. He stops and stares at his palms, questioning if the mana circuit actually boosted his raw physical stats alongside his mana pool. If a necromancer can move with the agility of a high-rank assassin, then everyone else in this dungeon is in serious trouble. A translucent system window flickers to life right in front of Sung-yoon's face as he realizes his purchase was worth every penny. The screen details his new necromancy rites, explaining that he can now harvest souls to raise the fallen as his own puppets. This is the moment everything changes, because now, every monster he slays doesn't just die, it joins his army. It's a terrifying thought, right? If he clears this cave, he's not coming out alone, he's coming out with a legion. And the crazy part is, he's only just getting started. Sung-yoon stares intensely at the blue floating system window, his fingers almost touching the glowing text. He's seriously itching to test out this new, raising dead, skill, but he knows he needs a real battlefield to see what it can actually do. Honestly, I'd be just as impatient as he is. Imagine having the power to command a legion of the damned and having to wait for a loading screen. A close-up shows Sung-yoon's face as he weighs his next move with a cold, calculating expression. He's torn between jumping straight into the next deadly trial or heading back to Earth to sort out his business first. It's a massive choice that could change his entire trajectory. Does he stay in the grind where he's growing stronger, or go back to the world that once treated him like trash? We cut to a different scene where a young hunter with spiky gray hair sits slumped on a bench, desperately refreshing his phone. He's clearly stressed because his party recruitment list is sitting at a big fat 0, leaving him totally stranded and vulnerable. You can really feel for the guy here. It's hard enough surviving monsters without the soul-crushing reality of being a solo player in a world built for teams. Suddenly, a massive, intimidating shadow looms over the bench as a group of hunters surrounds the poor guy. They're asking if he's still looking for a party, but their tone is dripping with malice rather than any real desire for teamwork. They start bringing up something called a gate and trance license, and let's be real, that's just a fancy way of saying they're here to run a protection racket. The leader of the group leans in close, his eyes flashing a predatory red as he demands the scout just hand over his cash. The scout tries to stand his ground and refuse, but the bully just scoffs and calls him a fucking moron for even trying to resist. It's honestly infuriating to watch. These guys are nothing but vultures picking at the bones of desperate hunters before they even enter the gate. The camera pulls back to show the bustling hunter plaza while the bully explains exactly why nobody wants to party with a loser like the scout. His face twists into a terrifying, jagged grin as he leans in to give the kid some honesty. This is getting dark fast, and you have to wonder, is Sung-yoon just going to walk past this, or is this bully about to become the first test subject for his new necromancy? The scout's eyes go wide as the massive hunter's spit practically hits his face. The bully screams at him, asking who on earth would ever want to party up with trash like him. Behind them, the silhouettes of other hunters mock him with glowing, malicious eyes, while the kid internally admits the bully is actually right. Honestly, seeing him just take this abuse is hard to watch. A calm, steady voice suddenly cuts through the insults, asking if there's still a spot in the party. We see Sung-yoon's legs as he strides confidently through the parting crowd, his presence alone forcing people to move. He stops right in front of the registrar and holds up his hunter ID with total composure. This guy really knows how to make an entrance, doesn't he? Sung-yoon's blue eyes are piercing as he holds his C-rank license right in the registrar's face. He asks with a cold stare if this qualifies him to enter the dungeon. The registrar is visibly shaken, stammering out that it's more than enough. The shift in the air is instant. You can practically hear the crowd's jaws hitting the floor. The rude powerhouse isn't about to let this slide, lunging forward and shouting about how people are waiting in line. Sung-yoon doesn't even flinch, his face twisting into a mocking smirk as he tells the guy to go join Lee Cheolwon's party if he's so upset. The bully loses it, screaming, "You wanna die?" But Sung-yoon is already a step ahead mentally. This guy has no idea he's barking at a literal necromancer. Sung-yoon's eyes suddenly flare with a terrifying, blood-red light as he stares the big man down. He tells him to get that hand out of his face, and the killing intent is so thick you could cut it with a knife. The registrar quickly chimes back in, confirming everything is set just to break the suffocating tension. The question isn't whether Sung-yoon is ready for the dungeon, it's whether the monsters are ready for what's about to walk through that portal. One wrong move from the bully, and this lobby would have turned into a graveyard. A massive, calloused hand clamps down hard on Sung-yoon's shoulder as a hulking hunter barks insults right into his ear. This guy is livid, demanding to know if Sung-yoon is blind for ignoring the crowd and trying to skip the line. Instead of trembling, a sharp, dangerous smirk crawls across Sung-yoon's face, dripping with pure contempt. This only fuels the bully's rage, and he bares his teeth like a wild animal, asking if the kid actually has a death wish. Honestly, this big guy has no idea he's currently poking a sleeping god. Sung-yoon's eyes ignite with a piercing, blood-red glow as he coldly warns the man to let go before he breaks his arm off. In an instant, a terrifying crimson aura erupts from Sung-yoon's body, slamming into the atmosphere with the weight of a collapsing mountain. The bully freezes mid-sentence, his hand still glued to Sung-yoon's shoulder, but his aggressive scowl has completely vanished. Talk about a total reality check. The predator just realized he's actually the one on the menu. Beads of cold sweat roll down the bully's face as he internally panics, questioning how this monster could possibly be the same C-rank level as him. Behind him, his oblivious lackeys are still cheering like idiots, shouting for their young Nim to crush the newcomer and show him who's boss. They can't see the sheer terror in their leader's eyes or the way his knees are starting to buckle under the pressure. It's almost pathetic to watch someone's entire ego evaporate in 3 seconds flat. The bully quickly recoils, pulling his hand back as if he'd been burned and stammering that Sung-yoon should consider himself lucky this time. Watching from the sidelines, the gray-haired hunter, Lee Cheolwon, looks like his brain is about to short-circuit from the sudden shift in power. He's literally clutching his head in stress, wondering why a simple dungeon run had to turn into a life-or-death standoff before they even stepped inside. The tension is thick enough to choke on, and Lee Cheolwon knows one thing for sure: following Sung-yoon into that cave is going to be the ride of his life. But with the portal swirling behind them, there's no more time for talk. It's time to see what those new skills can really do. The blue portal swirls with a cold, electric energy as the last of the other hunters vanish into the depths. The scout looks around the empty waiting area, realizing the muscular jerk from before actually left them behind, and tells Sung-yoon they might as well head in. Honestly, the silence in this room is way more unsettling than the crowd was. They step through the glowing threshold, leaving the safety of the lobby for the damp, jagged rocks of the dungeon floor. The atmosphere shifts instantly. You can practically feel the mana getting heavier and the air getting thinner. The dark cave walls close in as the scout tries to play the big brother role to ease the growing tension. He tells Sung-yoon there's no need to be nervous, bragging a bit that he's strong enough to take on most D-rank hunters solo if things get hairy. He looks back at Sung-yoon's stoic face and asks if this is actually his first time inside a real dungeon. Sung-yoon just stays quiet, which honestly makes him look even more intimidating than the monsters they're hunting. The scout gets dead serious then, dropping the tough guy act to remind him that once you're in here, it's strictly life or death. He's trying to be helpful, but the vibe is getting real dark, real fast. Sung-yoon's glowing blue eyes pierce through the shadows as he listens to the scout's lecture without blinking. The gray-haired hunter throws out a chilling trivia question: who do you think dies more often, the weak E-ranks or the strong C-ranks? It's the kind of question that makes your skin crawl when you're standing in a literal death trap. He explains that E-rankers actually have a lower death rate because they're terrified and stay overly cautious. They know they're at the bottom of the food chain, so they don't take risks that they can't handle. It's survival of the most paranoid, and in a place like this, fear is a superpower. A brutal image of a shattered spear and a blood-soaked field flashes across the screen as the scout delivers the punchline. He says C-rank hunters are the ones who usually end up as monster food because they get intoxicated by their own power and become overconfident. To them, hunting becomes as routine as driving a car, and that's exactly when the fatal crash happens. He even visualizes a horrific car wreck to make sure Sung-yoon gets the point. It's a grim reality check, but the crazy part is, Sung-yoon isn't here to play it safe like an E-rank. He's here to see exactly how much blood his new skills can spill. Just how long can this scout stay cautious before Sung-yoon shows him what real power looks like? The gray-haired scout turns back with a face full of dread, telling Sung-yoon that dungeons are far more lethal than he realizes. He's practically vibrating with anxiety because they're stepping into the lion's den without a single tank or healer to keep them alive. Honestly, you can see the logic. Entering a dungeon with a glass cannon duo is basically a suicide mission for most people. The scout tries to assert some authority, admitting he's only E-rank but claiming his years of experience should let him take the lead. Sung-yoon just stands there in the shadows, his glowing blue eyes fixed on the man while internally admitting he actually wanted to lead the way himself. It's that classic moment where the pro is forced to listen to the amateur's lecture just to keep the peace. Sung-yoon gives a short, clipped, "Yes, all right," and they begin their descent into the jagged, tooth-like entrance of the cavern. The stalactites hang over them like frozen daggers as the scout tells him it's time to head out. The atmosphere shifts instantly from a lobby vibe to a predator vibe, and you just know something is waiting in that dark. A heavy, rhythmic thump echoes through the cave, and suddenly, a massive, clawed green foot crushes the gravel. A lizard man emerges from the gloom, its scales shimmering under a layer of filth as it levels a jagged spear toward them. This isn't just some mindless monster. The way it holds that weapon tells you it knows exactly how to get a human. The scout's confidence evaporates instantly as he grits his teeth, hissing that this situation isn't good at all. But look at Sung-yoon. He just gives a cold, bored fine, as if the life-threatening monster in front of them is nothing more than a minor inconvenience. The contrast is insane. One guy is fighting for his life, and the other is just checking his watch. The lizard man opens its maw and lets out a piercing, high-pitched screech that feels like it's trying to shatter their eardrums. Fueled by pure, unadulterated panic, the scout lets out a desperate war cry and lunges forward with his blade. He's throwing himself into the fire, but the real question is, will Sung-yoon actually help him, or is he waiting for the scout to fail so he can finally test his new necromancy on a fresh corpse? Sung-yoon stands completely motionless while a goblin snarls just a few feet away. The scout is sweating bullets, looking back and forth between the monster and the MC, wondering why they're just having a staring contest. Honestly, the scout is panicking for both of them, but Sung-yoon looks like he's just waiting for a light to turn green. It's that terrifying level of calm you only see in people who know exactly how the fight is going to end before it even starts. A tight close-up reveals Sunjin's eyes glowing with a sharp, icy blue light. He's internally counting down, reminding himself he only has 3 days on Earth and absolutely no time to play house with low-rank hunters. He starts walking forward with his hands casually at his sides, stepping right into the monster's kill zone. You can practically feel the scout's heart skip a beat. He thinks this kid is suicidal, but Sungyun is just bored of the suspense. The scout reaches out, desperately shouting that it's too dangerous to go in alone. But before the warning even leaves his mouth, Sungyun whispers the words, instant acceleration. In a flash of blinding blue light, he vanishes from his spot, leaving nothing but a gust of wind behind. It's the kind of speed that breaks the logic of the dungeon, turning the protagonist into a living ghost. The cave erupts into a chaotic blur of blue streaks and silver steel. Sungyun moves like a lightning strike, appearing behind every monster and shredding them into pieces before their bodies even realize they've been hit. The scout is frozen, his eyes wide and mouth agape as he tries to process what he's seeing. Seeing a rookie move at the speed of a high ranker is enough to give anyone a midlife crisis on the spot. Sungyun stands tall in the center of the slaughter, a dark, crimson-black aura beginning to swirl around his boots. The floor is a mess of goblin remains and splattered blood, but he doesn't have a single drop on his tactical gear. He looks back over his shoulder at the stunned scout, his voice cold and devoid of any ego. This isn't a hero saving a day, this is a predator clearing his territory. Sungyun casually points forward, suggesting that he takes the lead from here on out. The scout can only nod like a bobblehead, completely stripped of his authority and his confidence. But the moment of peace is shattered by a high-pitched echoing from the deeper tunnels. A dagger bites deep into a thick, scaly neck as blood sprays across the dungeon floor. Han Sungyun is a whirlwind of cold steel, his blue eyes burning with a lethal focus that these monsters can't even track. He isn't just fighting, he's dissecting the entire room in seconds, moving with a speed that turns the air itself into a weapon. Honestly, it's like watching a master chef at work, except the ingredients are man-eating lizards and the prep is a total bloodbath. He leaps into the air and comes down like a falling star, piercing straight through a beast's chest before it can even scream. It's brutal, it's fast, and it's completely one-sided. Lee Cheolwon stands frozen in the background, his jaw practically hitting the stone floor. The gray-haired scout realized the truth way too late. He's not here to help clear a gate, he's here to witness a literal one-way massacre. Every time Sungyun swings his blade, a blue trail of mana clears the path, leaving nothing but silence and corpses in his wake. You can actually see the sweat on Lee's face as his heart hammers against his ribs. He's convinced he's watching the rise of a super rookie, someone who's going to break every record the association has. But the crazy part, we know Sungyun is already way beyond that. Sungyun casually reaches into a fresh carcass and pulls out a glowing green mana stone. While Lee is still vibrating from the sheer adrenaline of the fight, Sungyun is already calculating how these gems will boost his alchemy and gear crafting. He tosses the loot over his shoulder into Lee's oversized bag like he's just throwing out the trash. The poor scout is struggling just to carry the weight of all this loot, looking absolutely exhausted while Sungyun hasn't even broken a sweat. Our MC is maximizing every single second of his 72-hour reprieve, but it makes you think, if he's already this much of a monster on Earth, what kind of hell is he planning to unleash when he finally returns to the tower? Lee Cheolwon looks absolutely crushed under the weight of that massive pack, stammering out a pathetic apology. He feels like a total burden because he's literally doing nothing but hauling loot while Sungyun does all the heavy lifting. The guy even tries to bring up how they'll split the rewards, but he's so nervous he can barely get the words out. Honestly, it's kind of sad seeing an E-rank hunter feel this small in front of a rookie. A scaly lizard man lunges from the shadows with its eyes glowing a feral orange, ready to tear them apart. Before the monster can even finish its roar, Sunjian's eyes ignite with that piercing blue light, and he vanishes into a violent blur of instant acceleration. He moves so fast it looks like the air itself is being shredded, and with one clean, vertical strike, he splits the beast wide open. That wasn't even a fight, it was a total deletion. Rocks and dust settle around Sungyun as he stands there perfectly calm, holding his blade as if he didn't just break the sound barrier. Lee just stands there with his jaw on the floor, letting out a weak gasp because his eyes couldn't even track that movement. When Lee tries to apologize for his distraction, Sungyun just coldly cuts him off, telling him to shut up and focus because the dungeon is getting more dangerous. He's not being mean, he's just staying locked in for survival. Blue's system screens start popping up one after another, confirming that Sungyun is literally drinking the lizardman's soul. His proficiency ticks up by 0.7%, which might seem small, but he's harvesting every single kill like a tireless machine. The crazy part, he's doing this all while surrounded by a violent red and black aura, thinking to himself that he'll just pretend to yawn while he sucks these souls dry. He's hiding his necromancy right under the scout's nose, but with the kill count rising this fast, can he really keep the dark energy a secret? Sungyun touches his face as a massive, swirling red portal pulses with dark energy in front of him. This is it, the boss room gate. It's radiating a heavy, oppressive aura that would make most E-rankers turn and run. Honestly, it looks like a mouth waiting to swallow them whole. Lee Cheolwon stands behind him, his jaw practically hitting the floor as he stares at the entrance. The scout is completely reeling, thinking to himself that just clearing half of this dungeon would have been the peak of his entire career. Seeing how fast they reached the end, he's finally realizing he's just a passenger on a bullet train he can't control. Sun Yun stands motionless before the gate while Cheolwon asks, with a shaky voice, if he needs to take a break. Without even looking back, Sun Yun just coldly says, "No, I'm fine," and prepares to dive right in. This guy is a total machine. He doesn't want rest, he just wants to maximize every second before his time runs out. The duo enters the chamber to find a colossal, mutated lizard beast covered in thick, jagged armor plating. It's a terrifying sight, with one glowing blue eye staring down at them from the darkness. Sun Yun isn't even fazed by the size of it, he just notes that it's exactly the kind of lizard he expected to find here. Sun Yun tells a panicking Cheolwon to just wait there for a second, his blue eyes already glowing with intense mana. Cheolwon is basically losing it, screaming to ask if there's even a plan, but the beast lets out a deafening roar as Sun Yun lunges forward. He's moving so fast the world blurs into a streak of light, but the real question is, can his daggers even pierce armor that thick? Sun Yun looks back over his shoulder with a chillingly calm smile, his blue eyes glowing. When Cheolwon asks for a plan, Sun Yun just says, "Not really," like he's picking out a snack instead of fighting a monster. Honestly, that level of confidence is more terrifying than the beast itself. The massive, armored tail of the beast whips through the air with enough force to level a building. Sun Yun doesn't even flinch, his eyes igniting with mana as he weaves through the attacks like a ghost in the dark. Seeing him move this fast makes you realize the tower didn't just train him, it turned him into a predator. Sun Yun skids across the floor, his silhouette stretched thin by his sheer velocity. He stops for a fraction of a second, whispering, "But," to himself as he narrows his gaze on the creature's neck. You can practically feel the air get heavy. He's shifting gears into a specialized skill, and that beast has no idea what's coming. In a burst of instant acceleration, Sun Yun vaults into the air and lands right on the monster's spiky, red hide. He raises his dagger, and the blade starts humming with a fierce, golden blue light that looks ready to explode. This isn't just a basic strike, he's concentrating every ounce of his mana into one single point. He drives the blade home, a massive quack sound echoing through the dungeon as the monster's armor finally shatters. The impact is so violent it looks like a bomb went off, sending shockwaves and blood spraying across the cavern walls. If you thought his daggers were too small for this job, you definitely thought wrong. Cheolwon is absolutely losing it, clutching his head and screaming Sunjian's name because the sheer scale of the destruction is beyond his ear-rank comprehension. Suddenly, the cave walls can't take the pressure of the fight anymore, and massive boulders begin raining down from the ceiling. Everything is collapsing around them. Can Sun Yun actually survive being buried alive under all that stone, or did his own power just kill them both? Sun Yun stands amidst a violent storm of swirling red and black mana. He finally stops holding back, his blue eyes glowing with a terrifying intensity as he revels in the surrounding chaos. He actually cracks a smile, admitting that he's glad the raid is finally difficult enough to test out his newly synthesized skills. Poor Lee Cheolwon is in a back, practically having a heart attack and clutching his chest in relief that Sun Yun is still breathing. Honestly, I'd be shaking too if I was standing next to a guy who looks like he's about to eat the entire dungeon. A massive stone throne lies shattered into jagged pieces across the cavern floor. Sun Yun stares at the debris, realizing he just completely totaled the boss's seat of power with that last exchange. But the mood shifts instantly. He gets this eerie chill down his spine, feeling like this total destruction is actually a bad omen for what's lurking deeper in the dark. You ever get that sinking feeling that you've just kicked a hornet's nest? Yeah, Sun Yun is definitely feeling it now. A massive, mutated lizard monster erupts from the shadows with a deafening, guttural roar. It's pulsing with a violent purple aura that screams, boss level, in every sense of the word. Before Sun Yun can even adjust his grip on his daggers, the beast unleashes a pillar of pure purple light that pierces straight through the dungeon roof. This thing isn't just a monster, it's a living natural disaster, and it just signaled the entire floor that the hunt is on. A bright blue system window pops up, warning that a slow movements debuff has been triggered by the beast. The air suddenly feels like heavy sludge, trying to pin Sun Yun down and turn him into an easy target. But then, the system completely flips the script. Sunjian's forceful breakthrough trait activates because his magic power is more than double the monster's. The slowness is instantly negated, shattering the spell like glass. Imagine being so statistically cracked that the monster's ultimate move just doesn't work. The lizard monster lunges forward, its massive, toothy jaws snapping just inches away from Sunjian's face. Our MC doesn't even flinch, just watching the creature's desperate attack with a cold, analytical gaze. He admits to himself that the beast's speed was a little surprising, but the real question is, can this monster survive what happens when a guy like Sun Yun actually decides to stop testing his skills and starts finishing the job? Sun Yun looks down with a calm, "Oh," finally noticing the heavy atmosphere crushing the room. Poor Lee Cheolwon is completely paralyzed, his legs giving out as he realizes his body simply won't listen to his commands anymore. It's that raw, primal fear you only get when a high-level predator decides you're next on the menu, and honestly, the guy looks like he's about to faint from the pressure alone. Cheolwon lets out a desperate, cracking cry, begging Sun Yun to save him before he gets turned into a snack. The monster's massive, reptilian eye locks onto him, glowing with a cold, predatory blue light as it lets out a guttural growl that vibrates through the very floor of the cave. You can see the pure terror in the porter's eyes. He knows he's exactly 1 second away from being erased from existence. Sun Jian's gaze sharpens instantly as he realizes he can't just stand back and analyze the situation anymore. He shouts out a sharp taunt, calling the creature a lizard bastard, to force its attention away from the trembling scout and onto himself. He's taking control of the flow now, stepping into that role of the dominant hunter who won't let his loot, or his porter, get damaged before the job is done. He kicks off the ground with explosive force, turning into a streak of blue lightning as he attempts to close the distance in a single heartbeat. But the monster is deceptively fast, and Sun Jian's eyes widen as he realizes the physical gap is just a little too wide to intercept the next blow. Shit, I'm too far, he mutters to himself, and for a split second, it really looks like Chielwin's life is forfeit. The look of surprise on Sun Jian's face lasts for exactly 1 second before his glowing blue eyes shift into a violent, soul-piercing red. He stops trying to reach the beast physically and instead reaches for the power of the souls he's already harvested, cold-bloodedly activating his new trait, Summon the Dead. The real nightmare is just beginning for these monsters, and trust me, they are not ready for the skeletal shadows about to crawl out of the floor. Red and black energy erupts from the stone floor as skeletal warriors crawl out of the abyss. Han Sung-yoon stands calm in the center of the storm, while Lee Chielwin collapses in sheer terror, his backpack feeling like a tombstone. Seeing your partner command a literal army of the dead is enough to break anyone's mind, and trust me, Lee is reaching his limit. The mutated beast lunges forward, but the skeletons intercept it with a violent, bone-crunching impact. Sung-yoon watches the chaos with a critical eye, coldly noting that these summons are inadequate for his standards. It's actually terrifying. He's calling a supernatural undead squad trash just because they only bought him 1 second of time. A jagged blue status window flickers to life, announcing that Sun Jian's movement speed has surged by a massive 60%. He vanishes into a streak of blue lightning, drawing his blade with a look of absolute, murderous focus. 1 second was all he needed to turn this boss fight into a literal execution. The Lizard King's glowing blue eye widens in a final moment of pure realization before it's silenced forever. System windows immediately flood the air, confirming the boss is dead and announcing that Sun Jian's stats are increasing exponentially. This isn't a dungeon raid anymore, it's a high-speed buffet, and he is devouring everything. Status screens tick upward as Sung-yoon absorbs the essence of the fallen king, gaining points in strength, agility, and a huge boost to stamina. Then, the real jackpot hits. The system confirms he has absorbed one of the Lizard King's unique skills. You can see the shock and hunger in his blue eyes. He's evolving faster than the world can keep track of. The heavy mana pressure fades into a bright white light as we transition back to the gate's entrance. Outside, the association official is literally yawning, leaning back with a bored expression as he checks his watch. He thinks nothing has happened, but the storm that's about to walk out of that gate is going to change his life. Will he even believe the data when he sees the clear time? The association official leans back with a heavy, professional sigh. He's staring at the gate, muttering about how absolutely nothing special has happened tonight despite 3 gates opening at once. Honestly, he looks like he's about to fall asleep on the job. Little does he know, the boring night he's complaining about just became the turning point for the entire city. His eyes narrow as he starts grumbling to himself, clearly bitter about his career. He's complaining that his management team never gets the big commissions, and he's openly jealous of the elite raid teams that get all the glory. It's almost painful to watch him whine while a literal monster in human skin is wrapping up a massacre just a few yards away. Suddenly, his eyes literally light up with greed as he imagines a massive bonus. He thinks for a second about how rich he'd be if they cleared the gate in one go, but then he catches himself. He thinks that a one-shot clear is only possible for A-rank hunters, so he just dismisses the thought entirely. Man, talk about a major reality check coming his way. The gate's blue mana begins to ripple and hum, signaling that someone is coming through. We see the dark silhouettes of feet stepping out from the portal and onto the cold pavement. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife right now. Is the official even going to recognize Sung-yoon after what he's been through? The official jumps out of his seat, his face twisted in pure shock as he yells, already? He's convinced that there's no way they cleared it, assuming they must have run away after barely clearing half of the dungeon. He's so stuck in his common sense that he can't even fathom the truth. The vibrant blue light of the portal suddenly drains away, turning into a dull, lifeless gray. The official is left speechless, sweating as the realization hits him like a freight train. A gray gate only means one thing. The boss is dead and the dungeon is fully conquered. He's staring at a feat that should be impossible, but the real question is, how is he going to report this to the higher-ups? The official's face is drenched in sweat as he realizes the boss raid is already over. He's sprinting toward the pair, shouting at the top of his lungs, desperate to confirm if the gate was actually cleared this fast. Shin Woo-jin, the management lead, is in a total state of panic because no low-level hunter should be able to blitz a dungeon like this. Honestly, can you blame the guy for tripping over his own feet? He just watched a world record get shattered by someone he initially dismissed as a nobody. Shin Woo-jin stops to catch his breath and quickly tries to regain his professional composure. He introduces himself and immediately asks if they're willing to sell the gate's ownership rights, but the porter, Lee Cheolwon, just awkwardly points a thumb back at Sung-yoon. The association is ready to throw money around, but Cheolwon knows he didn't do a single thing in there besides carry bags. The look on the official's face is priceless. It's that slow-motion realization that he's been pitching to the wrong man the entire time. The official's eyes go wide as he mutters that if Sung-yoon cleared this whole place alone, he must be a hidden A-rank power. Sung-yoon just stands there with that cold, deadpan stare and corrects him, stating he's only a C-rank. It's a total logic breaker for the official. A C-rank doing A-rank work shouldn't even be physically possible, yet the evidence is standing right in front of him. Sung-yoon's blue eyes pierce right through the man as he demands to know the price for the gate. Woo-jin gulps, looks at his data, and offers a staggering 1.2 billion won. The official is trying to stay professional while offering a literal fortune to a guy who looks like he just walked out of a meat grinder. 1.2 billion is a life-changing amount for most people, but look at Sung-jin's eyes. Money isn't the prize for him anymore. It's just fuel for the next level of his evolution. A sharp blue transition cuts away from the gate and shows Sung-yoon finally alone, slumped against a wall in a quiet room. He lets out a heavy, bone-weary sigh, admitting to himself that he's absolutely exhausted. After the non-stop slaughter and the intense negotiations, the weight of his constant grinding is finally catching up to him. But with the clock on his 72-hour return still ticking down, the real question is, can he even afford to rest? A close-up of Han Sung-jin's face fades as he admits that since his return, he's been working himself to the bone without a single break. We then cut to a sharp-dressed woman in a high-rise office, her phone buzzing incessantly on the desk. She stares at the screen, her golden eyes widening in total shock as she processes whatever news just hit her inbox. Man, if her expression is anything to go by, something massive just shifted in the hunter rankings. A massive, tower-sized stack of paperwork slams onto the desk with a heavy thud, echoing through the quiet room. The woman looks completely overwhelmed, her small frame practically dwarfed by the sheer volume of documents she has to process. She leans back and lets out a long, exhausted sigh, looking like she hasn't slept in days. Honestly, seeing the behind-the-scenes chaos of the association makes you realize how much of a mess the world is right now. The screen fills with her internal monologue about the innovative change the higher-ups are desperately pushing for. It turns out, recruiting decent hunters is a nightmare because most challengers are total cowards, picking the easy difficulty just to coast by. They can't even find 10 people with real backbone to fill their ranks. It's actually kind of pathetic. Everyone is playing it safe while the world is literally screaming for a hero. The woman gazes out the window, her mind drifting to that one anomaly, the guy who cleared the 4th floor of the tower entirely on his own. We immediately flash to Han Sung-yoon in the middle of a high-speed slaughter, his daggers trailing streaks of blue mana as he carves through a horde of monsters. While the association is drowning in red tape and cowardice, Sung-yoon is out here becoming a god in the shadows. He's not just clearing a dungeon, he's sending a message to the entire world. But with his 72 hours almost up, is he preparing for the next floor, or is he planning something even more dangerous? Lee Hae-yeon stands alone in her darkened office, staring out at the sprawling city lights with a look of pure regret. She's replaying her last encounter with Sung-yoon over and over, wishing she'd just made him a real offer when she had the chance. You can practically feel the weight on her shoulders. It's that sinking feeling of knowing you let a literal gold mine walk right out the door. Her eyes suddenly snap wide in total shock as her phone buzzes with an incoming message. It's a text from Han Sung-yoon himself, asking if she's returned and if they can meet up for a moment. This is the break she was praying for, but the fact that he's the one reaching out first, that's almost more terrifying than him disappearing. Cut to a cozy, sun-drenched cafe where Sung-yoon is just vibing, looking at a bank balance that would make anyone's head spin. He's sitting on nearly 1.3 billion won, wondering if it's finally time to stop living like a nomad and actually buy a house. Man, seeing him this relaxed after everything he's been through is wild. He's casually contemplating real estate while the rest of the world is losing their minds over his power. The small golden bell above the cafe door chiming marks a sudden shift in the atmosphere. A pair of sharp black heels and dark stockings stride across the floor with enough purpose to stop traffic. This isn't a casual social call. Hae-yeon is moving like a woman on a mission to save her entire career. Sung-yoon looks up and gives a tiny, nonchalant wave, telling her she really didn't need to rush so much. He's being almost too polite, which only highlights the massive gap between his calm and her frantic energy. Seriously, he's treating a top-tier guild recruiter like an old classmate he hasn't seen in a few weeks. Hae-yeon leans forward over the table, her expression a mix of exhaustion and genuine irritation. She calls him out immediately, asking if he even realizes how long she's been waiting for a reply to her messages. The tension here is thick enough to cut with a knife. She's desperate to sign him, but he's already moved so far beyond the world she knows. If she wants him in her guild, she's going to have to offer a lot more than just money. But with the way he's looking at her, you have to wonder, does he even need a guild anymore? Sung Yoon looks away, looking a little bit awkward for the first time. He finally apologizes for ghosting her messages all this time, and honestly, seeing this legendary hunter look slightly embarrassed is a total vibe. Hae-yeon doesn't let him off easy, though. She playfully demands he pays her back with a coffee and a slice of cheesecake. As the steam rises from the fresh cup of coffee on the table, the tension finally starts to melt. It feels like they're just two normal people for a second, but we all know that won't last. The scene shifts to a wide shot of the cafe glowing under the night sky. Sung Yoon puts down the small talk and tells her he actually has a favor to ask. Then he drops the bombshell: I need a guild. Haeun's eyes go wide, and you can practically hear her heart skip a beat. This is exactly what she wanted, but the way he says it makes it clear he's not just looking for a job, he's looking for a partner. We see a vision of a dark, crowded battlefield followed by a massive, glowing dungeon tower. Sung Yoon lays out his first condition: he wants the absolute authority to decline any guild summons. He follows it up with the real kicker: unrestricted access to the guild's dungeons whenever he feels like it. He's basically asking for the keys to the kingdom without any of the responsibilities. It's a bold move, and it shows just how much he values his own growth over guild politics. Sunjian's face goes stone cold as he waits for her reaction. Hae-yeon feels the weight of the air change, realizing this isn't the same guy who left for the tutorial years ago. He's a predator now. She calls out his name, her voice trembling just a bit as she tries to handle the situation professionally. She starts to explain that from a guild's perspective, these terms are nearly impossible to grant. You can see the gears turning in her head. She knows if she says no, she loses the greatest talent on earth. Sung Yoon starts to stand up, a look of disappointment crossing his face. He mutters that he must have asked for too much and prepares to walk away right then and there. But Hae-yeon isn't about to let him slip through her fingers again. She suddenly lunges across the table, grabbing his hand with both of hers to stop him. Sung Yoon looks completely stunned by the physical contact. She's desperate, and the look in her eyes says she'll do anything to make him stay. But is she ready for what comes next? Hae-yeon leans across the table, her face a mask of pure, desperate determination. She practically shouts for him to join the White-Silver Guild, promising that she will make every single one of his impossible conditions a reality. It's a total power move. She's realized that letting this guy walk away would be the biggest mistake of her life. Sung Yoon is caught completely off guard, his calm exterior finally cracking as he processes her intensity. Honestly, seeing a high-ranking recruiter this worked up is a huge testament to how broken his potential really is. An aerial shot shows a bus moving through the gray, smoggy streets of the city. Sung Yoon starts reflecting on his first day back on Earth, realizing he's already raided a dungeon, sold high-tier loot and basically secured a guild spot. But then, the screen drops into an ominous, pitch-black void with one final requirement. He has to clear a C-rank dungeon entirely by himself. Now, you have to understand, C-rank gates are where things get lethal for solo players. Usually, you'd need a balanced party just to stand a chance. This isn't just a test, it's a trial by fire. Back in the cafe, Hae-yeon sits across from him, the sunlight hitting the table as she explains the guild's strict policies. She's being dead serious now, telling him that the authority to use the guild's private dungeons isn't a gift, it's something earned by rising stars. We get a sharp close-up of Sunjian's eye, and you can see that cold, blue light flickering back to life. He repeats her words back to her: a C-rank dungeon for me to clear, and he doesn't sound scared at all. If anything, he sounds like he's found a new toy to play with. Their hands meet in a firm, heavy handshake that seals the deal. Sung Yoon looks her in the eye and vows to make sure she never regrets this gamble she's taking on him. The screen suddenly washes out into a blinding, pure white transition, shifting the entire mood of the story. When the light fades, we're standing in front of a massive urban landscape with jagged mountains looming in the distance. The sun is piercingly bright, almost like it's spotlighting the entrance to his next slaughterhouse. This is it. The moment where the pioneer shows the world that ranks don't mean a thing when you've already conquered hell. But can he really handle a C-rank boss without any backup? A hand grips the ground with bone-crushing force as Sung Yoon centers his gravity for a massive burst of acceleration. He kicks off, and the world behind him simply dissolves into a chaotic mess of speed and blue-tinted mana. We're seeing the absolute peak of a pioneer's mobility here, where every step he takes creates a jagged shockwave that ripples through the very air. He's moving so fast that the frames can barely keep up with his silhouette as he blurs past the environment. Honestly, it's terrifying. How is his body even staying together at these speeds? It's like he's trying to outrun reality itself, leaving nothing but a vacuum of displaced air in his wake. Heavy, rhythmic footsteps crunch against the gravel as a high-tier official approaches the gate entrance registration. It's Lee Hae-yeon, the sharp-eyed team leader from the prestigious White-Silver Guild, and she's clearly not here for a casual stroll. She politely informs the staff she's here for a gate raid reservation, her professional demeanor hiding the fact that she's personally scouting for a once-in-a-lifetime asset. The staff is practically tripping over themselves to accommodate her, offering a seat under a shaded tent to wait for the scheduled time. You can tell she's used to being the most important person in the room, but the calm atmosphere is about to be shattered in the most literal way possible. A sudden, violent roar of wind tears through the campsite, nearly flipping the heavy tents and sending equipment flying everywhere. Lee Hye-yeon is caught completely off guard, her hair whipping around her face as she desperately tries to keep her balance against what feels like a localized hurricane. Out of the center of that massive dust storm, Sunjin's figure slowly materializes, standing perfectly still while the air around him still screams from the friction. The sheer physical pressure he's putting off just from stopping is absolutely insane. What makes this so wild is the look on her face. She's a pro, and she's never seen a human move with that much raw kinetic energy. Sungyun brushes a bit of dust off his shoulder and offers a surprisingly casual apology for the literal sonic boom he just caused. He explains that he ran a bit too fast and didn't realize the shockwave would be that intense, acting like he just accidentally bumped into a table. Lee Hye-yeon can only stare at him with wide, golden eyes, her professional mask completely shattered by the absurdity of his entrance. She's internally reeling, questioning if it's even possible to create a gale force wind just by running on foot. This is the moment she realizes that the Pioneer isn't just a strong hunter, he's an anomaly that the current ranking system can't even touch. But with the C-rank dungeon looming, will this insane speed be enough to protect them from the deadly poisonous demon waiting inside? Hye-yeon stares at Sungyun in total disbelief, her eyes wide. She's literally questioning if this guy is even human after seeing him move that fast. Seriously, how is he so nonchalant about breaking the laws of physics? A massive, glowing blue portal swirls before them. Hye-yeon tells him the paperwork is done and they're clear to enter the dungeon for his test. Man, seeing a gate that size up close always gives me the chills. Streaks of blue light explode as they step through the threshold together. The raid officially begins, and it's finally time for Sungyun to prove his rank. Here we go, let's see if he's actually as broken as he looks. Sungyun stands in a vast, golden wheat field under a hazy, amber sky. The dungeon environment looks peaceful, but we all know that's usually a death trap. The calm before the storm vibe is hitting hard right now. Dry grass crunches under their boots as Sungyun scans the horizon. He's looking for any signs of movement, but the field seems endless. It feels way too quiet, like something is crouching just out of sight. Hye-yeon signals from a distance, confirming she's in position. She's keeping her distance to make sure this remains a solo evaluation. Smart move, but being alone in a C-rank field is still incredibly dangerous. A golden light shimmers around a beautiful A-rank necklace on Haeun's neck. It's the Empress's necklace, a top-tier item that provides both a shield and high-level stealth. Okay, so she's not just a recruiter, she's packing some serious defensive heat. Hye-yeon explains that she'll stay hidden so she doesn't draw, aggro, or ruin his performance score. She wants the world to see his raw power without any guild assistance rumors. That's actually a pretty genius way to boost his market value. Sungyun gives a small, blunt nod of approval. He tells her he can finally fight for real without worrying about her getting caught in the crossfire. The honesty is a bit cold, but hey, at least he's focused. Dry leaves swirl in a sudden, unnatural gust of wind as the atmosphere shifts. A blue system notification pings, signaling the activation of spiritual eyes. Wait, is he already going for the kill? Sunjin's entire body is suddenly enveloped in a violent, flickering purple aura. He draws his blade, recalling the lethal skills he absorbed from the Lizard King. He's not just using human techniques anymore, he's wielding the power of a boss. For massive purple energy gashes rip through the earth at his feet. The hunt has officially started, and honestly, I almost feel bad for whatever monster is hiding in that grass. Sunjin's eyes ignite with a lethal purple glow as he locks onto his target. He isn't just looking, he's calculating the exact moment to strike. Suddenly, the golden stalks of the canyon field explode outward. Several blue-skinned, red-eyed monsters leap from the tall grass, their jaws wide and dripping with hunger. Hye-yeon freezes, her eyes widening as she realizes they're completely surrounded. This isn't a simple scouting mission anymore, it's a full-blown ambush. Hye-yeon screams a warning for Sungyun to be careful, her voice cracking as she realizes this is an irregular dungeon. In this world, that word is a death sentence because it means the ranking system lied and the danger is off the charts. She's terrified, but look at Sunjin's face. He doesn't look panicked. He looks like he's finally found a reason to try. A sharp blue trail of mana starts to bleed from his eyes as he prepares to move. A violent flash of blue light tears through the air as Sungyun vanishes from his spot. He moves so fast the monster's eyes can't even track his shadow. In a heartbeat, he's weaving through the pack, his blade leaving shimmering arcs of energy in its wake. The creatures don't even have time to growl before their bodies are sliced into clean, surgical pieces. Man, his speed is actually getting scary at this point. He just turned a lethal threat into a pile of scrap in under a second. Hye-yeon stands there breathless, her golden eyes trembling as she watches the carnage. She whispers that it's impossible, but her shock quickly melts into a wild, frantic grin. She knew it. She knew her instinct wasn't wrong about this guy. He's not just a talented hunter, he's a total anomaly. Seeing that look on her face, she's realized she's found the ultimate asset for the White-Silver Guild, and she's clearly never letting him go. More blue streaks of light rain down across the canyon as Sungyun continues his relentless dance of death. Every time he flashes forward, another monster is erased from existence. He's field testing his limits, and honestly, it looks like he's just warming up. But here's the problem. If these subordinates are already this fast, What kind of nightmare is waiting for them at the heart of this irregular zone? A bolt of golden electricity streaks through the air as Sung Yoon descends like a falling star. He's moving so fast the atmosphere is literally crackling around him, and then it happens. A rare lightning effect triggers, wrapping his entire body in high-voltage mana. He actually thinks to himself that this effect procs so rarely he almost forgot he had it. Honestly, seeing him casually reflect on his skill RNG while free-falling into a den of monsters is just another level of cool under pressure. This isn't just speed anymore, it's a localized storm. The massive, red-eyed beast lunges forward with its jaws wide open, but it's biting at a ghost. Sung Yoon doesn't just dodge. He weaves through the creature's strike with a predatory grace that makes the monster look like it's moving in slow motion. He's so close he could count the creature's teeth, yet his expression remains completely stone-cold. It's terrifying because you realize the monster thinks it's the hunter, but Sung Yoon is just looking for the most efficient way to end this. Sun Jian's hand snaps out, grabbing the monster by its own massive horn mid-flight. With a grunt of effort, he puts his entire weight into the momentum, swinging the beast's massive bulk downward. A colossal explosion of dust and stone erupts as the creature is slammed into the canyon floor with a deafening quang. This thing was supposed to be a high-rank threat, but he just used it to cushion his landing. The sheer physical power required to redirect a beast that size while traveling at Mach speeds is just insane. Standing amidst the settling dust and the cooling corpse of the beast, Sung Yoon casually rests his blade by his side. He looks up toward the ridge where Lee Hae-yeon is watching and gives her a casual, "You can come over here now," wave. It's such a flex. He just cleared a path through a deadly poisonous zone like he was clearing weeds in a garden. He's completely unbothered, while the entire landscape behind him has been reshaped by his impact. Hae-yeon stands there, her jaw practically hitting the floor as she stares at the carnage below. The thought, and solo at that, echoes in her mind because what she just witnessed defies every rule the White Silver Guild taught her about dungeon raiding. But as she looks down at the severed head of the demon, a faint, ominous red glow begins to pulse from its eyes. Is the fight actually over, or did Sung Yoon just trigger something even worse by killing the guardian of this irregular zone? We're about to find out if Wind's grace is enough to outrun what's coming next. System windows hover over the screen, reminding us of the grim reality of this world's power scaling. These deadly poisonous demons aren't just fodder, they're officially classified as monsters that require a full, highly coordinated C-rank party just to stand a chance. Yet, look at the ground. Sung Yoon is casually walking away from a smoldering, disintegrated corpse as if he just cleared a minor pest. Seeing a solo hunter treat a literal party-wipe threat like a light warm-up, honestly, it's enough to make your skin crawl. He stops in front of a massive, pulsating red gate that looks like a literal tear in the fabric of reality. This isn't just a portal, it's a violent warning. But as the crimson light hits him, his system goes into absolute overdrive. Because he's a necromancer, every single soul he just reaped is being synthesized and consumed, feeding directly into his base stats. Strength up by 4, agility by 3, and durability by a massive 7 points. He's literally evolving and growing stronger mid-raid, his body surrounded by this dark, swirling aura of raw power. It's like he's becoming a monster himself just to kill what's inside. Sung Yoon looks at his hands, feeling the sheer density of the mana flowing through his veins, and he doesn't look scared. He looks disappointed. He actually thinks to himself that if the monsters are only at this level, then the boss won't even be a threat to him. He calmly announces to Hae-yeon that he's entering the boss room now, stepping into the light with a level of chill that's honestly disrespectful to the dungeon. I mean, who just says, "I'll go in now," like they're just checking the mail? The title, Boundless Necromancer, flashes across the screen as the environment shifts from the open canyon to a claustrophobic, vine-choked cave. The walls are jagged, dripping with dark moisture, and covered in these strange, pulsing stone growths. The atmosphere is suffocatingly heavy, and the sudden silence is even worse than the fighting. This isn't just a boss room, it feels like a graveyard that's been waiting a long time for its next inhabitant. Hae-yeon keeps pace with him, but you can see the visible tension in her shoulders as they finally enter the heart of the cavern. The air is thick with a sickly, glowing green fog, and the scale of the chamber is absolutely massive. She stops in her tracks, her golden eyes widening as she scans the shadows. She mutters that the vibe here is strange, and coming from a professional recruiter who's seen thousands of hunters. That's a massive red flag. What exactly is waiting for them in that green haze, and is Sung Jian's confidence about to be his downfall? We're about to find out. A streak of blue light tears through the cavern ceiling, signaling a disaster from above. As Han Sung-yoon and Lee Hae-yeon walk deeper into the canyon, the very air ruptures without warning. It's a literal ambush. A massive, shadowy figure crashes down with enough force to shatter the stone floor, sending shockwaves through the entire chamber. Hae-yeon looks up, her eyes wide with pure terror as she realizes they've just been dropped into a death trap. Honestly, looking at her face tells you everything. She's a top-tier professional, but this level of raw aggression is something she never expected in a place like this. Sunjian's blue eye glows with a sharp, cold intensity as he locks onto the threat. He doesn't flinch, he just calculates. The entire area is suddenly engulfed in a blinding pillar of blue mana and rising debris. The screen literally screams, "Dangerous," in jagged red text, and let's be real, that's an understatement. The ground is disintegrating into dust, and if they stay there for even a heartbeat longer, they're getting buried under tons of rubble. It's the kind of moment where your heart just stops. Sungyun lunges forward, snatching Hye-yeon out of the air before the rocks can crush her. He pulls her tight against his chest as they dive through the collapsing terrain. Just look at the contrast here, the absolute focus in his eyes versus the stunned silence in hers. She can't even process the speed, let alone the fact that this rookie is moving with the grace of a god. For her, it's a life flashing before her eyes moment, but for Sungyun, it's just another Tuesday in a dungeon. The deadly poisonous demon unleashes a deafening roar, revealing its massive, skeletal serpent form. Blue energy spirals around its jagged jaws as it prepares to melt everything in sight with concentrated mana. The sheer scale of this thing is terrifying, it's like a mountain made of bone and malice. An explosion of pure blue light erases the scenery, turning the canyon into a literal furnace of magical energy. You can practically feel the pressure of the air vibrating through the screen. Sungyun glides through the chaos, holding Hye-yeon firmly as he navigates the aerial debris. He's moving with terrifying precision, twisting his body mid-air to shield her from the lethal shockwaves. A massive blast hits the canyon floor, sending a wave of blue energy rippling outward like a tidal wave. But then, the dust settles. Sungyun touches down, his boots hitting the dirt with a firm, steady thud. He's completely unfazed, standing tall while the boss looms in the background. Now the real question is, how is he going to delete something this huge while he's still playing bodyguard? We're about to see just how broken his new skills really are. Sungyun lands firmly on a jagged rock ledge while still holding Hye-yeon securely in his arms. He looks down at her with those cold, focused eyes and explains that the situation was getting way too dangerous, so he had to move her out of the impact zone. Honestly, look at Hye-yeon, she's a high-ranking guild official, but she's completely breathless and wide-eyed here. She even admits out loud that she's deeply indebted to him, realizing she would have been toast if he hadn't moved that fast. Below them, the deadly poisonous demon is shrieking in the pit, its body radiating a terrifying teal-colored aura of toxic flames. Sungyun doesn't even look stressed as he tells her he's going to go down there and finish this once and for all. Hye-yeon can't even find the words to stop him, she's just staring at his back, wondering what kind of insane, unrecorded skill he's actually hiding. Is he really about to solo a party-level boss right in front of her? Without waiting for an answer, Sungyun steps right off the edge of the cliff, his black cloak whipping wildly in the wind. He glances back one last time, looking completely bored as he tells her he just needs a moment to wrap this up. I love this. He's talking about a legendary C-rank monster like he's just stepping out to grab a coffee. The confidence is absolutely peak, but can he actually back it up against something that huge? He plunges toward the monster like a literal meteor, his sword glowing with a sharp, golden light as he prepares to strike. The impact is deafening, sending a massive shockwave of blue mana and dust through the entire canyon as he slams into the demon. We get a close-up of the monster's face, and you can see the absolute panic in its eyes. It finally realizes that it's not the apex predator in this dungeon, it's just a training dummy for a pioneer. Suddenly, Blue's system windows start flooding the screen as instant acceleration triggers at maximum efficiency. Because of his fast boots bonus, his speed doesn't just increase, it breaks the sound barrier, activating the legendary Wind's Grace buff. The stat counter ticks up instantly to 7 out of 7, and he becomes a literal blur of blue lightning. He's moving so fast now that the monster can't even track his shadow. The boss is basically already dead, it just hasn't felt the blade hit its neck yet. How is Hye-yeon ever going to report this back to the guild without sounding crazy? Sungyun blurs into a streak of blue lightning, pushing his stats until the air itself screams. A massive, reptilian green eye snaps open right in his path, but he doesn't even blink. He's moving so fast the monster can't even process the fact that he's already there. This speed is just illegal. The beast lets out a shocked grunt as Sungyun dances through a storm of blue soul fire. He lands 3 brutal, lightning-fast lacerations, his blade tearing through thick hide like wet paper. It's a total slaughter, but the real question is, can he keep this momentum when he hits the 8th floor? Things are about to get way worse. Violent blue energy erupts as Sungyun delivers a final, crushing blow. The demon of blue fire screeches one last time before its massive body hits the floor, completely extinguished. Seeing him stand perfectly still amidst the carnage is honestly chilling. A system alert confirms the boss is slain and the dungeon will seal in 3 hours. Lee Hye-yeon stares down from the bridge, her face pale and drenched in sweat. She forces out a nervous laugh, questioning if the guy standing below is the real monster in this room. Can you blame her? Sungyun's growth isn't just fast, it's starting to look inhuman. Sungyun stands among glowing blue mana, gasping for air as the boss finally falls. He's completely drained, showing just how much he gambled on this solo run. But there's no time to rest, a violent red portal spirals open to pull them out. Seriously, the pressure never stops for this guy. Back in the Golden Fields, Lee Hae-yeon exhales in pure disbelief at his insane clear speed. She officially offers him a spot in the White-Silver Guild, knowing they'd be fools to lose him. Sung-yoon takes the win, but his expression remains focused. He's already thinking about the next climb. Haeun's face turns serious as she switches topics to the Tower of Trials. She warns him that while the start seems easy, the difficulty selection changes everything. Sung-yoon listens intently, sensing the upcoming danger. Just how much harder can the tower actually get? A glowing holographic menu displays difficulty tiers from easy to hard. Hae-yeon explains the tower's cruel scaling. High performance on easy trials actually pushes you into harder ones. It's a system designed to find your breaking point. The camera zooms in on Sunjin's intense, focused eye. Since he's already cracked the top 50 rankings, the system won't go easy on him. He's moving way too fast for the tower's liking. Massive golems and orc warriors loom in a hellish landscape. Hae-yeon warns him that his current difficulty is likely deadly and begs him to be careful. Sung-yoon just stares ahead as blue mana begins to crackle. Talk about a warm welcome back. Lee Hae-yeon looks away, her voice softening as she tells Sung-yoon to stay alive. She admits she wants to accompany him and watch him grow over the years, finally showing her true stakes in him. Sunjin's eyes widen in genuine shock. Seeing him this caught off guard hits different. He's finally being treated like a person instead of just a weapon. A lonely silhouette sits on a dark skyscraper ledge overlooking the city. Sung-yoon stares at the lights, taking a final bite of an apple before a blue system prompt interrupts his silence. He has exactly 5 minutes left on Earth. After 72 hours of non-stop grinding, the tower is dragging him back to the slaughter. Is he even ready for the nightmare waiting on the 8th floor? Sung-yoon perches on the edge of a skyscraper, reflecting on how insane these past 3 days have been. He steps off the ledge, letting the wind whip past as he falls toward the city lights. He feels the massive surge in his stats, his body buzzing with a level of confidence he's never known. Honestly, seeing him this composed after soloing a C-rank boss, he's a total monster now. A cold blue window suddenly shatters the silence. Time is up. The system doesn't give him a second to breathe before announcing his forced return to the tower. A blinding pillar of mana erupts into the night sky, beginning the violent teleportation process. But look at his face, he's actually smirking as he's pulled back into the meat grinder. The real nightmare is just beginning, and he looks like he's going to enjoy every second of it. Sung-yoon grins as blinding blue light finally engulfs him. He's officially leaving Earth behind, shouting that he's returning to the tower. Man, he's actually excited to head back into that hellhole. He stands in a silent stone chamber as a system window flickers to life. It's the 8th floor, and the tower is already asking if he's ready for the next trial. No rest for the weary, I guess. Sung-yoon reaches toward a screen showing 3 mysterious options. He has to pick a turning point between transcription, combat, or raid. He remembers hearing about this special system. This one choice changes everything. Which path is he going to take? Sung-yoon taps the battle option without blinking. He knows he needs high-stakes fights to max out his necromancy proficiency, and the system locks it in permanently. He stands alone in the cold chamber, asking himself if that's really all there is to it. Honestly, knowing this tower, it's never that simple. A blue window flashes, recognizing his legendary status as a pioneer. Sung-yoon looks stunned as the system announces a face-to-face chat with an administrator is about to begin. It starts searching for a combat specialist to meet him right now. His eyes sharpen with a mix of dread and anticipation. Meeting an administrator in person, this just got way more dangerous. Sunjin's eyes widen as the system locks onto a specific name, the Iron-Blooded Monarch. Before he can even process the idea of meeting a combat specialist, violent blue mana erupts around him, dragging him into the void. He barely gets a out before the world vanishes. Talk about a forced meeting. A desolate, snowy wasteland appears, littered with thousands of broken swords thrust into the frozen earth. Sung-yoon lands in the center of this weapon graveyard, his breath hitching in the sudden, biting cold. A final chime confirms his location, the Ironblood world. This isn't just a chat room, it's a battlefield for monsters. Is he actually ready for this? A bright blue system window flashes with a final, chilling confirmation. Han Sung-yoon has officially entered the Ironblood world, the deadly 8th floor trial where the pioneer must prove himself once again. The transition is over, and there's no turning back now. Everything suddenly cuts to an absolute, suffocating darkness. The light of the system fades, leaving Sung-yoon standing in a heavy, silent void as the trial prepares to begin. He's alone, stripped of his reprieve, and forced back into the grind of survival. What kind of monsters are waiting for him in this graveyard of blades? We're about to find out, and honestly, the silence in this void feels way more dangerous than any roar. This is where the real climb begins.